The Invincible Big Shot is about to be born. Chapter 473 to Chapter 497. Lu Yiping shook his head, no. Then he said to his younger sister Lu Jiqing, little sister, don't worry, I will definitely find father and mother. Lu Jiqing nodded solemnly. The two strolled around the city for a while, then entered the Thousand Dragon Tavern for a drink before leaving the city. Lu Yiping brought Lu Jiqing to the center of the chaos world. Seeing this, Lu Jiqing couldn't help asking, Big brother, where are we going now? To Chaos City. Lu Yiping smiled. To Chaos City? Lu Jiqing was stunned. Her big brother had killed the king of chaos Long Cheng's fourth disciple, and now he was going to Chaos City. Lu Yiping looked in the direction of Chaos City and said slowly, Long Cheng has been sitting on the king of chaos seat for long enough, it's time for a change. Lu Jiqing was stunned, then her eyes widened. Big brother wants to. Big brother, you want to challenge the king of chaos? Lu Jiqing stuttered, her breathing quickened. Lu Yiping made a sound of affirmation. There was nothing to hide. Now, he brought his sister Lu Jiqing to Primal Chaos City to challenge Long Cheng. If he sat on the throne of the king of chaos, he would be able to control the chaos world. He wanted to borrow the chaos world's power to find his parents' whereabouts. Although Lu Yuan was only his adoptive father, in his heart, he was no different from his biological father. No matter what, he had to find Lu Yuan and Lu Jiqing. Hearing that Lu Yiping really wanted to challenge the king of chaos Long Cheng, Lu Jiqing was shocked and wanted to persuade, Big brother. Lu Yiping knew what his younger sister wanted to say, so he smiled and said, Don't worry, I'm confident. He paused, I've already broken through to the Dao Ancestor Realm. I've already broken through to the Dao Ancestor Realm. Lu Qingji stopped, looking at Lu Yiping in a daze, and Lu Yiping's words kept repeating in her mind. Her big brother had already broken through to the Dao Ancestor Realm? She looked at Lu Yiping in a daze, feeling like she was in a dream. Dao Ancestor, that was a Dao Ancestor. Suddenly, Lu Jiqing's eyes reddened. She was so excited that she began to cry. Lu Yiping wiped the tears from his sister's face and said, What are you crying for? Big brother will surpass the Dao Ancestor Realm in the future. Above Dao Ancestor was the realm of Heaven Opening. After Pangu, no one else had reached the Heaven Opening realm, but Lu Yiping was the reincarnation of the Fortune Jade Disc. With it, he was confident that one day, he would be able to reach the Heaven Opening realm like Pangu. If he could reach the Heaven Opening realm, then he would be able to freely travel through space. At that time, he would be able to go to the immortal world, the God world, and even the mortal world. Hearing Lu Yiping say that he would surpass the Tao Ancestor realm in the future, Lu Jiqing smiled through her tears. I know. My big brother is awesome. Lu Yiping smiled and said, Your big brother has always been awesome. The two siblings chatted and laughed as they walked towards Primal Chaos City. Not long after, Primal Chaos City appeared in their line of sight. Looking at the towering Primal Chaos City that was the size of dozens of continents, Lu Jiqing couldn't help but feel nervous and apprehensive. Lu Yiping's expression was calm. From this day onwards, Primal Chaos City would have a new master. At this time, Long Cheng was sitting cross-legged on a space altar in the deepest part of Primal Chaos City. In the main hall outside, his eldest disciple Chen Lingqiao, Lu Jiang, and Duli were discussing Lu Yiping. I've already sent people to investigate. The sacred Yin-Yang ancestor has not reached Dao integration. Chen Lingqiao said solemnly. Previously, when someone broke through to Dao Ancestor Realm, some people guessed that it was the sacred Yin-Yang ancestor. But now, Chen Lingqiao had confirmed that it was not the sacred Yin-Yang ancestor. Lu Jiang and Du Li's hearts sank at Long Cheng's words. If it was not the sacred Yin-Yang ancestor, then it was Lu Yiping? Even if it's not the sacred Yin-Yang ancestor, it doesn't mean it's Lu Yiping. Lu Jiang shook his head. He still found it hard to believe that Lu Yiping had broken through to Dao Ancestor Realm. Master said that even if Lu Yiping really broke through to Dao Ancestor Realm, there's nothing to worry about. Duli added. Right at this time, a thunderous boom shook the heavens. In the next moment, the entire Primal Chaos City quaked and swayed. Chen Lingqiao, Lu Jiang, and Du Li's seats cracked from the impact, causing them to lose their balance. The three of them were astounded. Someone was attacking Primal Chaos City? Who is it? Chen Lingqiao roared angrily as he soared into the sky. Lu Jiang and Du Li followed closely behind him. Inside Primal Chaos City, the Primal Chaos City's army rushed out. Primal Chaos City was Long Cheng's residence, thus there were naturally a lot of Primal Chaos City's army. There were a total of 100 Primal Chaos City's army, and each army had 100 million people. All of them were the Primal Chaos World's elite army. As these 100 Primal Chaos City's army rushed out, the sky above Primal Chaos City was filled with Primal Chaos City's army. Xianxia rushed out angrily, but when he saw the blue-robed figure, his face tightened. Lu Yiping. Lu Yiping's name seemed to have a magical power. Lu Jiang, Du Li, and the other Primal Chaos City's army leaders stopped in their tracks. Tell Longqing to come out. Lu Yiping glanced at Xianxia and said calmly, I want to challenge him for the King of Primal Chaos City's position. Challenge the King of Primal Chaos City's position. Lu Yiping's voice reverberated throughout Primal Chaos City, and even reached the continents around Primal Chaos City. At this moment, all the experts in Primal Chaos City and the continents around Primal Chaos City looked at the blue-robed figure in shock. Suddenly, a figure flashed out from the deepest part of Primal Chaos City's space. It was none other than the King of Primal Chaos City, Longqing. Longqing looked at Lu Yiping and laughed heartily. Challenge me for the King of Primal Chaos City's position? Then he stared at Lu Yiping. It looks like you've broken through to Dao Ancestor Realm. You think you can win against me just because you've broken through to Dao Ancestor Realm? Lu Yiping, you're too impatient. You've broken through to Dao Ancestor Realm, and if you cultivate for another several 100 million years, then challenge me again, I won't be your opponent. But now. Saying this, Longqing raised his hands, and the Primal Chaos City sitting on the ground shook violently, slowly rising up from the ground. As the Primal Chaos City rose up, it stirred up shockwaves. Just the shockwaves alone were enough to send a group of Saint Kings flying, even peak Saint Kings were no exception. Rays of Primal Chaos City spiraled around Primal Chaos City. A terrifying aura spread out from Primal Chaos City. Longqing stood in the air above Primal Chaos City, and the aura of a Dao Ancestor swept out from his body. The Dao Ancestor auspicious cloud above his head bloomed with layers of golden-purple light. Suddenly, Longqing waved his hands, and the Primal Chaos City flew towards Lu Yiping at an astonishing speed. When the Primal Chaos City flew towards Lu Yiping, the world darkened, and the sunlight was completely obscured. Looking at the Primal Chaos City flying towards him, Lu Yiping did not summon the Bell of Primal Chaos, mysterious yellow pagoda, nor did he summon the Tree of Creation. He merely pressed forward with one hand, and the Primal Chaos City that was as big as several continents stopped in front of Lu Yiping's palm. The terrifying aura of Primal Chaos City dissipated without any warning. Xianxia and the others were dumbfounded. At this time, Lu Yiping suddenly pushed the Primal Chaos City towards Longqing. From afar, it looked like a Primal Chaos City mountain range was being pushed by Lu Yiping towards Longqing. The Primal Chaos City stirred up shockwaves, and arrived in front of Longqing in the blink of an eye. Last 2 weeks, I hope everyone will continue to support Xinjiang. Longqing sensed the terrifying power contained in Primal Chaos City and couldn't help but panic. He discovered that no matter how he urged Primal Chaos City, he couldn't stop it. In his panic, Longqing retreated in a panic. At the same time, a grey shield appeared in his hand. This grey shield was called the Death God's Shield. Longqing obtained it from a place filled with death energy after splitting open the sky. It was also Longqing's strongest defensive treasure. Under the urging of Longqing's Dao Ancestor power, the death energy in the Death God's Shield roared and surged. The death energy turned into a sea of death, rushing madly towards Primal Chaos City. With a loud rumble, the sea of death energy collided with Primal Chaos City. But in an instant, Lu Yiping pushed Primal Chaos City and plowed through the sea of death energy. The sea of death energy violently exploded for countless miles. Primal Chaos City caught up with the retreating Longqing in an instant. Longqing looked at the mountain-like Primal Chaos City in front of him and felt his vision darken. Then, he was blasted away, and the Death God's Shield in his hand was blasted away by Primal Chaos City. After a long time, rumbling sounds came from the horizon. Xianxia, Lu Jiang, Du Li, and the rest, as well as the Holy King battle generals under Longqing's command, looked at Longqing who was blasted away. Longqing had fought with the demon ancestor, but even with 200 million Dao Ancestor power, the demon ancestor could only gain the upper hand and couldn't injure Longqing. Now, Longqing was blasted away with a single blow. It was as if Lu Yiping was the Dao ancestor, and Longqing was just a peak holy king. How could this be? Chen Lingqiao muttered to himself in a daze. Didn't his master say that even if Lu Yiping broke through to the Dao ancestor realm, there was no need to worry? In fact, even Lu Jiqing was shocked. Longqing was the king of primal chaos, the master of primal chaos world, almost the strongest human in primal chaos world, but he was blasted away by her brother with a single blow. Her brother was actually so strong. A moment later, a figure tore through the sky and returned. It was Longqing who was blasted away. Chen Lingqiao and the others were shocked to see Longqing in such a sorry state. Longqing's body was covered in blood and his armor was broken. This was the first time in countless years that they had seen Longqing in such a sorry state. Longqing looked at Lu Yiping in shock and anger. You just broke through to the Tao ancestor realm. How can you be so strong? A celebratory cloud appeared above Lu Yiping's head. Looking at the auspicious cloud above Lu Yiping's head, Longqing, Chen Lingqiao, and the rest were dumbfounded. 700 million. Longqing's tongue stiffened. That's right, 700 million units. Lu Yiping calmly summoned the creation tree. In an instant, the grand mist aura from the creation tree blasted everyone away. Looking at the tree trunk that was as big as a continent, everyone was shocked. The tree of creation's billions of roots waved, forming a huge barrier that enveloped the surrounding space. Lu Yiping looked at Longqing. Hand over the King of Chaos flag. The flag of the King of Chaos was the symbol of the King of Chaos. It was like the jade seal of a mortal emperor. Longqing looked at the barrier around the creation tree with a gloomy expression. You can't escape from this barrier. Lu Yiping looked indifferently at Longqing. Longqing snarled, even if I can't escape, you can't kill me. A Dao ancestor had already reached the Dao integration realm. No matter how strong Lu Yiping was, as long as he didn't break through to the heaven opening realm, he wouldn't be able to kill a Dao ancestor. I can't kill you, but I can imprison you and suppress you in a world where there is no light, and let you live in the abyss of darkness for all eternity, Lu Yiping said coldly. Hand over the King of Chaos flag, and I can let you go. Including your disciple. Chen Lingqiao, Lu Jiang, and Du Li's hearts clenched. After struggling for a while, Longqing finally sighed and handed over the King of Chaos flag. The moment he handed over the King of Chaos flag, Longqing's several 100,000 feet tall body seemed to shrink significantly. Longqing tore through the air and left. Under the sunlight, his back seemed a little bleak. Chen Lingqiao, Lu Jiang, Du Li, and the others nervously followed behind Longqing. Lu Yiping looked at the Saint Ruler battle generals. If any of you wish to leave, you may do so on your own. The Saint King battle generals couldn't help but be tempted. These people had followed Longqing for many years, and many of them were still loyal to him. However, whoever stays behind to serve me will receive 1 strand of Grand Mist Aura per day. Lu Yiping said. What? 1 strand of Grand Mist Aura per day? The moment Lu Yiping's words left his mouth, the several hundred Saint King battle generals were shaken. Lord King of Chaos, is this true? One of the Saint Kings at the pinnacle mustered up his courage and asked respectfully. Of course. Lu Yiping said, Top Saint Kings, 2 a day. Peak Saint Kings, 4 a day. Other Saint Kings, 1 a day. Peak Saint Kings, 4 a day. In 1 year, there were more than 1,400 of them. That would be more than 14,000 in 10 years. That would be 140,000 in 100 years. Everyone's breathing quickened. Almost as soon as Lu Yiping finished speaking, there were Saint King battle generals who knelt down to pledge their loyalty to Lu Yiping. Soon, more and more Saint Kings knelt down to serve Huang Xiaolong. Before long, there were only a dozen or so people left. In the end, Lu Yiping did not make things difficult for these people and allowed them to leave. Lu Yiping looked at the Chaos army around him and activated the King of Chaos flag in his hand. A towering giant figure appeared. This was the divine sense Pangu had left in the King of Chaos flag. It was also because of this that this flag was called the King of Chaos flag. The Chaos army of 10 billion knelt down. Not long after, the news of Lu Yiping challenging the King of Chaos position and Longqing's defeat spread out. As the news spread, the Chaos world was in an uproar. When Lu families Lu Kongji, Lu Yongji, Lu Bing, and the others heard the news, they were dazed for a long time. No matter how Lu Gang called out to them, they did not respond. Lu Yongji suddenly cupped his fists and bowed to Ancestor Snow, sobbing, "I was wrong, Big Brother Snow, we have offended Lord King of Chaos, please spare our dog lives." Lu Bing, Lu Gang, and the others also bowed and begged. Lu Kongji's expression was gloomy. Ancestor Snow sighed, not knowing what to say. After Long Cheng left, Lu Yiping erased Long Cheng's soul mark from the Chaos City and reforged the Chaos City. He and his sister Lu Jiqing settled down in the Chaos City. Lu Yiping gathered all the Saint King battle generals in front of the Chaos City's Great Hall and gave them instructions. Then, he asked them to inquire about his parents. After everyone left, Lu Yiping stayed in the Chaos City to cultivate the immortal Skywood technique. In these years, he had spent most of his time at the Dao integration realm and did not cultivate the immortal Skywood technique. Thus, he had yet to reach the 49th stage. Time flowed by, several hundred years went by. With the help of the Founding Tree's Grand Mist Aura, Lu Yiping finally reached the 49th stage of the immortal Skywood technique. Of course, Lu Yiping was able to reach the 49th stage of the immortal Skywood technique in such a short time because he had broken through to the Dao Ancestor realm. After breaking through to the Dao Ancestor realm, Huang Xiaolong's comprehension of various heaven-splitting cultivation techniques was different. Not long after Lu Yiping reached the 49th stage of the immortal Skywood technique, one of his subordinates reported that there was news of his parents. "Oh, there's news of my parents?" Lu Yiping was overjoyed when he heard the news. The general hurriedly bowed and replied, "Yes, Lord King of Chaos. We found out that Lord Lu Yiwen and the others went to the depths of the universe with the president of Ling Tian Chamber of Commerce, Li Ling Tian." Ling Tian Chamber of Commerce. Lu Yiping was stunned. Ling Tian Chamber of Commerce was the second largest chamber of commerce in the Chaos realm. Its financial strength was only below the Eternal Chamber of Commerce. "Yes, and we found out that the president of Ling Tian Chamber of Commerce, Li Ling Tian, just returned from the desolate universe." The general continued, "Lord King of Chaos, why don't we ask Li Ling Tian to come and meet you?" "No need, I'll go to Ling Tian Chamber of Commerce personally," Lu Yiping said and then left. Ling Tian Chamber of Commerce's headquarters was in the center of the Chaos realm, so it wasn't far from Chaos City. Soon, Lu Yiping arrived at Ling Tian Chamber of Commerce's headquarters and saw Li Ling Tian. Li Ling Tian, who had just returned, had already heard about Lu Yiping from the members of the Chamber of Commerce. When they saw Lu Yiping arrive at Ling Tian Chamber of Commerce's headquarters, they were so shocked that they lined up to welcome him. Lu Yiping didn't beat around the bush and asked about his parents. Li Ling Tian didn't dare to hide anything and told Lu Yiping about how he and Lu Yiwen went to the depths of the universe. Hearing this, Lu Yiping frowned. It turned out that not long after Li Ling Tian and the others entered the depths of the universe, they encountered a spatial rift and were swept away by the spatial turbulence. Then, they were separated. Li Ling Tian drifted in the spatial turbulence for many years. A few days ago, he was lucky enough to encounter a spatial exit and escaped. Lu Yiping asked for more details, and Li Ling Tian answered all of them. He didn't dare to lie. After confirming that Li Ling Tian wasn't lying, Lu Yiping asked about the specific location of the spatial rift and left. After returning to Chaos City, Lu Yiping, his sister, and his subordinates handed over some matters and rushed to the depths of the universe. After passing through the demon territory, Lu Yiping passed through numerous mountain ranges, seas, barren hills, plains, and finally arrived at the place where Li Ling Tian and the others had met with their mishap. This place was very close to the Abyssal Sea. Lu Yiping glanced around and arrived in the air above a mountain range in a flash. His gaze fell on a certain peak in the mountain range. That was the place where Li Ling Tian and the others had been sucked into the spatial rift. Lu Yiping sensed that the space in this mountain range was indeed unstable. However, there were no spatial tears at the moment. Lu Yiping tore at the void with one hand and tore the space in front of him apart. Then, his figure flashed into the spatial tear. Within the spatial fissure, chaotic turbulence was everywhere. Standing in it was like a mortal standing in a roaring sea. They were already in the depths of the universe. Although they hadn't reached the end of the universe, the chaotic flow of space was extremely violent. Even if a Saint King entered these spatial cracks, they would be swept away by the chaotic flow. They wouldn't be able to control their bodies. Following Li Lingtian's instructions, Lu Yiping flew in the direction where his parents had been swept away. A Saint King couldn't control his body, but a Dao ancestor could. Lu Yiping floated forward. At the same time, he spread out his spirit and carefully sensed all the changes and auras around him. After being trapped for so many years, Li Lingtian was lucky enough to encounter the exit of the spatial crack and escape. His parents might still be trapped here. Of course, as long as his parents were still trapped here, he would be able to find them. Lu Yiping floated along with the chaotic turbulence. Just like that, he drifted for about a month. However, he still didn't sense the auras of his parents. In this spatial crack, there were no other life forms apart from the chaotic turbulence. During this month of drifting, Lu Yiping didn't see anything other than the chaotic turbulence. Lu Yiping continued to search. Another month passed, and he still didn't find anything. Lu Yiping continued to search. A year passed. 2 years passed. He still didn't find anything. Lu Yiping looked at the grey chaotic turbulence in front of him and exhaled deeply. No matter what, even if he had to spend 1,000 years, 10,000 years, or even 100,000 years, he would still find his parents. 10 years passed. 20 years passed. 30 years, 100 years, finally, more than 400 years passed. Lu Yiping was still searching in this chaotic turbulence. During these 40 years, Lu Yiping would occasionally stop and summon the Sun Fusang tree. He would use the Sun True Fire to roast meat and drink some wine. After eating and drinking, he would continue his search. On this day, just as Lu Yiping was continuing his search, he suddenly sensed a weak energy fluctuation coming from somewhere in front of him. This is? Lu Yiping hurriedly flew over. Soon, he arrived at the location of the weak energy fluctuation. This was a spatial exit. However, Lu Yiping was sure that it wasn't the spatial exit that he had entered from earlier. Lu Yiping thought for a moment and then walked out of this spatial exit. When Lu Yiping walked out of this spatial exit, it was no longer grey chaotic turbulence, but dazzling sunlight. Lu Yiping looked up and saw a huge sun hanging high in the sky. This sun was purple golden color. It was completely different from the suns he had seen in the past. The sunlight it emitted was very dazzling. Under the sun, there were mountains, plains, and forests that stretched as far as the eye could see. Even further away, there were cities. Everything here was filled with an indescribable spiritual energy. And the spatial laws were even stronger and sturdier than those of the Chaos Realm. Lu Yiping spread out the power of his spirit and continued to explore further. With Lu Yiping's current 700 million Dao ancestor power, the range of his spirit could be said to be extremely astonishing. However, even though Lu Yiping had pushed his spirit to the limit, he still couldn't see the end of this world. Lu Yiping felt that this world was even larger than the Chaos Realm. Moreover, under the coverage of Lu Yiping's spirit, the living beings of this world were overall much stronger than those of the Chaos Realm. In the Chaos Realm, Saint Rudiment Realm powerhouses were still very rare. Ordinary cities didn't have any Saint Rudiment Realm powerhouses. But just now, under the coverage of his spirit, there was one Saint Rudiment Realm powerhouse in 100 cities. Moreover, there were more heavenly venerable realm powerhouses than the Chaos Realm. Lu Yiping's heart shook. Could this be the primordial world? Regarding the primordial world, there had always been a legend in the Chaos Realm. Legend had it that in the deepest part of the universe, there was a world even larger than the Chaos Realm called the primordial world. This primordial world was the first world in the universe. It existed even before the Chaos Realm. Father and mother, under the impact of the chaotic turbulence, could they have also entered this primordial world? Lu Yiping thought to himself. This was not impossible. As Lu Yiping pondered, he flew towards the city in front of him. The primordial world was located in the depths of the universe and was extremely hidden. Even Dao ancestors couldn't enter without luck. Since he was here, Lu Yiping naturally had to stay for some time. Lu Yiping arrived at the city in front of him. The city wasn't big, but it was bustling with activity. Lu Yiping followed the crowd and walked along the streets. When he passed by a large restaurant, Lu Yiping entered and sat down at a good seat. The best way to gather information and understand this world was in a restaurant. Of course, this was also the most comfortable way. Lu Yiping called the waiter over and ordered a jar of good wine and a table of good dishes. He drank and listened to the discussions around the tables. I heard that the demon race is going to war with the sorcerer race? Not only are they going to war, Goddess Nuwa and Sorcerer Ancestor have already made their moves. The discussions around the table attracted Lu Yiping's attention. As he listened, Lu Yiping understood that in the primordial world, the demon race and sorcerer race were the strongest, followed by the human race and Buddhism. As for Mother Nuwa and the Sorcerer Ancestor, both of them were Supreme Tao Fathers. Peak Tao Ancestor. Lu Yiping muttered to himself. Peak Tao Ancestor was equivalent to 1.9 billion units of Tao Ancestor strength. In the Chaos world, the strongest demon ancestor Luo Ho only had 200 million units of Tao Ancestor strength. In the Chaos world, the number of Tao Ancestor experts could be counted with one hand. In the Primordial world, there were many Tao Ancestor experts. Although there weren't as many as the Chaos world Sage Kings, there was a Tao Ancestor expert in the top forces of the Primordial world. After sitting in the restaurant for a while, Lu Yiping left the restaurant. After inquiring about the primordial world's merchant associations, Lu Yiping headed towards the largest merchant association in the primordial world. The largest merchant association in the primordial world was called the Million Treasure Merchant Association. The headquarters of the Million Treasure Merchant Association wasn't in the center of the primordial world, but in another large region called the Treasure Domain. The Treasure region, as its name suggested, was the richest region in the Grand Mist world. At the same time, it was also the region with the most treasures and merchant guilds in the Grand Mist world. Almost all of the top chambers of commerce in the Grand Mist world were gathered in the Treasure realm. There was a saying in the primordial world that the top tycoons of other regions would only know what it meant to be rich after going to the Treasure region. Lu Yiping wanted to go to the 10,000 Treasures Chamber of Commerce and ask them about his parents. If his parents were in the Grand Mist world, it wouldn't be difficult for him to inquire about them with the myriad treasure commerce's wealth and resources. Nightfall. The night was quiet. At the foot of a barren mountain, beside a bonfire, Lu Yiping was drinking the eternal wine. After becoming the king of Primal Chaos, he had asked the Primal Chaos realm to gather materials to improve his Myriad Eras wine. The improved Myriad Eras wine was naturally more mellow and fragrant. The night breeze blew gently, and the aroma of wine wafted through the air. It could be smelled for miles. While Lu Yiping was drinking the eternal wine, a disheveled old man wearing a white Taoist robe whistled through the air in the distance. There was a large fiery red wine gourd hanging from the old man's waist. The old man was obviously an alcoholic, and he was attracted by the aroma of the wine. The old man's eyes lit up when he saw Lu Yiping drinking alone. He walked over and rubbed his hands together. "This brother, may I know which restaurant this wine is from? Could it be the Four Directions restaurant's new product?" The Four Directions restaurant was the #1 restaurant in the Grand Mist world. Lu Yiping smiled seeing the old man's greedy look. "No, I brewed it myself." This old man was not weak. He was a peak Saint King, half a step away from breaking through to the Tao Ancestor realm. Looking at the old man, Lu Yiping couldn't help thinking of the wisdom beggar Zhou Qing he had met in the lower realms Hingyuan world. Zhou Qing was also a good drinker, and he was also slovenly. Therefore, this old man was quite pleasing to the eye. "That brother, are you selling this wine? How much is it?" The old man smiled embarrassedly as he stared at Lu Yiping's wine. He swallowed hard, almost drooling. Lu Yiping smiled, took out a jug, and threw it to the old man. The old man was stunned. When he was about to take out some chaos spirit stones to give to Lu Yiping waved his hand, saying no need. The old man hesitated for a moment, but did not stand on ceremony with Lu Yiping. He opened the jug and drank. The old man's temperament was similar to the wisdom beggar Zhou Cheng's. The two of them chatted as they drank, and soon, they became familiar with each other. Lu Yiping learned that the old man's surname was Zhou Bai. Zhou Bai? This name is quite unique. Lu Yiping smiled. The old man Zhou Bai laughed. "It's not easy to live." His words were spoken with anger. Even a peak Saint King was walking on thin ice in the Grand Mist world. Then, Zhou Bai asked, "Brother Lu, where are you going?" Treasure Domain's Million Treasure City. Lu Yiping did not hide anything. Knowing that Lu Yiping was going to the Treasure Domain's Million Treasure City, Zhou Bai grinned, I'm also going to the Treasure Domain's Million Treasure City. Is Brother Lu also going to the Million Treasures Chamber of Commerce to buy that thing? That thing? Lu Yiping was puzzled. Zhou Bai saw Lu Yiping's puzzled expression and said, Brother Lu, have you not heard that the Million Treasures Chamber of Commerce found a heaven-opening grade flaming cloud stone in the Fire Cloud Cave? Lu Yiping shook his head. Zhou Bai explained. It turned out that the Million Treasures Chamber of Commerce had found a flaming cloud stone in the depths of the Fire Cloud Cave. This flaming cloud stone was not an ordinary heaven-opening grade stone. It was said that there was a powerful life form inside, and once this life form was born, it would definitely be an extraordinary existence. Since this flaming cloud stone is so extraordinary, why did the Million Treasures Chamber of Commerce sell it? Lu Yiping asked. Zhou Bai shook his head, I don't know. The night passed. Lu Yiping and Zhou Bai continued on their way. After entering the treasure realm, the two of them rushed to the Million Treasure City without stopping. The treasure realm was worthy of being called the richest realm in the Grand Mist world. Lu Yiping saw a bustling scene along the way. The buildings in the city were resplendent, built from materials rarely seen in the Chaos world. Even the flying ships passing by were made from rare materials. Zhou Bai looked at the bustling treasure realm and said, in recent years, the Grand Mist world has not been peaceful. The demonic beast race and the sorcerer race have been fighting frequently. Other realms have been embroiled in the flames of war, but the treasure realm has not been affected. The treasure realm had gathered almost all of the top chambers of commerce in the Grand Mist world. Even the demonic beast race and the sorcerer race did not dare to fight in the treasure realm. Then, Zhou Bai sighed with emotion, the houses in the treasure realm are getting more expensive, especially the residences in the Million Treasure City. Even the better ones cost 10 billion. 10 billion was naturally referring to Chaos Spirit Stones. 10 billion, so much? Lu Yiping was astounded. Zhou Bai nodded, 10 billion is a small number, some even go up to 100 billion. The two of them chatted as they reached the Million Treasure City. However, there was an entrance fee to enter the Million Treasure City, and it was not cheap. 1 Chaos Spirit Stone per person. After entering the Million Treasure City, Zhou Bai led Lu Yiping to the Million Treasures Chamber of Commerce. Because of the flaming cloud stone, many experts had come to the Million Treasures Chamber of Commerce, and the hall was packed to the brim. Zhou Bai's gaze swept over the crowd in the hall. When he saw several women in the hall, he exclaimed in shock, the demonic beast race's holy maiden. The demonic beast race's holy maiden was Goddess Nuwa's only personal disciple. It was no wonder that Zhou Bai was shocked when he saw the holy maiden. Goddess Nuwa and the sorcerer ancestor were both peak Dao ancestors. They could be said to be the strongest experts in the Grand Mist world, and Goddess Nuwa's only disciple. In fact, not only Zhou Bai, but everyone in the hall had their eyes on Long Ku. At this time, a large group of experts walked out from the Million Treasure Chamber of Commerce's inner hall. Judging from their attire, they were the upper echelons of the Million Treasure Chamber of Commerce. Her Highness Holy Maiden's arrival brings light to the Million Treasure Chamber of Commerce. A pot-bellied middle-aged man at the front of the Million Treasure Chamber of Commerce cupped his fists and smiled at Long Ku. Vice President Jiang is too polite. Long Ku smiled indifferently. Both sides exchanged pleasantries. Vice President Jiang Zhendong and the upper echelons of the Million Treasure Chamber of Commerce welcomed Long Ku and the others into the inner hall. Watching Long Ku leave, Lu Yiping asked Zhou Bai, that's Goddess Nuwa's disciple? Zhou Bai nodded solemnly, looking at Long Ku's figure with awe, yes, she is Goddess Nuwa's disciple, and her only disciple. He then added, although Holy Maiden Long Ku has cultivated for less than 100 million years, she is already a Dao ancestor expert. She is one of the most talented people in the Grand Mist world. Lu Yiping declined to comment. He could see that although Long Ku was a Dao ancestor, she had just broken through to the Dao ancestor realm. She had broken through to the Dao ancestor realm in less than 100 million years, and she was one of the most talented people in the Grand Mist world. Lu Yiping and Zhou Bai strolled around the hall. Originally, Lu Yiping planned to meet the Million Treasure Chamber of Commerce's president Wan Xingyuan, but now that the auction was about to start, he was in no hurry to see Wan Xingyuan. That piece of heaven-opening grade flame cloud gem was nurturing a powerful life form. If he could refine it, Lu Yiping's strength would increase significantly. This was also the reason why so many people from the Grand Mist world came to bid for it. Knowing that Lu Yiping was interested in the flame cloud gem, Zhou Bai shook his head and said, "Her Highness Holy Maiden is here now. I'm afraid there's no hope for us to bid for it." The monster race was one of the top 2 forces in the Grand Mist world, and there was no doubt about their wealth. Who would be able to outbid Long Ku? Lu Yiping asked with a smile. Other than Chaos Spirit Stones, does the Myriad Treasure House accept Grand Mist Aura? If Huang Xiaolong didn't accept, he would have to be prepared to exchange for Chaos Spirit Stones in advance. Zhou Bai was taken aback. Of course, if you have the Grand Mist Aura, the Million Treasure Chamber of Commerce will welcome you even more. A bitter smile appeared on his face as he continued, however, even if someone has Grand Mist Aura, they wouldn't be willing to use it to buy things. In the primordial world, although the primordial chaos aura was not as rare as in the chaos world, it was still difficult to obtain. If there was primordial chaos aura, those Dao ancestors would keep it for cultivation. No one would be willing to use it to buy things. Lu Yiping smiled when he heard this. After strolling around for a while, the auction began. Everyone began to enter the auction venue one after another. For the Grand Mist World's #1 Chamber of Commerce like the Million Treasure House, only Dao ancestors were allowed to enter the VIP rooms. However, Lu Yiping did not reveal his identity, so he and Zhou Bai found an ordinary seat and sat down. Other than the heaven-opening grade flame cloud stone, there were other rare treasures being auctioned in this auction. Therefore, there were many experts present, and soon, all the seats were filled. The first item to be auctioned was a Dao artifact. A Dao artifact was a weapon refined by a Dao ancestor, and some Dao artifacts were comparable to a heaven-opening grade divine artifact. However, Lu Yiping was not interested in these things, but Zhou Bai's eyes were fixed on the longsword Dao artifact. The auctioneer began to introduce the Dao artifact. This longsword is not an ordinary Dao artifact, it is a Dao artifact refined by Lady Song Ling. A small commotion broke out in the auction venue. Refined by Lady Song Ling. Zhou Bai's eyes lit up. I didn't expect this Dao artifact to be refined by Lady Song Ling. Is this Song Ling very famous? Lu Yiping asked. Zhou Bai nodded and said, Lady Song Ling is our Grand Mist World's #1 artifact refiner. The Dao artifacts she refines are extraordinary. Then, he added, more importantly, she is one of our Grand Mist World's 5 great beauties. Lu Yiping was stunned. The Grand Mist World's #1 artifact refiner was a woman. This was rare. Generally speaking, artifact refinement was a man's hobby, and very few women would delve into it. Due to the fact that this Dao artifact was refined by Song Ling, one of the 5 great beauties of the primordial world, the bidding for it was extremely intense. After a round of intense bidding, the Dao artifact was successfully won by the unfettered Dao school. In the Grand Mist world, there were countless holy grounds and sections. The unfettered Dao gate was very powerful in the Grand Mist world. Although it could not be compared to the demonic beast race and sorcerer race, it was second only to the 2 races. Subsequently, a defensive Dao artifact, the Shield of Radiance, was auctioned. The Shield of Radiance was an inheritance Dao artifact from a destroyed sect. It was quite famous in the Grand Mist world, so there were many people bidding for it. Lu Yiping sat there, watching coldly without making a sound. After 30 to 40 items were auctioned off, it was finally time for the auction's finale. There were a total of 3 finale treasures. One was the heaven-opening grade flame cloud stone, one was the heaven-opening grade black gold iron, and the last was supreme mystery water. There were 10,000 drops of supreme mystery water. These 3 items were all incredible treasures. Of course, the most precious item was the heaven-opening grade flame cloud stone. The first item to be auctioned was the black gold iron, followed by the supreme mystery water. Lu Yiping was not interested in these 2 items, so he did not bid for them. Although the supreme mystery water was also a heaven-opening grade spiritual water, it was still lacking compared to his spring of life. The last item to be auctioned is the heaven-opening grade flame cloud stone. The auctioneer raised his voice, and everyone in the auction hall sat up straight. The auctioneer ordered people to bring the flame cloud stone up. The flame cloud stone was more than 10 meters tall, and it emitted a fiery glow. Inside the stone, one could vaguely see a golden shadow. The golden shadow was not big, and it was only slightly taller than a person. This flame cloud stone is a treasure. I believe many friends here know about it. The auctioneer smiled and said, our Chamber of Commerce obtained it from the bottom of the fire cloud cave. Inside the flame cloud stone, there is a life form that is brimming with vitality. The auctioneer went on to explain the various uses of the flame cloud stone and the life form inside it in detail before letting everyone bid for it. The starting price was 300 billion chaos spirit stones. 300 billion chaos spirit stones. Zhou Bai shook his head and lamented, this thing is really not something people like us can dream of. According to the exchange rate between Grand Mist Aura and Chaos Spirit Stones, one strand of Grand Mist Aura was worth 1 million Chaos Spirit Stones. 300 billion Chaos Spirit Stones were equivalent to 300,000 strands of Grand Mist Aura. 310 billion. The demonic race's holy maiden Long Ke's voice came from the number 1 private room. Everyone quieted down when they heard Long Ke's voice. For a moment, no one made a sound. 320 billion. Suddenly, a voice filled with arrogance rang out. Everyone looked over and saw a few people walking in through the auction hall's entrance. These people were tall, over 2 meters tall. They were clad in beast hide armor and exuded a ferocious aura. The one leading them was a young man with a head of fiery red hair that attracted everyone's attention. Sorcerer Race's Crown Prince. Zhou Bai was shocked when he saw the young man. The Sorcerer Race's Crown Prince, Wu Badian, was famous for being overbearing. Inside the number 1 private room, Long Ke frowned when she saw Wu Badian. The demonic beast race and sorcerer race had a deep conflict, and Wu Badian was always looking for trouble. 330 billion. Long Ke looked at Wu Badian and said. 340 billion. Wu Badian grinned. 350 billion. 360 billion. The two of them quickly raised the price to 400 billion. When Long Ke shouted 400 billion, Wu Badian said indifferently, 410 billion. 500 billion. Long Ke suddenly raised the price to 500 billion. Wu Badian chuckled, 600 billion. 700 billion. Long Ke continued to shout. 800 billion. Wu Badian shrugged and smiled nonchalantly. It was as if 800 billion was nothing more than 800 chaos spirit stones in his mouth. Everyone felt their hearts skip a beat. Even the powerful unfettered Dao Gate shook their heads and didn't dare to make a sound. What kind of concept was 800 billion chaos spirit stones? Many top forces in the Grand Mist world couldn't gather that much even if they sold everything they had. Long Ke frowned. 800 billion chaos spirit stones had far exceeded the value of the flame cloud stone. This Wu Badian is really despicable. A maid behind Long Ke glared at Wu Badian and said. When Wu Badian saw that Long Ke was silent, he laughed, Long Ke, little girl, why did you stop so soon? The demonic beast race can't be so poor, right? The faces of the several demonic beast race experts who came with Long Ke sank. Long Ke shouted, 900 billion. Wu Badian laughed, I thought that the demonic beast race couldn't even take out a few 100 billion. It seems like they have some money. He then raised his index finger to the auctioneer, 1 trillion. 1 trillion, Wu Baishan's voice converged into a sound wave, causing the entire place to rumble. Everyone was shocked. Long Ke's heart sank. This time, she had only brought 1 trillion. Wu Badian saw that VIP room number 1 had fallen into silence again. He smiled and swept his gaze across the room, 1 trillion, the demonic beasts are scared, who else wants to bid? The demons were terrified, the monster clan experts behind Long Ke had ugly expressions on their faces. Just when everyone thought that there would be no more bids, an indifferent voice sounded, 2 million Grand Mist Aura. 2 million Grand Mist Auras, everyone was stunned and looked towards a certain corner of the scene. Zhou Bai, who was sitting beside Lu Yiping, was also stunned when he heard Lu Yiping speak. He turned to look at Lu Yiping in shock. 2 million Grand Mist Auras were equivalent to 2 trillion Chaos Spirit Stones. 2 trillion Chaos Spirit Stones. Wu Baishan's 1 trillion was already shocking enough, and now, Lu Yiping's 2 trillion, even Long Ke in VIP room number 1 turned to look at the blue-robed young man sitting in the corner of the auction hall. Wu Baishan's gaze fell on Lu Yiping, and he was just as shocked and surprised. Don't be fooled by how nonchalant he sounded just now. 1 trillion was also his limit. Lu Yiping's expression remained unchanged. In the end, the flaming cloud gem was won by Lu Yiping. After Lu Yiping paid 2 million grand mist aura strands, the myriad treasure chamber of commerce delivered the flaming cloud gem to Lu Yiping. Wu Badian stared at Lu Yiping for a while, but did not say anything. He left the chamber of commerce with the monster clan experts. Send someone to check this person's identity? After leaving the chamber of commerce, one of Wu Baishan's monster clan experts asked for instructions. Who cares about his identity? Just kill him when he leaves the myriad treasure city. Wu Baishan's cold voice sounded. The monster clan didn't even put the monster clan in their eyes, not to mention some trash that came out of nowhere. The monster clan expert nodded. Indeed, the monster clan didn't care about the other party's identity. No matter who it was, no matter how strong their background was, they couldn't be stronger than the monster clan. Also, send someone to find out more about the heaven-splitting divine axe. Wu Badian added, the heaven-splitting divine axe contains Lord Pangu's will of splitting the heavens. If Lord Father can obtain the heaven-splitting divine axe and comprehend the will of splitting the heavens, Muwa, that be *tch, will only need one swing. The monster clan experts acknowledged respectfully. After receiving the flaming cloud gem, Lu Yiping didn't leave the chamber of commerce immediately. After parting ways with Zhou Bai, he went to see the myriad treasure chamber of commerce's president, Wan Shiming. With Lu Yiping spending 2 million grand mist aura strands to buy the flaming cloud gem, Wan Shiming received Lu Yiping politely. He was surprised to learn that Lu Yiping wanted to ask the myriad treasure chamber of commerce to beat up 2 people. Who was Brother Lu looking for? Wan Shiming asked curiously. Lu Yiping described his father and mother's features in detail, then said, find one person, 1 million grand mist aura strands. 1 million grand mist aura strands. Wan Shiming was dumbfounded. He felt that this was absurd. Someone actually wanted to spend 1 million grand mist aura strands to find a person? That's right, 1 million grand mist aura strands. Lu Yiping said. Subsequently, Wan Shiming accepted the mission without hesitation and promised Lu Yiping that the Chamber of Commerce would do its best to help Lu Yiping find the 2 people. Before Lu Yiping left, he paid 200,000 grand mist aura strands as a deposit. As the Myriad Treasure Chamber of Commerce's president, Wan Shiming sent Lu Yiping out of the Chamber of Commerce. Perhaps it was because of the 2 million grand mist aura strands mission, Wan Shiming reminded Lu Yiping, Brother Lu, you offended Wu Badian during the auction. It's best if you don't leave the Myriad Treasure City for the next few years. Lu Yiping nodded and thanked Wan Shiming before leaving the Chamber of Commerce. After leaving the Chamber of Commerce, Lu Yiping spent 200,000 grand mist aura strands to purchase a luxurious residence in the Myriad Treasure City. He took out the Flame Cloud gem and started to refine it in his residence. The Flame Cloud gem was different from the Dao fruit. The Dao fruit came from the creation tree, and Lu Yiping had merged with the creation tree. Refining the Dao fruit was easy, but refining the life form inside the Flame Cloud gem was not so easy. Lu Yiping spent several decades before he finally finished refining the life form inside the Flame Cloud gem. After refining the life form inside the Flame Cloud gem, his Dao ancestors' power barely increased by 10 million units. To other Dao ancestors, increasing their Dao ancestors' power by 10 million units in several decades was inconceivable. However, to Lu Yiping, it was as slow as a tortoise. It seems like I still have to refine the Dao fruit. Lu Yiping thought to himself. Although the creation tree was unable to devour Dao ancestors, refining a Sage King Dao fruit was much faster than refining the life form inside the Flame Cloud gem. It was time to leave the city. Lu Yiping got up and left the residence, heading out of the Myriad Treasure City. After Lu Yiping left the Myriad Treasure City, the dozen or so sorcerer tribesmen guarding outside followed Lu Yiping. Lu Yiping did not seem to sense the dozen sorcerer tribesmen behind him. After leaving Wanbao City, he walked through the barren mountains. Just as Lu Yiping passed by a barren mountain, the dozen sorcerer tribesmen behind him could not help but speed up and stop Lu Yiping. Lu Yiping looked at the 14 sorcerer tribesmen who stopped him and asked calmly, "What's the matter?" As he did not hide his aura at the auction, the sorcerer tribesman knew that he was the 700 million Dao ancestor. The 14 sorcerer tribesmen were not weak. One of them was the 800 million Dao ancestor. The other 2 were the 700 million Dao ancestors. Among the other 11, 3 were mid-level Dao ancestors, 2 were peak sage kings, and 6 were peak sage kings. Such a lineup was enough to destroy many top forces in the primordial world. Many top forces in the primordial world only had 2 or 3 Dao ancestors. They did not even have a mid-level Dao ancestor. The 800 million Dao ancestor laughed. Of course, it's a good thing. The other 13 sorcerer tribesmen laughed. When Liu Yiping bought the flame cloud stones, he had taken out 2 million strands of grand mist aura without even blinking an eye. His wealth must be astonishing. This was also why Wu Badian had left so many Dao ancestors to guard Liu Yiping. Yes, it's a good thing. Liu Yiping laughed when he saw the 14 sorcerer tribesmen laughing. Suddenly, Liu Yiping moved. Liu Yiping summoned the creation tree, the bell of chaos in his left hand, and Mount Buzhou in his right. Liu Yiping pushed the bell of chaos with all his strength. At the same time, he swung Mount Buzhou. Destructive power gushed out from the bell of chaos and Mount Buzhou. The 14 sorcerer tribesmen felt the power beyond their imagination and their expressions changed. Creation tree. Bell of chaos. Attack with all your strength. The 800 million Dao ancestor roared and attacked first. A large saber appeared in his hand and he slashed at the bell of chaos. The other 13 sorcerer tribesmen attacked almost at the same time. Boom, the power of the 14 sorcerer tribesmen and sage kings clashed with the bell of chaos and Mount Buzhou. There was a loud explosion. Boom. All 14 of them were sent flying or thrown into the air. The chaos bell rang for a long time, spreading back to 10,000 Treasure City and the surrounding cities. After Liu Yiping sent the 14 people flying with one strike, his attacks did not stop. The tree of creation's millions of branches turned into millions of giant whips that swept over, sending the 14 people flying again. When the 14 Saint Kings were sent flying again, Liu Yiping's figure flickered, arriving before the Saint Kings. He struck out one by one, sealing the 8 Saint Kings' powers before throwing them into the cauldron of universe. This was a fruit of Tao that the sorcerer tribe had given to him for free. It would be a waste if he did not take it. Kill. The 800 million Dao ancestor ignored his injuries and attacked Liu Yiping again. At the same time, he roared, "If you have the guts, don't use the Jianchu and the bell of chaos." Liu Yiping didn't use the chaos bell or the creation tree. He raised his hand and punched. Their fists collided. The 800 million Dao ancestor of the sorcerer race only felt a powerful force that he could not block come crashing over. The sound of bones breaking came from his arm, and he was sent flying again. He crashed to the ground, plowing the earth one after another. Liu Yiping took a step forward and came in front of him. He stared at Liu Yiping in shock and terror. "Your strength, how can it be this strong?" He was a full 100 million Dao father power higher than Liu Yiping, and yet he had been sent flying without any suspense at all. "Why is it so strong?" Liu Yiping sneered. Light surged around his body, and runes of the creation great Tao continuously condensed. The first Tao body. The creation Tao body. The 6 Tao ancestors of the sorcerer race exclaimed in unison. They did not expect Liu Yiping to condense the first Tao body, the creation Tao body. Liu Yiping did not waste any more words and attacked repeatedly. Under Liu Yiping's wild attacks, the 6 Tao ancestors of the sorcerer race were soon beaten to the point that they could not resist. Liu Yiping sealed the power of the 6 people and left through the air. Not long after Liu Yiping left, Wu Badian, the young clan leader of the sorcerer race, received the news. "What? We lost contact with Wu Long and the others?" Wu Baishan's face was gloomy. "Yes. Find them. Even if we have to turn the entire Hongmeng world upside down, we must find them." After Liu Yiping left, he chose a barren mountain and let Jianshu devour the 8 Saint Kings. He then took their Tao fruits and began to refine them one by one. The 8 Saint Kings of the sorcerer race were all top-level Saint Kings, and all of them were above 1.7 billion Saint Kings. 2 of them were even at the peak of the Saint King realm. Therefore, Liu Yiping's Tao fruits improved significantly after refining the 8 Saint Kings. Although it was not as shocking as refining the 40 Saint Kings of the Atlas Holy Land, Liu Yiping's Tao fruits had broken through to more than 93,000 Saint Kings. More than 93,000 Dao. Lu Yiping felt the surging power of the Dao ancestor in his body. Although he had not broken through to 1 billion Dao, with his current combat strength, he was not afraid even if he faced a top-level Dao ancestor of 1 billion Dao. However, although he was strong now, it was still not enough to face the entire sorcerer race. Therefore, he had to raise his strength to the peak of the Dao ancestor realm as soon as possible. Lu Yiping sped away. As he passed by the city ahead, he inquired about the sorcerer race's territory and headed there. Sometimes, the most dangerous place was actually the safest place. The sorcerer race was looking for him now, and they would never think that he would dare to go to the sorcerer race's territory. Half a day later, Lu Yiping arrived at the sorcerer race's territory. He spread out his divine sense and soon found a top-level Saint King realm expert cultivating in seclusion in a certain mountain range. Now, he needed to raise his strength as soon as possible, and he could only devour top-level Saint King realm Dao fruits. After arriving at the Saint Vein, Lu Yiping set up a formation to ensure that the battle would not cause any commotion. Only then did he sneak into the sorcerer tribe top-level Saint King's cave dwelling and subdued the Saint King at lightning speed. With Lu Yiping's current strength, that Saint King realm expert was subdued in a flash. Therefore, the entire process did not alarm anyone else. After subduing the Saint King realm expert, Lu Yiping began to refine the Dao fruit. After refining the Saint King realm expert's Dao fruit, Lu Yiping sped away, searching for his next target in the sorcerer race's territory. Although Lu Yiping had arranged a formation to prevent others from noticing, it wouldn't take long for the sorcerer race to discover the abnormality. He needed to devour as many Dao fruits as possible before the sorcerer race discovered the abnormality. Soon, Lu Yiping locked onto his second target. The second target's strength was much stronger than the first. The first target's strength was 1.2 billion Dao, while the second target's strength was 1.5 billion Dao. Lu Yiping did the same, arranging a formation to isolate the surrounding space. Then, he made his move, subduing that Saint King realm expert at lightning speed. Half a month passed. After Lu Yiping refined 13 Dao fruits in a row, Lu Yiping broke through to 1 billion Dao ancestor strength, stepping into the realm of top-level Dao ancestor. Although Lu Yiping's strength was only 1 billion Dao, his battle strength was comparable to a 1.3 billion Dao ancestor. In the sorcerer race's territory, Lu Yiping was like a fish in water, continuing to lock onto his 14th target. However, after Lu Yiping broke through to the top of the Tao ancestor realm, his improvement became slower and slower. Before breaking through to the top level of Dao ancestor, he could barely increase his Dao ancestor power by 10 million units by refining a Dao fruit of 1.5 billion units of Dao ancestor power. However, after breaking through to the top level of Dao ancestor, the Dao fruit of 1.5 billion units of Dao ancestor power he refined did not even increase his Dao ancestor power by 5 million units. Therefore, if Lu Yiping wanted to break through to the top of the Tao ancestor realm, he would need to refine at least 100 top Saint Kings of the sorcerer tribe. However, there were many top Saint Kings of the sorcerer tribe. Lu Yiping was not worried that he could not find more than 100 top Saint Kings of the sorcerer tribe. Lu Yiping continued to refine the fruit of the Tao ancestor realm and continued to look for the next target without stopping. Every time he refined a fruit of the Tao ancestor realm, there was a higher chance of being discovered. Therefore, Lu Yiping did not waste a minute and did not stop. He had never been in such a hurry. When Lu Yiping entered the territory of the sorcerer tribe for 2 months, his power of the Tao ancestor finally broke through to 1.3 billion Dao. Lu Yiping continued to lock on to the next target. When Lu Yiping entered the territory of the sorcerer tribe for 4 months, his power of the Tao ancestor realm finally broke through to 1.5 billion Dao. However, the improvement became slower and slower. When Lu Yiping entered the territory of the sorcerer tribe for half a year, his power of the Tao ancestor realm had just broken through to 1.6 billion Dao. With Lu Yiping's power of 1.6 billion Dao, it was comparable to a 1.8 billion Dao ancestor. Although there were many Dao ancestors in the sorcerer tribe, there were only a few Dao ancestors above 1.8 billion Dao. Now, Lu Yiping's power could squeeze into the top 10 of the sorcerer tribe. However, it was not enough. Liu Yiping wanted the peak of the Tao ancestor realm, the strongest in the Hongming world. Just as Liu Yiping continued to lock on to the next target, in the sorcerer tribe's main hall, the sorcerer ancestor glanced at the Dao ancestors below the main hall, and his eyes fell on his son Wu Badian. Wu Qian and the rest have no news? Wu Qian was the 800 million Dao ancestor who had been waiting for Liu Yiping in Million Treasure City half a year ago. Not yet. Wu Badian lowered his head, not daring to look at Ancestor Sorcerer. In the Battle of Treasure City, 6 of the 14 members of the Sorcerer tribe were Tao ancestors. The disappearance of 6 Tao ancestors was a great loss even for the Sorcerer tribe. Have you found out about that person's background? Ancestor Sorcerer asked. I've already sent people to investigate. Wu Baixian's head was still lowered. But they haven't found anything yet. Ancestor Sorcerer coldly snorted. The hall trembled. Wu Baixian's heart trembled. Although he was domineering, he didn't dare to breathe loudly in front of his father. In the main hall, the Sorcerer tribe Dao ancestors did not dare to make a sound. What about the heaven-splitting divine axe? Ancestor Sorcerer asked. Wu Badian stammered, I've already sent people to investigate. The monster clan is also trying to find out the whereabouts of the heaven-splitting divine axe. So there's still no news? Ancestor Sorcerer asked. Yes, father. Wu Baixian's voice weakened. At this time, outside the main hall, a sorcerer tribe guard suddenly walked in. After bowing, he said to Ancestor Sorcerer, reporting to Ancestor Sorcerer, Lord Wu Xian outside wants to see you. He said that he has something important to report to you. There were a total of 12 palaces in the sorcerer tribe, each of which was in charge of all matters of the sorcerer tribe. Wu Xian was the hall master of the 12 palaces mission hall. Let him in. Ancestor Sorcerer said. Outside the door, Wu Xian walked in. After bowing, he said carefully, Ancestor Sorcerer, there's something I want to report. Wu Tong reported that his master, Wu Ming, is missing. In the main hall, the sorcerer tribe Dao ancestors looked at each other. Wu Ming was an extremely talented genius of the sorcerer tribe. He was at the peak of the Saint King realm and was expected to break through to the Dao ancestor realm in a few thousand years. The higher-ups of the sorcerer tribe had high hopes for him. Therefore, the Dao ancestors in the main hall were all stunned when they heard that Wu Ming was missing. Missing? Ancestor Sorcerer was also surprised. When did this happen? Wu Tong said that Wu Ming has been missing for at least half a month. He said that his master had been cultivating in seclusion in the cave residence and did not go out. Half a month ago, he had something important to report to his master, Wu Ming, and found that Wu Ming was missing. Wu Xian said, Wu Tong contacted his master, Wu Ming, but there was no reply. He did not go out, but went missing. The Dao ancestors of the sorcerer tribe were surprised. Enemy invasion? Wu Badian did not believe it. Even the experts of the demon tribe would not dare to sneak into the territory of the sorcerer tribe to kill people. Investigate. Ancestor Sorcerer's face was gloomy. Yes. Wu Xian replied respectfully. After some investigation, Wu Xian found that there were dozens of missing Saint Kings of the sorcerer tribe. And all of them went missing when they were cultivating in seclusion. Wu Xian realized that the situation was serious and quickly reported the results of the investigation to Ancestor Sorcerer. What, 74 missing Saint Kings? Wu Badian and others were shocked when they heard the results of the investigation. Ancestor Sorcerer's eyes were cold. Seal all the space in the territory of the sorcerer tribe and find them. Find them, and I want them alive. Ancestor Sorcerer's order was quickly transmitted to all the cities on the continent. Immediately, the vast sky above the territory of the sorcerer tribe was filled with sorcerer tribe troops. One continent after another, the sorcerer tribe was in a state of panic. In a mountain peak, Liu Yiping looked at the sorcerer tribe troops in the distant sky. Although he handled it well, the sorcerer tribe had found out after half a year. Liu Yiping disappeared in a flash and began to search for his next target. Since they had found out, he had to seize the time to refine them. Another few days passed. Wu Xian reported to Ancestor Sorcerer that there were still missing Saint Kings. Ancestor Sorcerer's eyes were filled with killing intent. He ordered all the Saint Kings of the sorcerer tribe to gather at the Ancestral Sorcerer Palace. Lu Yiping knew that the sorcerer ancestor had summoned all the saint kings of the sorcerer tribe to the ancestral sorcerer palace, so he continued to kill the top-level saint kings of the sorcerer tribe along the way. After a round of killing, Lu Yiping finally broke through the 1.7 billion Dao ancestor power level. After breaking through to 1.7 billion Dao ancestor force, Lu Yiping's improvement slowed down. Seeing that almost all the saint kings had gathered at the ancestral sorcerer palace, Lu Yiping left the territory of the sorcerer tribe. Ancestor sorcerer's face darkened when he learned that more than 20 saint kings had been killed on the way. However, no matter how hard the sorcerer tribe investigated, they could not find the culprit. Lu Yiping had just left the territory of the sorcerer tribe when he received a message from Wan Shiming, the president of the Million Treasure Chamber of Commerce. The message said that his parents had been found. After reading the message, Lu Yiping was excited. His parents had really come to the Hongming world. Qing City. Lu Yiping read. The message said that his parents had opened a small chamber of commerce called the Lu Family Chamber of Commerce in a city called Qing City in the human territory. Lu Yiping headed towards Qing City in the human territory. Just as Lu Yiping was heading towards Qing City, Lu Yuan was using his Saint King force to heal Gu Qiuyue in the Lu Family Chamber of Commerce. They had been in the chaotic turbulence for a long time. Gu Qiuyue's saint veins had been damaged and she had been poisoned by an invisible poison. Although Lu Yuan had been treating Gu Qiuyue all these years, not only did Gu Qiuyue not recover, her injuries worsened. After a while, Lu Yuan's face turned pale. The formless poison that Gu Qiuyue was afflicted with was the poison of chaos, so it consumed a lot of Saint King's power. Brother Wen, forget it. Gu Qiuyue's heart ached when she saw Lu Yuan's state. Lu Yuan did not speak, and continued to circulate his qi to treat Gu Qiuyue's injuries. Only when the Saint Ruler qi in his body was completely exhausted did he stop. Brother Wen, Saint Ruler force is unable to expel my chaos poison. Don't waste your Saint Ruler force anymore, said Gu Qiuyue. Lu Yuan fell silent for a moment, and then he said, don't worry, I'll ask a Dao Father to help you expel the chaotic poison within your body. The poison of chaos in Gu Qiuyue's body was extremely difficult to expel, but it was not impossible. If a Tao ancestor expert was willing to expend the power of a Tao ancestor to expel the poison of chaos for Gu Qiuyue, the poison of chaos could be expelled. Gu Qiuyue shook her head, we have no roots in the primordial world, so how can we invite a Dao ancestor realm expert? Moreover, it's impossible for a Dao ancestor realm expert to be willing to waste the Dao ancestor realm energy to help us. Even if they were willing, the price would be astronomical. With Lu Yuan and Gu Qiuyue's net worth, they simply couldn't afford it. However, Lu Yuan's eyes were firm as he said, I will definitely ask the Dao ancestor to heal you. At this moment, someone knocked on the palace door. What is it? Lu Yuan frowned and asked. Lord President, the Heaven and Earth Chamber of Commerce's people are here again. Outside, the Lu Family Chamber of Commerce's Vice President Chao Feng's voice sounded. Lu Yuan's face sank. After arriving in the Grand Mist world, the two of them had established the Lu Family's Chamber of Commerce. Originally, their business was doing well, but ever since the Heaven and Earth Chamber of Commerce established a branch in Qing City, they would frequently send people over to cause trouble. The Heaven and Earth Chamber of Commerce was quite famous in the Grand Mist world, and its strength far exceeded the Lu family's Chamber of Commerce that had just been established several tens of thousands of years ago. Let's go out and take a look. When Gu Qiuyue heard that people from Heaven and Earth Commerce had come, she propped herself up and said. Although Chao Shua didn't say what it was definitely not a good thing for the Heaven and Earth Commerce Association's people to come. I'll go out. You should rest well here, Lu Yuan said to Gu Qiuyue. Gu Qiuyue shook her head. I'm not that delicate. Let's go out together. Although Gu Qiuyue's strength was not as strong as Lu Yuan's, she was still at the peak of the sage realm. Lu Yuan knew that his wife was stubborn, so he nodded. Then, the two of them opened the door and walked out together. Seeing the two of them coming out, Chao Feng walked up to them. Lord Chairman. Chao Feng was somewhat anxious. The people of the Heaven and Earth Chamber of Commerce are sparring at the entrance of the Chamber of Commerce again. After the people from the Heaven and Earth Chamber of Commerce arrived, they did not enter the Chamber of Commerce's trading hall to cause trouble. Every time, they would spar with each other at the entrance of the Chamber of Commerce, causing the guests in the Lu family's Chamber of Commerce to panic and leave one after another. As for those who originally wanted to come to the Lu family Chamber of Commerce to do business, when they saw the disciples of the Heaven and Earth Chamber of Commerce sparring there, how would they dare to enter the Lu family Chamber of Commerce? They all took a long detour. When Guqiuyue heard that Heaven and Earth Commerce's people were exchanging pointers at the entrance again, she couldn't help but get angry. Heaven and Earth Commerce's people are becoming more and more excessive. In the past, he would only come once a month. Now, he would come every 2 to 3 days. It wasn't that the Lu family Chamber of Commerce didn't communicate with the Qingqing City Lord, but the Qingqing City Lord said that the Heaven and Earth Chamber of Commerce didn't cause any trouble or hurt anyone. They were just sparring on the streets of Qingqing. This was their business, and the Qingqing City Lord couldn't interfere. The Qingqing City Lord was obviously siding with the Heaven and Earth Trading Company. Lu Yuan's group arrived at the Chamber of Commerce's main entrance. There were 30 to 40 people from the Heaven and Earth Trading Company, and they filled the Lu family Chamber of Commerce's main entrance. There were 2 people sparring and exchanging pointers. The 2 people sparring were both in the true saint realm, exchanging blows back and forth. Saint force rippled in the air, creating waves of energy. Lu Yuan's gaze fell on a white-haired fatty on the other side. Injioluan, you've gone too far. Your Heaven and Earth Trading Company is sending people here to cause trouble every 3 to 5 days. Injioluan was the vice president of the Heaven and Earth Trading Company in Qingqing City. He wasn't weak, a low-level true saint king, but he was slightly stronger than Lu Yuan. Injioluan laughed heartily at Lu Yuan's words, his face beaming. President Lu, you're wrong. Our Heaven and Earth Trading Company's people have never caused any trouble. How can we cause trouble every 3 to 5 days? Not causing trouble? Then what's going on here? Lu Yuan's eyes turned cold, pointing at the 2 people sparring at the entrance. Injioluan laughed, this is a city street, not your Lu family Chamber of Commerce's territory. We're here to spar, not violating the Qingqing City Lord Mansion's rules. You. Lu Yuan glared at him. Guqiuyue saw that Lu Yuan was about to make a move, so she tugged at Lu Yuan's sleeve and shook her head. The Heaven and Earth Trading Company's people were doing this to enrage Lu Yuan, forcing him to make a move. Once Lu Yuan made a move, the Heaven and Earth Trading Company's people would be able to attack without restraint. The Qingqing City Lord Mansion would use this as an excuse to expel the Lu family Chamber of Commerce from Qingqing City. Injioluan saw that Lu Yuan was angry, but his smile remained. President Lu, what's wrong? You want to fight? Why don't we find a place to spar? Lu Yuan's face darkened. Guqiuyue tugged at Lu Yuan's sleeve, saying, let's go back. Injioluan didn't give up, he laughed. President Lu won't be scared, right? President Lu looks like a bear, but I didn't expect him to be a coward. The Heaven and Earth Trading Company's people laughed loudly. Lu Yuan clenched his fists, but in the end, he suppressed his anger and entered the main hall with the Lu family Chamber of Commerce's people. Because Injioluan's group was sparring at the main entrance, all the guests in the main hall had left, and the place was deserted. Lord President, if this continues, I'm afraid no one will come to our Chamber of Commerce. Vice President Xiao Feng said worriedly. Lu Yuan fell silent. Why don't we move to another city? Xiao Feng suggested. Guqiuyue shook her head, there are other chambers of commerce in other cities. No matter where we move to, it will be the same. Let's wait and see. Lu Yuan sighed inwardly. If there was no other way, they could only close the Chamber of Commerce. Guqiuyue had been poisoned by the chaos energy, and she needed to consume chaos spiritual pills to suppress the chaos energy. The cost was high, and this was the reason why Lu Yuan wanted to open a Chamber of Commerce to make money. If they closed the Chamber of Commerce, where would they find the money to buy chaos spiritual pills? Lu Yuan was worried. Injioluan watched Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue return to the Chamber of Commerce. He said to the Heaven and Earth Trading Company's people, we're also going back. We'll come here again tomorrow to spar. Come here again tomorrow, Injioluan purposely said it loudly. Night fell. The moonlight was like water. A figure whistled through the air towards the Green City at lightning speed. In the blink of an eye, he arrived outside the Green City. Lu Yiping stopped outside the Green City's main gates, then stepped into the city. Although the Green City wasn't one of the Grand Mist World's biggest cities, it was still one of the most famous cities on the mainland. Hence, it was bustling with activity. Even though it was late at night, the streets were still brightly lit. Lu Yiping inquired about the Lu family's trading house's location and headed in their direction. At this time, inside the Lu family's trading house's inner hall, Guqiuyue said to Lu Yuan, "Brother Wen, why don't we close the trading house and find a secluded place to cultivate? We can think of a way to return to the chaos world." Lu Yuan shook his head. "The trading house needs to continue operating. We need money to buy chaos spiritual pills for you. Without chaos spiritual pills, Guqiuyue wouldn't be able to hold on for long. As for the chaos world, it was impossible for them to return with their current strength. Outside the Grand Mist world, there were terrifying chaos currents everywhere. If they left the Grand Mist world, they would be swept away by the chaos currents again. Next time, they wouldn't be so lucky to return to the Grand Mist world." While Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue were at their wits' end, Guqiuyue's maid came in and reported, "Lord President, Madam, there is a young master outside. He says his name is Lu Yiping, and he wants to see you." "What did you say? Lu Yiping?" Lu Yuan was dumbfounded. Both Guqiuyue and Lu Yuan couldn't believe their ears. "Yes, he said his name is Lu Yiping." The maid answered respectfully. Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue looked at each other, bewildered. Could it be someone with the same name? Guqiuyue found it hard to believe that their son was in the Grand Mist world. Lu Yuan asked the maid, "What does he look like?" The maid tried to recall, then described Lu Yiping's appearance to Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue. Guqiuyue's eyes turned red hearing that, "It's Yiping. It's Ping-er. Ping-er is really in the Grand Mist world, he's also in the Grand Mist world." Guqiuyue was so excited that her words were incoherent. "Quick, bring us there." Lu Yuan was also excited. He rushed out of the inner hall with Guqiuyue and headed towards the trading house's main entrance. Although it was already late at night, in order to make more money, the Lu family's trading house was still open. When Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue rushed out, they saw a young man standing at the trading house's main entrance. The young man was clad in blue robes, his eyebrows were sharp like swords, and his eyes twinkling like stars. He was a handsome young man with an extraordinary aura. The young man just stood there quietly. There was no light, but he gave off an unusually dazzling feeling. Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue shuddered when they saw the young man. Guqiuyue, in particular, immediately began to cry. Back when Lu Yiping left the Lu clan, millions of years had passed since then. Therefore, the two of them had not seen Lu Yiping for millions of years. When he saw Lu Yiping again, he was no longer in the chaos realm. When Lu Yiping saw Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue again, he couldn't contain his excitement. Seeing Guqiuyue and Lu Yuan rushing out, Lu Yiping strode into the Lu family chamber of commerce's main hall. He quickly walked towards Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue, stopping in front of them. Guqiuyue gazed at Lu Yiping, and then she stretched out her trembling hands to touch Lu Yiping's face. She said with tears in her eyes, "Ping-er, so you're in the primordial world." She thought that Lu Yiping had come to the primordial world after leaving the Lu family. "All these years, your mother and I have been looking for you with great difficulty. We didn't expect you to be in the primordial world." Lu Yuan was also excited. Lu Yiping was stunned. He could tell that his parents thought he had been in the primordial world all these years. However, Lu Yiping did not explain. He smiled and said, "I also didn't expect father and mother to be in the primordial world." Guqiuyue wiped her tears and asked, "Ping-er, how did you find us?" Lu Yiping smiled and said, "I paid the Myriad Treasure Chamber of Commerce to inquire about you too." Myriad Treasure Chamber of Commerce. Guqiuyue and Lu Yuan were stunned. Guqiuyue asked, "That should cost a lot of money, right?" Lu Yiping smiled and said, "Not much. 2 million strands of Grand Mist aura was really not much to him." Guqiuyue and Lu Yiping didn't mind. They happily led Lu Yiping into the Lu family chamber of commerce's inner hall. Lu Yuan smiled and said to Lu Yiping, "This Lu family chamber of commerce was established by me and your mother. How is it? The scale is not bad, right?" Although the Lu family chamber of commerce was not one of the top chambers of commerce in the primordial world, it was still one of the top chambers of commerce in the Azure City. The scale of the chamber of commerce was not bad. Lu Yiping could hear the pride in his father's voice. He looked at the Chamber of Commerce and nodded with a smile. It is not bad. Lu Yuan asked, Ping how have you been in the primordial world all these years? Not bad. Lu Yiping replied. In the past few decades since he had arrived in the primordial world, he had spent most of his time in the myriad treasure city refining the flamecloud stone. Guqiuyue pulled Lu Yiping aside and asked him a lot of questions. Lu Yuan interjected occasionally. Lu Yiping sat there, listening to his parents' questions and acting very obediently. Mother, is the poison in your body a kind of chaos poison? After a while, Lu Yiping suddenly asked. The chaos poison in Guqiuyue's body naturally couldn't be hidden from Lu Yiping. Lu Yiping and Guqiuyue were stunned when Lu Yiping suddenly mentioned the chaos poison. Your mother and I encountered chaos turbulence, and your mother was accidentally poisoned. Lu Yuan went on, but I've already contacted a Golden Light Dao Gates chief, Lord Qin Hong. Lord Qin Hong is a Dao ancestor expert, and he has agreed to help your mother expel the chaos poison. In fact, Qin Hong had agreed to help, but the price was 10 billion chaos spirit stones. Lu Yuan couldn't take out 10 billion chaos spirit stones. Lu Yiping remained calm and said, Father, I can expel the chaos poison in my mother's body. Let me try. Guqiuyue smiled hearing that. Ping I know you are filial, but the chaos poison in my body can only be expelled by a Dao ancestor. Lu Yuan also smiled. This chaos poison is very stubborn. I can't expel it even after circulating my Saint King strength. When Lu Yiping left the Lu family, he wasn't even a true saint. In their minds, even if Lu Yiping's strength had grown in recent years, he was still a true saint at most. Lu Yiping suddenly pointed a finger at Guqiuyue. A finger force flew out and entered Guqiuyue's body. The divine veins in Guqiuyue's body trembled. She felt an extremely powerful force sweeping through her entire body. Under this force, the primal chaos poison in her body was like a mist that constantly floated out from her pores. Guqiuyue felt an indescribable sense of relief. Guqiuyue sensed the changes in her body and looked at Lu Yiping in disbelief, saying, The chaos poison in my body has been completely expelled. Lu Yiping looked at Lu Yiping in astonishment. Ping did you break through to the Dao ancestor realm? Lu Yuan asked, his voice trembling uncontrollably. Guqiuyue also stared at Lu Yiping with a nervous expression. Lu Yiping didn't conceal the matter, seeing the two of them staring at him with burning eyes. He smiled and said, I broke through 1,000 years ago. Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue were pleasantly surprised at Huang Xiaolong's answer. Both of them understood what it meant to be a Dao ancestor. The reason why the Lu family commerce was bullied by the Heaven and Earth Commerce Chamber of Commerce was because they didn't have a Dao ancestor. If they had a Dao ancestor, the Heaven and Earth Commerce Chamber of Commerce wouldn't be so unbridled. Good, our Lu family finally has a Tao ancestor. Lu Yuan laughed heartily, his laughter shaking the ground of the courtyard. God bless our Lu family. Who dares to look down on our Lu family in the future? Lu Yuan laughed heartily. Lu Yiping broke through to the Tao ancestor realm, and Lu Yuan could hardly contain his excitement. Guqiuyue was also full of joy and excitement. Lu Yuan said happily to Lu Yiping, Ping you've broken through to the Tao ancestor realm, this is a joyous occasion. Let's hold a celebration and invite all the experts in Qingqing and the surrounding cities to come and celebrate. What do you think? Lu Yiping smiled. Father, you can make the decision. Lu Yiping naturally did not like to hold celebrations, but as long as his parents were happy, it was fine. Lu Yuan laughed. Well, I'll draw up a list with your mother now, and let Chao Feng send it over tomorrow. As for the date of the celebration, let's set it for 2 months later. 2 months was neither long nor short, and it was enough time to prepare. Okay. Lu Yiping smiled. Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue immediately began to discuss who to invite. The Lu family Chamber of Commerce had been established for tens of thousands of years, and they knew many people in their daily business dealings. Lu Yiping saw that his father and mother were happily discussing the name list. He smiled and didn't say anything, sitting to the side to accompany his parents. After several hours of discussion, the two finally drew up a preliminary list. The list was very long, and more than 400 families were invited. Almost all the families in Qingqing and the surrounding cities that had some relationship with the Lu family Chamber of Commerce were invited. In Lu Yuan's words, this was a joyous occasion, and a good thing should be celebrated. Lu Yiping sat with his parents for a while. The sky gradually brightened. The sun shone on the earth. Lu Yiping looked at the rising sun through the courtyard, thinking about the sorcerer tribe. Previously, in the Battle of Wanbao City, he had captured the sorcerer tribe's 6 great ancestors and 8 holy kings. The sorcerer tribe had been searching for him. Now that he had appeared in Qingqing, with the sorcerer tribe's power, they would soon find out. However, his Dao ancestor power had already exceeded 1.7 billion units. With his current combat strength, he no longer feared the sorcerer tribe or the sorcerer ancestor. The sorcerer tribe. Lu Yiping's face was expressionless. Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue walked out and said, "Ping Er, let's go. We'll introduce you to some of the higher-ups and disciples of the Chamber of Commerce." Since Lu Yiping was here, Lu Yuan naturally had to introduce Lu Yiping to the members of the Lu family's Chamber of Commerce. Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue led Lu Yiping out of the inner hall and into the front hall. Earlier, Lu Yuan had already informed Chao Feng to gather everyone. Thus, when the 3 of them arrived, everyone from the Chamber of Commerce was already gathered in the front hall. Lu Yuan's gaze swept over the several hundred people in the Chamber of Commerce, his face full of smiles as he said to the crowd, "Let me introduce everyone, this is my son, Lu Yiping." Everyone in the Chamber of Commerce was in an uproar. Chao Feng and the others were scrutinizing Lu Yiping. Lu Yiping naturally knew why they were looking at him like that. Chao Feng and the others were trying to guess the strength and realm of this young master who had suddenly appeared. Lu Yuan brought Lu Yiping to Chao Feng and introduced him to Lu Yiping. "Yiping, this is Vice President Chao Feng. Vice President Chao Feng is not weak. He is at the pinnacle of the Saint Realm and can break through to the Saint King Realm at any time." Lu Yiping nodded in greeting. When Chao Feng saw that Lu Yiping, a junior, only gave him a slight nod and didn't even address him, he was somewhat unhappy in his heart. However, for the sake of Lu Yuan, he didn't say anything. Subsequently, Lu Yuan introduced the other hall masters to Lu Yiping. After the introductions, Lu Yuan was about to talk about the celebration when there was a sudden commotion outside. A Lu family Chamber of Commerce guard rushed in a fluster. "Lord President, the Heaven and Earth Chamber of Commerce's people are causing trouble again." Lu Yuan's face sank, his eyes brimming with anger. Yesterday, the Heaven and Earth Chamber of Commerce's people came to cause trouble, and they're here again today. It's obvious that they want to exterminate our Lu family Chamber of Commerce. The Lu family Chamber of Commerce's collection hall master said angrily. "Lord President, we shouldn't endure anymore. If we continue to endure, it'll only fuel their arrogance. Let's go out and fight with them." The Lu family Chamber of Commerce's upper echelon and disciples were indignant. Normally, Lu Yuan treated the Lu family Chamber of Commerce's upper echelon and disciples well. Seeing that the Heaven and Earth Chamber of Commerce's people were getting out of hand, they were all enraged. Although Lu Yiping didn't know what was going on, listening to everyone's words, he roughly understood the situation. "Father, I'll go out and take a look," Lu Yiping said to Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan understood his son's temperament and said, "Ping Er, don't be impulsive. Although the Heaven and Earth Chamber of Commerce's branches president and vice president are just low-level Saint King Realm masters, the Heaven and Earth Chamber of Commerce's headquarters has 3 Dao Ancestor Realm masters. Moreover, the Heaven and Earth Chamber of Commerce's president is a master with 200 million Dao Ancestor strength." Hearing this, Lu Yiping was non-committal. He smiled and said, "I know, father. Don't worry, I know what to do." Lu Yuan was still worried, saying, "We'll go out with you to take a look." Then, he and Guqiuyue brought Lu Yiping out. Chao Feng and the rest of the Heaven and Earth Chamber of Commerce's upper echelon followed behind. When they reached the Chamber of Commerce's main entrance, they saw that the Heaven and Earth Chamber of Commerce's people were already sparring on the street. It was still Yin Jiuluan leading the group, but this time, there were more people. Yesterday, there were 30 to 40 people, and today, there were 70 to 80 people, double the number. It turned out that when the passers-by saw the Heaven and Earth Chamber of Commerce's people sparring, they all took a detour, not daring to get close. Seeing Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue coming out, Yin Jiuluan greeted with a smile, "President Lu, good morning." Lu Yuan's face sank. Lu Yiping looked at Yin Jiuluan and said in a cold voice, "Leave all the things you have on you. If you scram now, there's still time. Hearing this, Lu Yuan knew he was in trouble. Sure enough, Injioluan's eyes turned cold, and his palm slapped out at Lu Yiping. Where did this reckless thing come from? Scram. In this slap, Injioluan used his Saint King realm strength. Injioluan's 100 million Dao ancestor strength roared out. Chao Feng and the rest paled. Before coming here today, Injioluan had received their Green City president's order to kill several people. Therefore, his first move was a thunderous strike. Injioluan looked at Lu Yiping with a vicious expression. Just when he thought that his palm would turn this blue-robed young man into ashes, his palm stopped right in front of the other party. There was no resistance in front of him, but Injioluan's palm couldn't advance an inch further. Lu Yiping glanced at Injioluan, and with this glance, Injioluan felt like the world was collapsing. Everything around him seemed to disappear in an instant. That young man stood there, growing infinitely bigger, as if he was the only existence in this world. Injioluan's eyes widened in fear, his mouth opened and he vomited blood. Chao Feng and the others were dumbfounded when they saw Injioluan suddenly attack, then suddenly stop and vomit blood. The experts from the Heaven and Earth Commerce Association were also dumbfounded. Lord Yin. One of the Heaven and Earth Commerce Hall's experts stepped forward, but before he could get close to Injioluan, he was sent flying by a shocking force. The Heaven and Earth Commerce Hall's experts were so frightened that they stopped in their tracks. Chao Feng and the others were even more shocked. Ping just punish him. Guqiuyue regained her senses and said. Afraid that Lu Yiping didn't know about the Heaven and Earth Commerce Hall's situation, Guqiuyue added, the Heaven and Earth Commerce Hall is very strong. They have more than 50 branches and 3 Dao ancestors. Their president Lu Peng is an expert with 200 million battle force Dao ancestor strength. Lu Yiping pulled Injioluan, who was almost done vomiting, in front of him. He sealed Injioluan's strength and threw him into the tree creation space, allowing the tree creation space to devour his holy king force. Mother, it's fine. I can deal with 200 million battle force Dao ancestors. Lu Yiping said to Guqiuyue. Guqiuyue and Lu Yuan were stunned. Chao Feng and the others also looked at Lu Yiping in shock. Their Lu family commerce hall's young master who appeared out of nowhere could deal with 200 million battle force Dao ancestors? Dao ancestor, their Lu family commerce hall's young master was a Dao ancestor? When the Heaven and Earth Commerce Hall's experts saw that Injioluan was taken away and heard Lu Yiping say that he could deal with 200 million battle force Dao ancestors, their faces paled and they fled in panic. Lu Yiping watched as the Heaven and Earth Commerce Hall's experts fled, but he didn't stop them. He said to Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue, Father, Mother, I'll be back soon. He then followed behind one of the Heaven and Earth Commerce Hall's experts, heading to the Green City branch. While Lu Yiping was heading towards the Heaven and Earth Commerce Hall, the Green City branch president Tao Jing was dumbfounded when he heard his subordinates report. You said, the vice president was captured by the Lu family commerce hall's people? It's Lu Yuan's son. The Emperor Yan's subordinate who had just escaped paled. Lu Yuan's son? Tao Jing was confused. That subordinate's voice, Lu Yiping it, he said that he could deal with 200 million battle force Dao ancestors. Tao Jing stared blankly and asked, what's going on? The subordinate didn't dare to hide anything and recounted what had happened. Tao Jing was bewildered when he heard that Injioluan had attacked Lu Yiping but had suddenly stopped and started coughing up blood. Right at this moment, the Heaven and Earth Commerce Hall suddenly exploded with a loud bang. A shocking ray of light slashed down from the sky. Feeling the terrifying power of that ray of light, Tao Jing fled in terror. Just as he flew up, he saw the light splitting the Heaven and Earth trading firm into two from the middle. The Heaven and Earth trading firm was like a sliced fruit, splitting into two halves from the ground, sand and dust billowed. It did not fall for a long time. Tao Jing was shocked and angry. Suddenly, his eyes narrowed as he saw a blue-robed figure walking out from the rolling sand. You're Lu Yuan's son? Tao Jing was surprised. He was still skeptical about his subordinate's report. If Lu Yuan's son's strength really exceeded 200 million battle force Dao ancestors, would Lu Yuan have endured humiliation for so many years? Moreover, Lu Yuan's wife had been poisoned by the chaos poison and couldn't get rid of it for many years. She had been tortured by the chaos poison all this time. If his son was really a master with strength exceeding 200 million battle-force Dao ancestors, why didn't he help Lu Yuan's wife get rid of the chaos poison? Lu Yiping looked indifferently at the other party. Although the 200 million battle-force Dao fruits were useless to him, he could give them to his father and mother to refine. His mother had been stuck at the peak of the true saint realm for many years. She only needed an opportunity to break through to the true saint realm. Lu Yiping pulled the Heaven and Earth Commerce Hall's Green City president Tao Jing in front of him. Tao Jing only felt his whole body tighten, and a powerful force that he couldn't resist enveloped him, and then pulled him in front of Lu Yiping. "Who are you?" Tao Jing looked fearfully at Lu Yiping. "Our Heaven and Earth Commerce Hall's president is a subordinate of the sorcerer tribe's ancestor, Lord Wugan." "Wugan?" Lu Yiping smiled hearing this. What a coincidence. What a coincidence, Tao Jing was puzzled. Lu Yiping threw Tao Jing's sealed strength into the creation tree space. In the creation tree space, the 6 Tao ancestors of Wugan and Yin Jioluan, who had just been thrown in, were imprisoned. Tao Jing was thrown into the creation tree space. When he saw the 6 Tao ancestors of the sorcerer tribe imprisoned, he was stunned for a while and said, "Lord Wugan?" In the past, he had been fortunate enough to follow their president to meet Wugan once at a large trade fair. However, he still found it hard to believe that the blood-stained Wugan in tattered clothes was the same Lord Wugan he had met in the past. At this time, Lu Yuan, Guqiuyue, Chao Feng, and the rest who had caught up to them were stunned when they saw the Heaven and Earth Commerce Hall split into 2 halves. Moments later, Lu Yiping, Lu Yuan, and Guqiuyue returned to the Lu family Commerce Hall. On the way back, Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue felt their hearts throbbing. Lu Yuan wanted to say something, but when the words reached his mouth, he didn't know what to say. Back at the Lu family Commerce Hall, Lu Yiping led Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue back to the inner hall. "Ping let's release Tao Jing and Yin Jioluan," Lu Yuan said after some thought. A bright light flickered in Lu Yiping's hand, and 2 Dao fruits appeared in his palm. Seeing the 2 Dao fruits in Lu Yiping's hand, Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue were dumbfounded. "These are Dao fruits?" Lu Yuan asked with uncertainty. Lu Yiping confirmed, "That's right, these are the creation tree's Dao fruits. Father, mother, in fact, I obtained the creation tree and restored its vitality. It was because of the creation tree that my strength improved by leaps and bounds." "Creation tree!" Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue exclaimed in unison. Lu Yiping nodded, then had Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue swallow the Dao fruits and used his Dao ancestor power to help them refine the Dao fruits. While Lu Yiping was helping Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue refine the Dao fruits, the news of the Heaven and Earth Chamber of Commerce's destruction spread like wildfire. At the Heaven and Earth Chamber of Commerce's headquarters, Lu Peng was dumbfounded when he heard the news. "Lord Lu Peng, how about I make a trip to Green City?" one of Lu Peng's subordinates asked. Lu Peng tapped his finger on the table, pondering. "A few days ago, Tao Jing reported to me that Lu Yuan also signed up for Goddess Nuwa's artifact refining competition. Since that's the case, there's no need to go to Green City." Several months later, a flying ship flew out from Green City, heading towards the demonic beast race's holy land. It was Lu Yuan, who was heading to the demonic beast race's holy land to participate in the artifact refining competition. Accompanying him were Lu Yiping, Guqiuyue, and her 2 maids. The artifact refining competition held by Goddess Nuwa had amazing rewards. Lu Yuan had signed up for the artifact refining competition because of the prize money. Several months later, with the help of Lu Yiping's Dao ancestor power and creation tree's grand mist aura, Guqiuyue had broken through to Holy King realm. Lu Yuan's improvement was also obvious. "Ping I'm afraid the Heaven and Earth Chamber of Commerce's people will also participate in this time's artifact refining competition. If you run into them, endure as much as you can. Don't make a move in the demonic beast race's holy land." On the flying ship, Lu Yiping said to Lu Yiping, "Father, don't worry." Lu Yiping said. However, the premise was that the Heaven and Earth Commerce Hall's people did not make a move. If they did, it would be a different story. He did not like to cause trouble, but he was never afraid of it. Guqiuyue said, "I heard that Lady Nuwa invited Lady Song Ling to be the judge for this year's competition. I wonder if it's true." When mentioning Nuwa and Song Ling, Guqiuyue's face was filled with reverence and admiration. Nuwa was the #1 expert of the demonic beast race, and also one of the strongest experts in the Grand Mist world. Song Ling was the #1 expert of the human race, and also the #1 artificer of the human race. Like Nuwa, she was one of the 5 great beauties of the Grand Mist world. The two women were not only idolized by the men of the Grand Mist world, but also by all the women of the Grand Mist world. Lu Yuan said, "It should be true." Many experts signed up for this year's competition because of Lady Song Ling. They just want to see Lady Song Ling. Lady Song Ling rarely comes out, and even Dao ancestors can't see her. Then he added, "The key is that Lady Song Ling is not married yet. Beautiful, single. And he was strong, she was also the #1 artificer of the Grand Mist world. Therefore, Song Ling was the dream lover of almost every man in the Grand Mist world." Lu Yuan then turned to Lu Yiping and joked, "Ping you haven't been married all these years, right?" Lu Yiping was stunned, then he shook his head and smiled, "Not yet." He couldn't help but think of the Luo River in the lower realm. Lu Yuan smiled, "Then you still have a chance." Then he said, "Lady Song Ling said that if a man can beat her in artifact forging and is single, he can marry her. I remember that you've always liked to study alchemy, artifact forging, and array formations, right? How have your artifact forging and array formations been these years?" Guqiuyue smiled, "Lady Song Ling is the #1 artificer of the Grand Mist world. Who can beat her? Although Ping is good at artifact forging, how can he beat Lady Song Ling?" Lu Yuan smiled, "I'm just saying." He did not expect Lu Yiping to beat Song Ling. After all, even Goddess Nuwa and the sorcerer ancestor admitted that they were inferior to Song Ling in artifact forging. Who could beat her? Lu Yuan continued, "The rules set by Lady Song Ling are too high. Who in the Grand Mist world can beat her in artifact refinement?" Guqiuyue smiled and said, "Lady Song Ling has too many pursuers, so she deliberately set this rule to make the men of the Grand Mist realm give up on this idea." The spaceship did not stop at all. 1 month later. The monster race's holy land was in sight. The closer they got to the monster race's holy land, the more powerhouses there were. Almost all the Saint Kings from the Yao clan, the Human clan, and the Buddhist clan had signed up for the weapon forging competition organized by Nuwa. According to the rules of the weapon refining competition, all Saint Kings were allowed to participate. After entering the demon race's sacred grounds, there was an endless stream of flying ships. Some of them were sacred class flying ships, while others were Dao class flying ships. The Lu family's flying ship was considered pretty good in Qingqing, but after entering the demon race's sacred grounds, it seemed a little shabby and small. "It's the president of the Lanfeng Chamber of Commerce," Lu Yuan said as he looked at the blue spaceship in front of him. An old man in a silver battle robe and a group of experts from the Blue Wind Chamber of Commerce were standing at the front of the ship. The Blue Wind Chamber of Commerce had always been on good terms with the Lu family. However, when Lu Yuan drove the flying ship over to greet them, the Blue Wind Chamber of Commerce's flying ship sped up as if it had encountered the plague, avoiding them. Lu Yuan was surprised. Following that, Lu Yuan ran into several familiar faces, but without exception, these people avoided Lu Yuan in a panic, not daring to get close to him. Lu Yuan frowned. "Is it because of the Heaven and Earth Chamber of Commerce?" Guqiuyue guessed. Lu Yuan said solemnly, "It should be." Other than the Heaven and Earth Chamber of Commerce, the Lu family's Chamber of Commerce had no other enemies. The Blue Wind Chamber of Commerce and the other chambers of commerce that were on good terms with the Lu family's Chamber of Commerce must have received a warning from the Heaven and Earth Chamber of Commerce. Otherwise, they wouldn't have avoided the Lu family's Chamber of Commerce like the plague. Originally, Lu Yuan wanted to hold a celebration for Lu Yiping, but because he and Guqiuyue had consumed the Dao fruit to cultivate, and the weapon refining competition was approaching, the celebration could not be held. Lu Yuan planned to hold the celebration after the weapon refining competition ended. But now, seeing how the other chambers of commerce that had a good relationship with the Lu family's Chamber of Commerce were avoiding them like the plague, the celebration could not be held. Because the Blue Wind Chamber of Commerce and the other chambers of commerce were avoiding the Lu family's Chamber of Commerce like the plague, Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue's mood was affected. Arriving at the demonic holy city, Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue put away the flying ship and walked into the city. The demonic holy city was one of the most prosperous cities in the Grand Mist world. The buildings on both sides of the streets were majestic and grand, giving the city a majestic, dignified, and sacred atmosphere. The Green City could not be compared to it. It was also Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue's first time in the demonic holy city. Seeing the city's grandeur, both of them were amazed. Lu Yiping accompanied his parents as they strolled through the crowd. When they passed by the four-way restaurant, Lu Yuan stopped and smiled at Lu Yiping. "Ping shall we go in and drink some of the four-way restaurant's wine?" The four-way restaurant was the #1 restaurant in the Grand Mist world. Lu Yuan was usually reluctant to enter the four-way restaurant. Moreover, there were no four-way restaurant branches in the Green City. "Okay." Lu Yiping smiled. Guqiuyue laughed. "Both of you are drunkards." Lu Yuan said seriously, "Wrong, it's the god of wine." Lu Yiping and Lu Yuan laughed. The maid behind Guqiuyue also covered her mouth and giggled. The four-way restaurant was packed to the brim, and they finally found a place to sit down. Lu Yiping and the others ordered 2 jugs of the four-way restaurant's best wine and a table full of dishes. While Lu Yiping and the others were enjoying their meal, they saw the Blue Wind Chamber of Commerce's president walking in with his men. The Blue Wind Chamber of Commerce's people were also looking for a seat. The Blue Wind Chamber of Commerce's president Lan Ximing was a little surprised when he saw Lu Yuan and the others. He hesitated for a moment before walking over. "Brother Lu." Lan Ximing cupped his fists and smiled at Lu Yuan, but his smile was a little forced. "Is it because of the Heaven and Earth Chamber of Commerce?" Lu Yuan asked. Lan Ximing said solemnly, "I won't hide it from Brother Lu. The Heaven and Earth Chamber of Commerce has warned the other chambers of commerce that if they continue to have dealings with the Lu family, they will not be polite to us." Lu Yuan's face sank. Then, Lan Ximing added, "Brother Lu, listen to my advice. Don't participate in this year's artifact refining competition. I heard that the Heaven and Earth Chamber of Commerce's Lu Peng is familiar with Lord Lu Guolin's son, Lu Zhe." "Lord Lu Guolin?" Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue's faces tightened. Lu Guolin was a general under Lady Nua's command, a top-level Dao ancestor with a great reputation. Lu Yuan didn't expect Lu Peng to be familiar with Lu Guolin's son. Lan Ximing continued, "A few days ago, the Heaven and Earth Chamber of Commerce's people came to the Holy City. Lu Peng is currently staying in Lu Zhe's residence. And I also heard." Lan Ximing hesitated and didn't continue. "Heard what?" Lu Yuan couldn't help but ask. Lan Ximing wanted to say something but hesitated. In the end, he said, "I heard that Lu Zhe said that if anyone from the Heaven and Earth Commerce dares to appear in the demonic holy city, they will have to crawl out of the city." Lu Yuan's expression changed. "That's all I have to say. Please leave, Brother Lu." Lan Ximing cupped his fists and left with the people from the Lanfeng Chamber of Commerce. After Lan Ximing left, Guqiuyue said with a worried look, "Brother Wen, why don't we leave?" Lu Yuan's face darkened. He shook his head and said, "I've already signed up for the artifact refining competition. If I leave now, I'll be seen as giving up the competition. This is a great disrespect to Lady Nua. I'll be punished. Think about it, so many people signed up for the armament refining competition, but only you, Lu Yuan, gave up." "What was this?" Guqiuyue asked Lu Yiping. "Ping what do you think?" Lu Yiping's expression remained the same. He's just the son of a demonic general. The demonic race is not under his control. Lu Yuan said, "Ping is right. Lu Zhe has the final say in the demon race." Guqiuyue couldn't say anything more. At this time, in a luxurious mansion in the demon holy city, Lu Zhe and Lu Peng were also clinking glasses. A demon came in and whispered a few words into Lu Zhe's ear. "Oh, the Heaven and Earth Commerce Association's people are at the four-way restaurant?" Lu Zhe put down the restaurant. "Yes, Lord Lu Zhe." The demon underling replied. "How many people did the Heaven and Earth Commerce Association send?" Lu Peng asked. "There are only 5 people. Other than Lu Yuan, his wife, and his son, there are also 2 maids," said the Yao subordinate. "Brother Lu, what do you think?" Lu Peng looked at Lu Zhe. Lu Zhe smiled. "Don't worry, they won't be able to escape. Let's drink first and go later." A while later, Lu Yiping and his parents left the Four-Square restaurant. There was no place to stay in the four-way inn, so after leaving the inn, they had to find a place to stay. However, after visiting a few inns, they all said that they were full and that there were no empty rooms. When they came out of a restaurant, Lu Yuan frowned. It seems that the other restaurants are also full. But they couldn't just stroll around the streets, could they? There were still a dozen days before the competition. Lu Yiping thought for a moment and said, I know someone from the Million Treasures Chamber of Commerce. Let's go there and buy a mansion. Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue looked at Lu Yiping in shock. Buy a residence, ts to buy. Twos to a residence, to buy a residence teat holy teat, as to buy, a to say, a residence t to the teat, test to the say, although Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue knew of Lu Yiping's achievements, they had never seen his true appearance. They also did not know that Lu Yiping possessed an inexhaustible amount of grand mist energy. Lu Yiping smiled and said, let's go and take a look first. If there's nothing, we'll think of other ways. Hence, the group headed to the Myriad Treasure Chamber of Commerce's branch in the Holy City. Arriving at the Myriad Treasure Chamber of Commerce's branch, Lu Yiping took out the high-class VIP card Wan Shiming gave him and told the Myriad Treasure Chamber of Commerce's disciple his intentions. Seeing that Lu Yiping was holding a high-class VIP card and wanted to buy a residence, the Myriad Treasure Chamber of Commerce's disciple did not dare to delay. He invited Lu Yiping's group into the inner hall and had someone serve them tea. Then, he went to invite the Myriad Treasure Chamber of Commerce's branch president. Soon, the Myriad Treasure Chamber of Commerce's branch president, Su Chao, came over and warmly welcomed Lu Yiping's group. After exchanging some pleasantries, he asked, I heard from my subordinates that you want to buy a residence in the Holy City? Lu Yiping nodded. Now, are there any vacant residences for sale in the Holy City? Su Chao answered, there are 3 vacant residences for sale. These 3 residences are very large and have good locations in the Holy City's central area. However, these residences are extremely expensive. Lu Yiping urged, tell me the price. 300 billion. Su Chao said, and it's the cheapest one among the 3. What, 300 billion? Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue were shocked. Su Chao was no exception. After all, 300 billion was a sky-high price for a residence. Because of this, these 3 residences had been on the market for several 100,000 years, but they still had not been sold. What about the most expensive one? Lu Yiping's expression remained unchanged. 300 billion was not just 300,000 strands of grand mist aura. Su Chao answered, the most expensive one is 700 billion, and the other is 400 billion. 700 billion, hearing Su Chao say that each residence was worth 700 billion, Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue were shocked. Tell me about the residence that's worth 700 billion. Lu Yiping spoke. Su Chao was stunned for a second, then a wide smile spread across his face as he introduced the residence that was worth 700 billion to Lu Yiping. In his words, the materials used to construct this residence were all top-grade chaos-grade materials. Its level of luxury was comparable to Goddess Nuwa's palace of Empress Hua. Bring us there to take a look. Lu Yiping said. Su Chao happily complied. Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue were dumbfounded when they heard Lu Yiping's intention to buy the residence. Ping you have 700 billion? Lu Yuan couldn't resist asking. Lu Yiping smiled. Several decades ago, I spent 2 million strands of grand mist aura to buy a flame cloud gem at the Myriad Treasure House's auction. 2 million strands of grand mist aura. Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue were shocked. Su Chao shuddered. Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue didn't know about that year's auction, but as the Myriad Treasure House's branch president, how could he not know? At that time, the demonic beast clan's holy maiden Long Ku and the sorcerer tribe's crown prince Wu Badian competed for that heaven-opening grade flame cloud gem. But in the end, that flame cloud gem was won by a young man. Su Chao's heartbeat quickened. Knowing that Lu Yiping was the young man who bought that flame cloud gem, Su Chao's attitude became much more respectful. Su Chao personally led Lu Yiping's group to the residence worth 700 billion. Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue followed behind, not knowing what to say. While Su Chao was leading Lu Yiping's group to the residence worth 700 billion, Lu Zhe of the demonic beast clan was leading several hundred people from Lu Peng's group, stopping Lu Yiping's group. President Su, Lu Zhe greeted. He was quite polite. Lu Zhe, what is the meaning of this? Su Chao asked solemnly. Lu Zhe smiled. President Su, don't misunderstand, I'm not here to find trouble with your myriad treasure house. At this point, his gaze landed on Lu Yiping, Lu Yiwen, and the others. I came here to bring these people away. Su Chao was stunned. He looked at Lu Yiping's group, then fixed his gaze on Lu Zhe. Lu Zhe, these people are my myriad treasure house's honored guests, you can't take them away. Lu Zhe was surprised, his brows furrowed, but there was a fake smile on his face. President Su, are you sure you want to interfere? Su Chao answered solemnly, that's right, Master Lu and the others are my myriad treasure house's honored guests. Lu Zhe's eyes narrowed, waving his hand at the experts behind him, move, take the Lu family's people away, let's see who dares to stop us. When the group of powerhouses behind Lu Zhe heard that, they immediately charged towards Lu Yiping. This time, among the 400-plus experts Lu Zhe brought with him, there were 4 Dao ancestors, and one of them was a Dao ancestor with 400 million units of cultivation. 400 million units of cultivation was equivalent to a mid-level Dao ancestor. This Dao ancestor was Lu Guolin's subordinate, and Lu Zhe had gone to great lengths to invite him over. The 4 Dao ancestors attacked Lu Yiping at the same time. 4 Dao ancestors attacking at the same time, the power was astounding. However, Lu Yiping didn't even spare them a glance. With a flick of his finger, the 4 Dao ancestors were sent flying. What? Not only Lu Zhe, but also Lu Peng and the Heaven and Earth Commerce Chamber of Commerce's experts were stupefied. The other experts who were attacking Lu Yiwen and Guqiuyue stopped in their tracks. Lu Yiping extended his hand, and the remaining 400-plus experts shrunk in the blink of an eye under Lu Yiping's suction force, falling into Lu Yiping's palm like grains of sand. Lu Zhe and Lu Peng were alarmed. What kind of power was this? Lu Yiping threw these 400-plus experts into the tree creation space, adding fertilizer and nutrients to the tree. After throwing all 400-plus experts into the tree creation space, Lu Yiping looked at Lu Zhe, Lu Peng, and the Heaven and Earth Commerce Chamber of Commerce's experts. Just as Lu Zhe was about to speak, Lu Yiping flicked his finger. Lu Zhe, Lu Peng, and the rest of the Heaven and Earth Commerce Hall's experts were sent flying. Then, Lu Yiping repeated the same thing. A suction force from one hand pulled Lu Zhe, Lu Peng, and the rest of the Heaven and Earth Commerce Hall's experts into his hand, then threw them into the foundation tree space. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. By the time Lu Yiwen and the others reacted, Lu Zhe and Lu Peng had already disappeared. Let's go. Lu Yiping said to Su Chao as if he had just done something trivial. Su Chao regained his senses and continued leading Lu Yiping's group to the 700 billion mansion. Along the way, Su Chao wanted to say something, but in the end, he didn't say anything. The mansion was located in the most prosperous central area of the monster race Holy City. As Su Chao said, all the materials used inside were the best chaos materials. Moreover, the mansion occupied an enormous area of several dozen acres, giving off an extraordinary aura. Lu Yiping immediately gave Su Chao 700,000 Grand Mist aura and bought the mansion. Just as Lu Yiping bought the mansion, the demon race's great general Lu Guolin had already learned about his son, Lu Yiping. He led a large group of demon race experts and rushed over to Lu Yiping's location. Inside the residence, Su Chao had already left, leaving Lu Yiping, Lu Yiwen, and Guqiuyue. Ping if we capture Lu Zhe and the others, what will happen to the demon race? Lu Yiwen asked worriedly. Lu Yiping said to Lu Yiwen and Guqiuyue, Father, Mother, don't worry. I'm confident. Was he confident? Lu Yiwen looked at his son's calm face and was bewildered. They're here. Lu Yiping looked at the distant horizon. Lu Yiwen followed Huang Xiaolong's gaze and saw the demon race's great general Lu Guolin rushing towards them from the distant horizon. Leading them was the demon race's great general Lu Guolin, clad in golden battle robes. The news of Lu Guolin leading the demon race Holy City's great general Lu Guolin had alarmed numerous experts from various forces. It's Lord Lu Guolin. What's going on? What is Lord Lu Guolin planning to do by leading such a large army? Amidst various speculations, Lu Guolin arrived in front of Lu Yiping's residence. When Lu Guolin led the demon race Holy Maiden Long Ke to Lu Yiping's residence, she also received news that Lu Guolin was leading a large army. What? Lord Lu Guolin is leading a large army? Do you know why? Long Ke asked her subordinate in astonishment. Something happened to Lu Zhe. Lu Zhe was captured by someone. The subordinate answered. Long Ku was stunned, unable to believe her ears. What did you say? Lu Zhe was captured? Inside our holy city? Yes. The subordinate answered. Who is the other party? Where is he now? Long Ku still found it hard to believe that someone actually dared to make a move in their holy city, capturing the son of a great general? The other party is from the Lu family Chamber of Commerce. The subordinate answered, the son of the Lu family Chamber of Commerce's president, his name is Lu Yiping. What's strange is that after Lu Yiping captured Lu Zhe, he did not run away. Instead, accompanied by the Million Treasures Chamber of Commerce's president Su Chao, he bought the 700 billion Ming mansion. Long Ku's expression changed hearing that. The son of the Lu family Chamber of Commerce's president, Lu Yiping? Why does this name sound so familiar? Contact Lord Lu Guolin, tell him not to make a move first. Long Ku suddenly said, all of you come with me, I want to see this Lu Yiping. With that said, Long Ku led her subordinates in a hurry towards Ming mansion. At this time, Lu Guolin arrived in front of Ming mansion, standing high in the air, his cold eyes looking down at the mansion below. Attack! Lu Guolin said to the group of demonic beast experts behind him. General Lu, Her Majesty Holy Maiden Long Ku just sent a message, saying not to make a move first. She's on her way here. One of the demonic beast experts hurried to report. Attack! Lu Guolin's cold voice was unquestionable. The four Dao ancestors exchanged a glance, and in the end, all of them leaped forward, summoning their Dao ancestor weapons and attacking at the same time. 34 Dao ancestors attacked at the same time, shocking waves of saber and sword lights filled the air, shocking the heavens and earth. The holy city's experts paled in fright. Long Ku, who was rushing over, sensed the 34 Dao ancestors' power, and her face tightened. At the same time, she was enraged. Lu Guolin actually ignored my order. Then, they sped up. Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue, who were inside Ming mansion, were aghast watching the 34 demonic beast Dao ancestors attack at the same time. Sword lights blotted out the sky, and saber waves crashed down. Just as the 34 demonic beast Dao ancestors' power crashed down, the interior of Ming mansion suddenly lit up, and a giant sun flew out. This giant sun was condensed from white light. When this giant sun flew out, it scattered the 34 demonic beast Dao ancestors' power. Unable to dodge in time, the 34 demonic beast Dao ancestors were sent flying by the giant sun. 34 demonic beast Dao ancestors crashed into the demonic beast army. A large part of the demonic beast army fell from the sky like a swarm of locusts. In the next moment, a giant golden palm shot out from Ming mansion, grabbing at Lu Guolin. Lu Guolin was shocked and angered at the same time. With a loud roar, the 14 acres of ancestral Dao auspicious clouds spread out, and the giant hammer in his hand smashed at the giant golden palm. Boom, the sledgehammer hit the giant golden palm, but the giant golden palm did not move at all and continued to fall. Lu Guolin's eyes finally showed a trace of horror. He frantically urged the power of the Tao ancestor to continue to attack the giant golden palm. Suddenly, the giant golden palm arrived above his head in an instant. Lu Guolin felt his vision darken, and his body tightened as he was grabbed by the giant golden palm and brought back to Ming mansion. When the demonic beast army saw Lu Guolin being captured, they stood there in a daze, not knowing what to do. Long Ku and the other demonic beast army generals were shocked to see Lu Guolin being captured by the giant golden palm in the blink of an eye. Long Ku steadied her mind and went to Ming mansion with the group of demonic beast experts. Long Ku stared at Ming's residence with a solemn expression. At this time, Ming's residence was shrouded in a blinding light, thus outsiders couldn't see what was happening inside. This one is the demonic beast race's Long Ku. I would like to invite Lord Lu Yiping out for an audience. Long Ku spoke in a respectful tone, showing a good attitude. Just as Long Ku's words fell, a blue-robed figure flew out from Ming's residence. When Long Ku saw the blue-robed figure, she was stunned for a moment before blurting out, "It's you." That year, when Lu Yiping bought that piece of flame cloud stone for 2 trillion, it was still fresh in her memory. At this time, a figure whistled through the air. It was none other than the demonic beast race's General Lu Quan, one of the strongest generals under Lady Nua's command. He was also one of the demonic beast race's top 10 experts, a supreme Dao ancestor with the strength of 1.8 billion battle force. Seeing that it was Lu Quan, all the demonic beast race experts were excited. "Greetings, Lord Lu Quan. Greetings, Lord Lu Quan." The demonic beast race experts prostrated themselves on the ground. Even the demonic beast race's holy maiden Long Ku hurried forward when she saw that it was Lu Quan, bowing respectfully. "Long Ku greets Lord Lu Quan." Lu Quan nodded slightly at Long Ku, then his gaze fell on Lu Yiping, indifferent expression on his face. Since the opening of the sky, no one has dared to act so presumptuously in the demonic beast holy city. Release Lu Guolin and all the demonic beast race experts. Also, kneel down and admit your guilt. As for how you'll be judged, Lady Nuwa will decide. Lu Quan's cold words reverberated throughout the demonic beast holy city. Everyone in the holy city heard his words loud and clear. Lu Yuan and Gachuyue were anxious when they heard that Lu Quan wanted Lu Yiping to kneel down and admit his guilt without giving his son a chance to explain himself. Lu Yiping looked at Lu Quan with a calm expression. "In this world, no one can convict me of any crime. You can't, and Lady Nuwa can't either." Lu Yiping's voice also reverberated throughout the demonic beast race's holy city. Everyone in the city heard his words loud and clear. Everyone was shocked when they heard Lu Yiping directly call out Lady Nuwa's name. Who was Mother Nuwa? Goddess Nuwa was the leader of the demon race and one of the strongest experts in the Grand Mist world. She stood at the pinnacle of the Grand Mist world and no one had ever dared to call her by her full name. Even Long Ku's expression changed. Lu Quan's expression changed as well. A cold light flashed in his eyes as he roared, "How dare you disrespect Lady Nuwa? Die!" As he spoke, he punched out with both fists. This punch was Lu Quan's furious punch. It was also Lu Quan's full-strength punch. The power of 1.8 billion Dao ancestors covered the sky and earth, roaring and surging, causing the space of the holy city to tremble. Lu Yiping's expression remained the same when he saw the demon race's great general Lu Quan's fist flying towards him in anger. Rumble, their fists collided. It was as if the sky was about to explode. At the same time, it was as if billions of chaos divine thunders had exploded at the same time. Heaven and earth paused. Their power swept across the world. The light actually disappeared. Lu Quan, one of the top 10 experts of the demon clan who possessed the strength of a Dao ancestor of 1.8 billion Dao fathers, only felt a shocking power surge toward him, causing him to retreat continuously. 1 meter, 10 meters, 100 meters, 1,000 meters, in the end, Lu Quan barely managed to stabilize himself more than a dozen miles away. Lu Quan felt his blood and qi churning, and his throat heated up. Blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Long Ku was dumbfounded. The demon race's experts were dumbfounded. The billions of experts in the holy city were dumbfounded. Lu Yuan was also dumbfounded. Lu Guolin's name resounded throughout the Grand Mist world. As one of the top 10 experts of the demon race, Lu Quan's fame was several times greater than Lu Guolin's. How could Lu Yuan not know Lu Quan's name? In Lu Yuan's heart, Lu Quan was a supreme existence that could not be touched. But now, this supreme existence in his heart had lost to his son. Lu Quan stared at Lu Yiping in disbelief. He was one of the top 10 experts of the demon race, and the number of people who could defeat him in the Grand Mist world could be counted on one hand. He knew of all these people, but there was no one like this person in front of him. Who are you? Lu Quan stared at Lu Yiping in shock and anger. Lu Yiping. Lu Yiping's indifferent voice spread far and wide. Indifferent light flashed in Lu Quan's eyes, and the momentum around his body rose again. His hands were like ink, and ink-colored lights bloomed from his hands. As these ink-colored lights bloomed, the world darkened once again. First, it was Lu Quan's surroundings, then the surrounding streets, and finally the entire holy city. Under the ink-colored lights, Lu Quan's entire body turned ink-colored. Just as Lu Yiping's momentum reached its peak, Lu Quan suddenly bellowed and pushed out his hands. As Lu Quan pushed out, a terrifying ink-colored light formed a giant river that rushed towards Lu Yiping. When these ink-colored lights rushed out, Lu Quan's ink-colored hands returned to their original state. Lu Yiping did not use the Chaos Bell or the Creation Tree. Instead, he pushed out with both hands. As Lu Yiping pushed out with both hands, the giant golden river rushed out. One gold and one black collided once again. Rumbling noises resounded. Long Ke and the other demonic beast experts retreated in shock. Lu Quan was sent flying once again, crashing through several buildings before finally landing on a luxurious building several thousand miles away. Dust and sand billowed along the way. Sounds of collapsing buildings rang out continuously. Lu Quan opened his mouth, and this time, blood did not flow out. Instead, he spat out a mouthful of blood. The experts who came to participate in the blacksmith competition were shocked. The demonic beast experts stared blankly at Lu Quan, who was smashed to the ground. Lu Yiping's face was cold and indifferent. First Dao Physique. Creation Dao Physique. Lu Quan stood up, slowed down, and stared at Lu Yiping. The first Dao Physique that no one had successfully condensed had actually appeared in the Hongming world. Hearing Lu Quan say that Lu Yiping had condensed the first Dao Physique, everyone's hearts shook. Legend had it that only those in the Holy King realm who had comprehended all 3,000 Grand Daos would be able to condense the first Dao Physique. Did this mean that Lu Yiping had comprehended all 3,000 Grand Daos? Lu Yiping's gaze swept over the group of demonic beast experts, and he asked indifferently, "Is there anyone else who wants to make a move?" The group of demonic beast experts choked. Everyone's gaze fell on Lu Quan. Just as Lu Quan was about to speak, a voice resounded through heaven and earth. The demonic beast race and human race have always been on good terms. Fellow Daoist Lu Yiping is our demonic beast race's friend. It was a woman's voice, extremely melodious and pleasant to the ears, like a spring breeze, and exuding supreme majesty. It's Lady Nuwa. Long live Lady Nuwa. Inside the holy city, hundreds of millions of experts from various forces knelt down. The various great Dao ancestors also bowed in excitement and reverence. One of the demonic beast race's top 10 experts, Lu Quan, also bowed in the direction of Lady Nuwa's palace. Fellow Daoist Lu Yiping, the demonic beast race's members are ignorant, please forgive them if they have offended you. Lady Nuwa added. Lu Yiping cupped his fists at Lady Nuwa's words. Lady Nuwa is too polite. With a wave of his hand, Lu Guolin, Lu Zhe, and the others were thrown out. Lady Nuwa said, "Many thanks, fellow Daoist Lu. Don't worry, I will deal with Lu Guolin, Lu Zhe, and the others according to the demonic beast race's rules." Lu Guolin and Lu Zhe knelt with pale faces, not daring to say anything. After a moment of silence, Lady Nuwa spoke again, "Is fellow Daoist Lu free? Why don't you come to my palace to discuss Dao?" Everyone in the holy city was dumbfounded. Who was Lady Nuwa? She was the leader of the demonic beast race, one of the strongest experts in the primordial world. She was a peak Dao ancestor, half a step away from Lord Pengu's heaven-opening realm. No one had ever heard of Lady Nuwa showing any interest in any man. Now, Lady Nuwa actually took the initiative to invite Lu Yiping to the palace of Empress Hua. But until now, no man had ever stepped into Lady Nuwa's palace of Empress Hua. Even Lu Quan, one of the top 10 experts of the demonic beast race, only stood outside the palace of Empress Hua's gates and waited for orders. Lu Yiping was also taken aback. He did not expect that Nuwa would invite him to Emperor Hua's palace to discuss Taoism. However, Lu Yiping also knew that Nuwa did not invite him because she was interested in him. She only wanted to discuss Taoism with him because he had comprehended the 3,000 great ways and cultivated the creation Taoism body. Since Lady Nuwa has invited me, Yiping dares not to refuse. Lu Yiping pondered for a moment before replying. He then said to Lu Yiwen and Guqiuyue, "Father, Mother, I'm going to the palace of Empress Hua." Lu Quan watched Lu Yiping striding toward the palace of Empress Hua with a complicated expression. There was envy, jealousy, and fear. Soon, Lu Yiping arrived at the palace of Empress Hua. The palace of Empress Hua stood high above the mountain range outside the holy city, overlooking the holy city. It was majestic and grand, and every brick and object contained supreme Dao. When Lu Yiping arrived at the palace of Empress Hua, Lady Nuwa's maids were already waiting for him. Lu Yiping was led into the inner hall by Lady Nuwa's maids. When he arrived at the inner hall, he saw two elegant and beautiful women. One was clad in a phoenix robe, the other in a long red dress. One was a model for the motherly figure of the world, and the other was so cold that it could shake one's heart. Lu Yiping was stunned. The one wearing the phoenix divine robe and looking like a model for the mother of all under heaven was undoubtedly Nuwa. Who was the other one? The two of them stood shoulder to shoulder like good sisters. When Nuwa saw Lu Yiping, she nodded and said, "Fellow Taoist Lu, let me introduce you. This is Sister Song Ling. He was the strongest warrior of the human race, and also the best artifact refiner of the human race." Lu Yiping did not expect that Song Ling was also in the palace of Empress Hua. Moreover, it seemed that she and Nuwa were as close as sisters. Lu Yiping stepped forward and exchanged some pleasantries with Nuwa, and Song Ling. Nuwa invited Lu Yiping to take a seat. Following that, Nuwa and Lu Yiping began discussing the Great Tao. Most of the time, Song Ling was listening, occasionally interjecting. Although Song Ling was the #1 master of the human clan, she was not at the peak of the Tao ancestor realm. She was only at the peak of 1.8 billion Do. She was very close to breaking through 1.9 billion Do. While Lu Yiping was discussing the Tao with Nuwa and Song Ling, the monster race's holy city was in an uproar. Everyone in the streets was talking about Lu Yiping. Many forces began to investigate the Lu family's Chamber of Commerce. Not long after, Wu Badian and the others in the sorcerer race's holy city also received news about Lu Yiping. What? Even Lu Quan of the monster race was no match for Lu Yiping. Wu Baishan's face changed when he heard this. Yes, Lu Quan couldn't even take one move from Lu Yiping. Wu Xian, the mission hall master of the 12 palaces, said. The sorcerer race ancestors in the main hall were shocked. Lu Quan, who had 1.8 billion Do of Tao ancestor realm power, couldn't even take one move from Lu Yiping, then wouldn't Lu Yiping's battle strength be comparable to their sorcerer ancestor and Nuwa? Hearing this, sorcerer ancestor frowned and asked in a deep voice, "What about now?" After that, Lady Nuwa spoke up and stopped the conflict between the monster race and Lu Yiping. Lady Nuwa even invited Lu Yiping into the palace of Empress Hua to discuss the Tao. Wu Xian hesitated for a moment and said. Although the sorcerer race and the human race were at loggerheads, everyone knew that the sorcerer ancestor liked Nuwa. He had even said that he would marry Nuwa after unifying the Grand Mist world. However, Nuwa had always been hostile to the sorcerer ancestor. Now, she had invited Lu Yiping into the palace of Empress Hua to discuss the Tao. As expected, the sorcerer ancestor's eyes turned cold. Wu Badian cautiously said, "Lord Father, Wu Gan and the others are in Lu Yiping's hands. Should we send someone to negotiate with Lu Yiping and ask him to release them?" Previously, Wu Badian and the others wanted to find Lu Yiping and crush him to death. But now, they couldn't say that. Even if the sorcerer ancestor personally made a move, he wouldn't be able to kill Lu Yiping. The sorcerer ancestor said in a deep voice, "Wu Gan is in Lu Yiping's hands. Naturally, he has to hand them over. Send someone to the holy demonic beast city to negotiate." Wu Xian deliberated, what if Lu Yiping refuses to hand them over? The sorcerer ancestor's face darkened. If Lu Yiping refuses to hand them over, warn him. Even if we can't kill him, we can kill his parents and annihilate the Lu family. Sensing the sorcerer ancestor's killing intent, Wu Xian respectfully complied. After discussing the Tao with Nuwa and Song Ling for more than 10 days, Lu Yiping returned to his residence before the artifact refining competition. Seeing their son return safely, Lu Yuan and Gochoyua's anxious hearts finally relaxed. "Ping what did Lady Nuwa say to you?" Lu Yuan was happy and excited. Gochoyua also looked at Lu Yiping eagerly. Lu Yiping smiled, "Nothing much, just an ordinary Tao discussion." He then added, "Song Ling is also in the palace of Empress Hua." Lu Yuan and Gochoyue exclaimed in shock, "Lord Song Ling." Song Ling was the Grand Mist world's human race's #1 expert, as well as the #1 artificer. In the hearts of the Grand Mist world's humans, her position was no lower than Nuwa's. Lu Yiping grunted in acknowledgement. At this time, Gochoyua's maid suddenly came in to report that there were sorcerer tribe's ambassadors outside, requesting an audience with Lu Yiping. Lu Yiping guessed the sorcerer tribe's intentions, let them in. Soon, Gochoyua's maid led the 2 sorcerer tribe's ambassadors inside. The 2 sorcerer tribe's ambassadors were not weak, on par with Lu Guolin. The 2 sorcerer tribe's ambassadors approached Lu Yiping, not daring to be arrogant. They cupped their fists and greeted Lu Yiping as Lord Lu, then stated their intentions, asking Lu Yiping to release Wu Gan and the others. Lu Yiping and Ge were guessing the purpose of the sorcerer tribe's ambassador's visit, but when they heard that Lu Yiping had captured 6 Dao ancestors and 8 Saint Kings, they were shocked. Release them, sure. Lu Yiping said nonchalantly, however, you have to use something to exchange for them. 1 Dao ancestor, 100 billion, 1 Saint King, 10 billion. The 2 sorcerer tribe's ambassadors' faces turned ugly at Lu Yiping's words. Lord Lu is joking, right? One of them forced a smile. Lu Yiping went on, your sorcerer tribe's people besieged me first, and I captured them. Now, you want me to release them with just a few words? Do you think it's possible? The other sorcerer tribe's ambassador said solemnly, our sorcerer tribe's lord ancestor said that if Lord Lu refuses to release them, we can kill you, but we can kill your parents, and annihilate everyone in the Lu family's Chamber of Commerce. Lu Yuan and Ge faces tightened. Lu Yiping's gaze turned frosty, in that case, there's no need for you to return. The 2 envoys' hearts tightened. Lord Lu, the envoys are not to be killed during negotiations between 2 countries. One of them spoke. However, just as the words left his mouth, Lu Yiping raised his hand and slammed them into the ground. Their vision darkened and they lost consciousness. Lu Yiping sealed their strength and threw them into the tree creation space. Lu Yuan and Ge were stunned by the scene before them. Ping the sorcerer tribe is too powerful. Why don't you let them go? Lu Yuan hesitated but still advised. Lu Yiping shook his head, don't worry, father. In the holy city, the sorcerer tribe won't be able to hurt you. Then he added, as for the Lu family commerce, contact Chao Feng and the rest, tell them to come to the holy city. In the future, the Lu family commerce will come to the holy city. Lu Yuan and Ge were stunned. All right. Lu Yuan nodded. Father, don't worry about the sorcerer tribe. Lu Yiping added, I'll make another trip to the sorcerer ancestor city in a few days. Ping you want to go to the sorcerer ancestor city alone? Lu Yuan asked worriedly. Lu Yiping nodded, don't worry, with my current strength, the sorcerer ancestor won't be able to hurt me. Then, Lu Yiping went into seclusion. Although he had released Lu Guolin, Lu Zhe, and the rest, he did not release Lu Peng and the rest. Among the heaven and earth commerce experts he had captured, there were more than 30 Holy King realm experts. He planned to take this opportunity to refine the Dao fruits from the heaven and earth commerce experts before making another trip to the sorcerer ancestor city. Sorcerer ancestor city. What? That surnamed Lu not only refused to release them, but also captured Wu Li and the others? Wu Badian was enraged hearing this surnamed Lu really thinks that our sorcerer tribe can't do anything to him? Inside the Great Hall, the sorcerer tribe's primal ancestors' expressions were ugly. Since the opening of the heavens, the sorcerer tribe had stood tall in the grand mist world. No one dared to treat the sorcerer tribe like this. The sorcerer ancestors' expression was just as ugly. Everyone looked at the sorcerer ancestors' order. At this time, Wu Xian suddenly said, I just received news that Lu Yiping said that he will personally come to Sorcerer Ancestor City in a month's time. Everyone was stunned. What does Lu Yiping mean? Does he want to personally come to Sorcerer Ancestor City to release Wu Gan and the others? One of the sorcerer tribe's ancestors guessed. Ancestor Sorcerer's face darkened. He thought for a moment and said, then let's wait for another month. Let's see what Lu says when he comes to Ancestor Sorcerer City. Also, send people to Sage Monarch City to track down Lu Yiping's parents. If Lu Yiping dares to play any tricks in a month, his parents and everyone else in the Lu clan's consortium will be wiped out. Yes, Lord Sorcerer Ancestor. The next day, the Monster Race's holy city, the artifact refining competition was held. Lu Yiping participated in the Beast Race's blacksmith competition, but as Lu Yiping was in seclusion, he did not accompany his parents. Although Lu Yiping did not appear, the Beast Race treated Lu Yiping and Ge as honored guests. Even some of the Beast Race's top Dao ancestors were extremely courteous to Lu Yiping and Ge. Lu Yiping and Ge were flattered. Several days later, Lu Yiping finished refining all the Dao fruits from the Heaven and Earth Chamber of Commerce's Saint Kings. Lu Yiping's Dao ancestor strength had risen from 1.7 billion units to 1.8 billion units. Although it was only an increase of 100 million units, Liu Yiping's battle prowess had increased by more than 10%. Previously, Liu Yiping's battle prowess was comparable to Nuwa and the Sorcerer Ancestor. Now, he was definitely stronger than Nuwa and the Sorcerer Ancestor. In a sense, Liu Yiping was the strongest person in the Grand Mist world. After breaking through to 1.8 billion units, Liu Yiping did not immediately rush to the Sorcerer Ancestor city. Instead, he accompanied his parents to participate in the Beast Race's blacksmith competition. While accompanying his parents to participate in the competition, Liu Yiping discovered some sorcerer tribe experts who had sneaked into the holy city. He made a move to capture these people and threw them into the creation tree space. The Beast Race's blacksmith competition lasted for a month. A month later, Liu Yiping set off for the Sorcerer Ancestor city. With Liu Yiping's current speed, it would only take half a day to reach the Sorcerer Ancestor city from the holy city. Half a day later, Liu Yiping arrived at the Sorcerer Ancestor city. It was noon when the sun was at its brightest. Liu Yiping raised his head to look at the sun in the sky. The Grand Mist World's sun was at its brightest at noon. If Xiao Jin comes to the Grand Mist World, he will definitely like it. Liu Yiping recalled Taurus Longjiao's shiny golden hair. Liu Yiping walked into the Sorcerer Ancestor city. Sorcerer Ancestor's Hall. It's already noon, but that surnamed Liu is still not here. Is he messing with us? Wu Badian said solemnly. The Sorcerer Ancestor recalled that the experts he had sent to the holy city were all killed by Liu Yiping, and his eyes turned cold. Lord Sorcerer Ancestor, Liu Yiping is here. One of the Sorcerer tribe's primal ancestors rushed into the hall and reported. Hearing that Liu Yiping was here, the Sorcerer tribe's primal ancestor's spirits lifted. Invite him to the Sorcerer Ancestor's hall. The Sorcerer Ancestor ordered. There's no need. A voice sounded, and the Sorcerer Ancestor's hall flickered as a figure appeared in front of everyone. The Sorcerer tribe's primal ancestors looked at Liu Yiping with nervous expressions, and their gazes locked onto Liu Yiping. The Sorcerer Ancestor stared at Liu Yiping with a burning gaze. Liu Yiping. Liu Yiping looked at the Sorcerer Ancestor and said, Gong Gong. The Sorcerer Ancestor's surname was not Wu, and Gong Gong was his real name. Hearing Liu Yiping call him by his real name, the Sorcerer Ancestor was stunned. He had not heard anyone mention his real name for many years. Liu Yiping, since you're here, can you release my Sorcerer tribe's people? The Sorcerer Ancestor stared at Liu Yiping. Liu Yiping's expression remained unchanged as he said, I've long heard that the Sorcerer Ancestor's battle prowess is unparalleled, and that you're the Grand Mist World's strongest expert. I would like to experience it for myself. The Sorcerer tribe's primal ancestors were stunned. The Sorcerer Ancestor looked at Liu Yiping and laughed loudly. His laughter was suffused with thick killing intent, sending chills down everyone's spines. The Sorcerer Ancestor stared at Liu Yiping. It seems like you came to the Sorcerer Ancestor city with no intention of releasing your people. At this moment, he finally understood that Liu Yiping was not here to make peace, but to challenge him. The Sorcerer Ancestor stood up from his throne. Although he was more than 2 meters tall, he was as majestic as a chaotic divine mountain. A shocking murderous aura swept out from his body. Wu Xian, Wu Badian, and the others flew out of the Sorcerer Ancestor's hall. Activate the Sorcerer Ancestor's Grand Formation. In an instant, rays of light soared into the sky. Layers upon layers of Grand Formation energy fell like a waterfall, enveloping the space around Liu Yiping. This was the Sorcerer Ancestor's Grand Formation, one of the strongest heaven-splitting Grand Formations in the Grand Mist world. If it were an ordinary Dao Ancestor, they would be crushed into meat paste under the pressure of the Grand Formation. However, Liu Yiping was not affected by the pressure of the Grand Formation. Liu Yiping did not move an inch. Seeing this, the Sorcerer Ancestor shouted, Good. Saying this, he sent a palm strike towards Liu Yiping. When the palm strike was sent out, the airflow between heaven and earth seemed to tremble along with it. At this moment, everyone in the Sorcerer Ancestor city felt like they were going to die. Liu Yiping did not dare to be careless. He activated his creation Dao body and sent out a palm strike as well. Bang! Liu Yiping's palm force collided with the Voodoo Ancestor's palm force. The Voodoo Ancestor's hall trembled for a moment before shattering into millions of pieces like glass. As for the Voodoo Ancestor himself, he was sent flying, crashing into the throne behind him. He slid for several miles before coming to a stop. What? Wu Badian, Wu Xian, and the others who had retreated from the Voodoo Ancestor's hall were dumbfounded by the scene in front of them. The Voodoo Ancestor was the Voodoo tribe's strongest expert and the Grand Mist world's strongest expert. No one had ever been able to force the Voodoo Ancestor to retreat a single step, not to mention sending him flying several miles. The Voodoo Ancestor stabilized himself, feeling his numb arms. He was also in disbelief. Numb arms, this was the first time since the heavens were split open, the first time in history. The Voodoo Ancestor looked at Liu Yiping without any anger. Instead, he laughed loudly. I didn't expect there to be someone in the Grand Mist world who could send me flying. This numb feeling in my arms is very satisfying. Yes, very satisfying. Amidst his laughter, he soared into the sky. The 19 acres of auspicious clouds above his head shone brightly with purplish golden light as he punched at Liu Yiping once again. Seeing this, Liu Yiping advanced instead of retreating. His figure flickered as he circulated the 49th stage immortal skyward art and punched out with both fists. Rumble, an earth-shaking explosion resounded as the Voodoo Ancestor was sent flying by Liu Yiping once again. This time, he was sent flying several dozen miles. His arms were numb just now, but now, the Voodoo Ancestor felt pain coming from his arms. The pain felt so real. The Voodoo Ancestor laughed loudly as he attacked Liu Yiping once again. This time, dark green light surged around his body as a sea of ink appeared around him. The sea water roared. Black essence water. He punched out with both fists. As he punched out, the sea of ink also attacked Liu Yiping. Liu Yiping's body surged with green light as Grand Dao runes condensed into Grand Dao dragons. At the same time, his fists punched at the Voodoo Ancestor again. This time, Liu Yiping activated his creation Daoist physique, immortal skyward art, and secret art of longevity at the same time. Amidst the rumbling sounds, Ancestor Sorcerer was sent flying. This time, he was sent flying for several hundred miles, smashing through countless buildings in Ancestor Sorcerer City. Even though the Sorcerer Ancestor City was a Dao artifact, and even though the city was protected by layers of restrictive power, it was still reduced to dust by the power of the two. In Sorcerer Ancestor City, countless Sorcerer tribe disciples fled in fear. After sending Ancestor Sorcerer flying, Liu Yiping's figure flickered, closing in on Ancestor Sorcerer. Once again, he punched out with both fists. Ancestor Sorcerer was alarmed. He welcomed the attack with both fists, but he was sent flying again. Just like that, Liu Yiping punched again and again, sending Ancestor Sorcerer flying. He closed in and punched again and again. The Sorcerer Ancestor City was extremely large. It was as vast as a boundless ocean, perhaps as big as several hundred continents. However, under Liu Yiping's barrage of attacks, the Sorcerer Ancestor was forced back all the way to the city walls. Ancestor Sorcerer slammed into the city walls, causing the city walls to tremble and dust to fall. Wu Badian, Wu Xian, and the rest of the Sorcerer tribe's primal ancestors were dumbfounded. Liu Yiping's barrage of attacks shook Ancestor Sorcerer's blood and energy. His soul was shaken, and his hands trembled uncontrollably. Liu Yiping's dozens of punches landed squarely on Ancestor Sorcerer's body. Ancestor Sorcerer couldn't even lift his arms. He was shocked and furious. He was one of the innate demon gods, possessing the heaven-splitting physique and the heaven-splitting physique. His physical body was terrifying, and whether it was strength, defense, or speed, he was ranked first in the Grand Mist world. But now, whether it was strength, defense, or speed, he was no match for Liu Yiping. Even a Fortune Dao physique couldn't be this strong. What cultivation technique are you cultivating? Ancestor Sorcerer's eyes were bloodshot as he stared fixedly at Liu Yiping. The immortal skyward art. Liu Yiping answered. Immortal skyward art? Ancestor Sorcerer was puzzled. This was the first time he'd heard of the immortal skyward art. Black light surged all over his body, and a vast and boundless power surged out of his body. This was the power of the Sorcerer origin. It was also the strongest power of the Sorcerer bloodline. He soared into the sky, and Ancestor Sorcerer City followed him. Ancestor Sorcerer arrived at the center of the city's formation eye. Rays of light shot into the sky, and an astonishing power surged into Ancestor Sorcerer's body. Then, Ancestor Sorcerer City shrank continuously. The city, which was originally the size of several hundred continents, shrunk to the size of a person. It then transformed into a suit of armor and merged with Ancestor Sorcerer's body. This wasn't a suit of armor on Ancestor Sorcerer's body, but a true fusion. The armor, Ancestor Sorcerer's flesh, and Ancestor Sorcerer's soul had become one. At this moment, Ancestor Sorcerer was Ancestor Sorcerer City, and Ancestor Sorcerer City was Ancestor Sorcerer. Then, the tens of thousands of Dao ancestors turned into streaks of light and flew into the formation eye of Ancestor Sorcerer City. The power of tens of thousands of Dao ancestors merged into Ancestor Sorcerer's body through Ancestor Sorcerer City. With the power of tens of thousands of Dao ancestors, Ancestor Sorcerer's aura rose again. Black pillars of light shot into the sky from Ancestor Sorcerer's body, and the sky was blasted open as if it had a hole. Lu Yiping felt Ancestor Sorcerer's rising power and frowned slightly. Lu Yiping, die. Ancestor Sorcerer's voice was cold and deep. He punched at Lu Yiping again with both fists. This punch was the combined power of him, tens of thousands of Dao ancestors, and Ancestor Sorcerer City. The punch broke through the sky. The experts of countless continents in the Sorcerer tribe's territory all felt the terrifying power of Ancestor Sorcerer's punch, and all of them were terrified. Lu Yiping met it with both fists. There was a loud bang. Lu Yiping was forced to retreat. Just like when he had sent Ancestor Sorcerer flying, he was blasted several miles away. Ancestor Sorcerer sneered. His figure flashed, and he came in front of Lu Yiping again. He punched again, and Lu Yiping was forced to retreat again. Lu Yiping's expression was normal. After Ancestor Sorcerer merged with tens of thousands of Dao ancestors, although his power was strong, he was only forced to retreat. He was not injured. Just as Ancestor Sorcerer was about to punch a third time, a golden light flashed above Lu Yiping's head, and the Bell of Chaos appeared. At the same time, his body surged with green light, and the creation tree flew out. Lu Yiping punched out with both fists. The power of the creation tree gathered in his fists, and they collided with Ancestor Sorcerer City. This time, Lu Yiping and Ancestor Sorcerer were both forced to retreat at the same time. They were evenly matched. Bell of Chaos. Creation Tree. Ancestor Sorcerer was shocked. Lu Yiping's figure flashed, and he came in front of Ancestor Sorcerer. The light above his head shone again, and a huge jade disc flew out. The jade disc was formed by 24 pieces. The power of the creation jade disc merged into Lu Yiping's body. Lu Yiping punched out with both fists. Ancestor Sorcerer was forced back several hundred meters. Creation jade disc. Ancestor Sorcerer looked at the creation jade disc above Lu Yiping's head in shock. Lu Yiping had actually obtained the creation jade disc and refined it. The battle between Lu Yiping and Ancestor Sorcerer shocked the entire primordial world. Soon, Nuwa and Song Ling in the Baiwa Palace also knew. When they heard their subordinates report that Ancestor Sorcerer was beaten by Lu Yiping's fists and had no choice but to merge with Ancestor Sorcerer City and tens of thousands of Dao ancestors, Nuwa and Song Ling were stunned. What about now? Nuwa asked anxiously for the first time. She knew how strong Ancestor Sorcerer was after merging with Ancestor Sorcerer City, not to mention merging with tens of thousands of Dao ancestors. This book is about to end. When Lu Yiping breaks through to the heaven-opening realm, this book will end. The new book should be uploaded on May 12th. Now, the Sorcerer Ancestor is still at a disadvantage. One of Nuwa's subordinates answered. What, still at a disadvantage? Nuwa and Song Ling were shocked. Are you sure the Sorcerer Ancestor is still at a disadvantage even after merging with the Sorcerer Ancestor City and several tens of thousands of Dao ancestors? Nuwa asked in disbelief. Yes, in the end, the Sorcerer Ancestor is still at a disadvantage even after merging with the Sorcerer Ancestor City and several tens of thousands of Dao ancestors. The general answered, his voice trembling uncontrollably. The Sorcerer Ancestor had merged with the Sorcerer Ancestor City and several tens of thousands of Dao ancestors. It could be said that he had the entire Sorcerer tribe's strength. The entire Sorcerer tribe's strength was still at a disadvantage when compared to Lu Yiping. Lu Yiping's strength had already reached such a level, Nuwa and Song Ling were stunned speechless for a long time after receiving the confirmation. The Grand Mist World's #1 person. Nuwa said after a long time. Previously, Nuwa and the sorcerer ancestor's strength were on par, and they were both ranked as the Grand Mist world's strongest experts. But now, someone's strength had surpassed them. Furthermore, the monstrous general said with a trembling voice, Lu Yiping only has 1.8 billion units of Dao Father power. Only 1.8 billion units? Nuwa and Song Ling were stunned once again. 1.8 billion units was enough to force the sorcerer ancestor to merge with the sorcerer ancestor city and several tens of thousands of Dao ancestors. When Lu Yiping broke through to 1.9 billion units of Dao ancestor strength, how terrifying would he be? Nuwa sighed with emotion to Song Ling, your human race has produced a venerable, unparalleled. On the same day, when Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue went out to the market to buy things, they passed through the streets and alleys. When the experts passing by saw them, they bowed respectfully with awe and respect. This made Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue dumbfounded. The sorcerer ancestor merged with the sorcerer ancestor city and several tens of thousands of Dao ancestors, but he is still not Lord Lu's opponent. Lord Lu is too terrifying. Doesn't that mean Lord Lu is our Grand Mist world's #1 expert now? Our human race is weak in the primordial world. Now that we have Lord Lu, we don't have to fear the sorcerer race anymore. Listening to the discussions on the street, Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue finally found out about the battle between Lu Yiping and the sorcerer ancestor. They finally understood why the experts passing by were so respectful when they saw them. Lu Yuan's heart was surging with emotions. He had never thought that one day, his son would grow to such an extent. The battle between Lu Yiping and Ancestor Sorcerer lasted for several days and nights. However, although Ancestor Sorcerer was at a disadvantage, Lu Yiping could not seriously injure Ancestor Sorcerer, who had merged with the power of Ancestor Sorcerer City and tens of thousands of Sorcerer Tribe Tao ancestors. A few days later, Ancestor Sorcerer apologized. The battle stopped. Lu Yiping also knew that he couldn't destroy the Sorcerer Ancestor. Therefore, he hadn't thought of destroying the Sorcerer Ancestor in this battle. Lu Yiping only wanted to give the Sorcerer Ancestor and the Sorcerer Tribe a warning. At the same time, it was a warning to anyone in the primordial world who dared to have any ill intentions towards the Lu clan's merchant group. After the battle ended, Lu Yiping returned to the Holy Fiend City. Seeing their son return, Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue had thousands of words to say, but they didn't know where to start. Not long after Lu Yiping returned to the Holy Fiend City, Nuwa personally came out of the palace of Empress Hua to visit Lu Yiping at Ming Tian residence. Of course, Song Ling also came with her. Nuwa and Song Ling walked hand in hand into Ming Tian residence, adding to the topic of conversation after a meal. When Nuwa saw Lu Yiping again, she said, Brother Lu's battle with the sorcerer ancestor left Nuwa in awe. Song Ling also said, Brother Lu is our human race's honor, the human race's fortune. Earlier, the two of them had addressed Lu Yiping as fellow Daoist Lu, but now, they called him Brother Lu. Nuwa and Song Ling discussed Dao for several days at Ming Tian residence before leaving Ming Tian residence and returning to the palace of Empress Hua. After Nuwa and Song Ling left, Lu Yiping made a trip to the Devil Prison. The Devil Prison was the most dangerous place in the primordial world, where many devil creatures lived. These devil creatures often came out to devour humans. Lu Yiping came here for 2 reasons. 1. To exterminate the devil prison, and 2. To raise his own strength. Of course, there were many Saint King realm cultivators in the devil prison. Several months later, when Lu Yiping left the devil prison, his Dao ancestor strength had finally broken through to 1.9 billion units. Lu Yiping returned to Ming Tian residence to accompany his parents. Occasionally, he would go out for a stroll, or enter seclusion to comprehend the heaven-splitting realm. However, the Dao fruit had no effect on breaking through to the heaven-splitting realm. Therefore, even if Lu Yiping had some achievements, it was still difficult for him to break through to the heaven-splitting realm. In the blink of an eye, several decades passed. In these several decades, the Lu family Chamber of Commerce had completely moved to the demonic beast Holy City. With Lu Yiping overseeing the Lu family Chamber of Commerce, business was naturally booming. However, with Lu Yiping around, Lu Yuan and Guqiuyue did not lack money, so the Lu family Chamber of Commerce did not open any branches. For several decades, Nuwa and Song Ling often came to Ming Tian residence to discuss the Dao with Lu Yiping. Occasionally, Lu Yiping would visit the two women in the palace of Empress Hua. After several visits, Lu Yiping and the two women became more familiar with each other. In the past, the sorcerer tribe often bullied the human race, but because of the battle between Lu Yiping and the sorcerer ancestor several decades ago, the sorcerer tribe was unusually well-behaved and friendly to the human race. On this day, Nuwa and Song Ling were discussing the Tao with Lu Yiping in Ming Tian residence. When Lu Yiping talked about the heaven-splitting realm, Nuwa sighed, "How difficult is the heaven-splitting realm?" She had been stuck at the peak of the Tao ancestor realm for countless years, but she was unable to break through. Of course, not only her, but the sorcerer ancestor was also stuck at the peak of the Tao ancestor realm for countless years. After Lord Panga split the heavens, there was no more heaven-splitting realm. Song Ling said, "If you want to break through to the heaven-splitting realm, you have to get the heaven-splitting divine axe." Lu Yiping muttered, "Heaven-splitting divine axe." He knew that Uncle Yi had been looking for the heaven-splitting divine axe, but he didn't know how he was doing. In fact, you don't necessarily need the heaven-splitting divine axe. Nuwa suddenly said, "If you can get the Grand Mist Bead, you can definitely break through to the heaven-splitting realm. Inside the Grand Mist Bead is a universe. If you can get the Grand Mist Bead and comprehend the universe's laws, you can break through to the heaven-splitting realm." Grand Mist Bead? Lu Yiping was dumbfounded. Nuwa nodded, "That's right, the Grand Mist Bead. In fact, the Grand Mist Bead has appeared in the Grand Mist world." Lu Yiping was stunned when he heard that the Grand Mist Bead had appeared in the Grand Mist world. In the past, the Grand Mist Bead's appearance alarmed countless experts in the Grand Mist world. However, no matter how they searched, they couldn't find the Grand Mist Bead. Song Ling shook her head, "Something like the Grand Mist Bead, without heaven-defying luck, even if it's right in front of you, you won't be able to find it." Lu Yiping's interest was piqued, and he asked, "Does that mean the Grand Mist Bead could still be in the Grand Mist world?" Nuwa shook her head, "Hard to say. Many people in the Grand Mist world have searched for it for countless years, but they haven't been able to find it." "Where did the Grand Mist Bead appear in the past?" Lu Yiping asked. Nuwa didn't hide anything, saying, "During the Desolate Era, the Grand Mist Bead appeared in the Drunken Wind Mountain range. Since then, there has been no trace of it." She then added, "Coincidentally, the Drunken Wind Mountain range is near your human race's holy city." Drunken Wind Mountains. The holy city of the human race. Lu Yiping said. Song Ling nodded and said, "That's right. It's in the Drunken Wind Mountain range near the human race's holy city." He paused for a moment before continuing, "Because the primordial pearl appears near the holy city of the human race, there has always been a saying that only the ruler of the human race can find the primordial pearl." Lord of the human race? Lu Yiping asked, "Then how can one become the lord of the human race?" Nuwa said, "Some people say that as long as one can unify the human race in the primordial world, one can become the ruler of the human race." When she spoke up to hear, she shook her head and continued, "But after so many years, no one has been able to unify the human race in the primordial world." However, Song Ling smiled and said, "I don't think this statement is credible. If you want to find the primordial pearl, it still depends on your luck." The next day, Lu Yiping left the Tomorrow residence and headed for the Drunken Wind Mountain range. Not long after, Lu Yiping left the Yao clan's territory and arrived at the human clan's territory. After entering the human territory was obviously more desolate than the monster territory. The continent of the monster territory was filled with prosperous cities, while the human territory was sparsely populated. Inside the cities, whether it was the buildings or the scale, they could not compare to the monster territory. Lu Yiping flew all the way. Half a day later, the human race's holy city came into view. Not far from the holy city of the human race was the Drunken Wind Mountain range. Lu Yiping arrived at the human race's holy city. Although the human race's holy city couldn't compare to the fiend race's holy city, it still looked majestic and imposing. The two words human race's holy city contained the supreme great Tao. The words were written by Song Ling, the #1 human expert. However, although the words contained the supreme Tao, the words were still somewhat delicate. In Lu Yiping's mind, Song Ling's beautiful face appeared. After a short pause, Lu Yiping walked into the holy city. At this time, it was already dusk. Under the cover of the dusk sun, the holy city of the human race seemed somewhat peaceful and beautiful. Lu Yiping was bathed in the faint sunlight of dusk. His body seemed to be surrounded by a thin layer of light, and his originally handsome face exuded a mesmerizing aura. Lu Yiping walked forward slowly. The human race's holy city was not as peaceful as the monster race's holy city. Occasionally, one could see some fights on the streets. However, Song Ling had given the order that no one was allowed to kill anyone in the human race's holy city. Therefore, although there were fights, everyone restrained themselves and did not kill anyone in the city. Although Song Ling was not a peak Dao ancestor of 1.9 billion Dao, her cultivation was already at the peak of 1.8 billion Dao. Not many people dared to ignore her words. Lu Yiping was walking forward when someone suddenly flew over in a hurry. There was a large group of people chasing after him, and the person being chased was none other than the drunkard Zhou Bai he had met when he first arrived in the Grand Mist world. Previously, he had parted ways with Zhou Bai after the auction at the Million Treasure Chamber of Commerce. At this time, Zhou Bai was fleeing in panic. His body was covered with wounds, and it seemed that he was seriously injured. The flustered Zhou Bai suddenly saw a blue-robed figure in front of him. He was stunned for a moment, but when he saw that it was Lu Yiping, his face lit up with joy and excitement. He rushed towards Lu Yiping, but just as he was about to call him Brother Lu, he changed his words, Lord Lu. Although he had parted ways with Lu Yiping after the auction at the 10,000 Treasure Pavilion, he had heard about Lu Yiping defeating the general of the Beast tribe, Lu Quan, and battling against the progenitor of the Sorcerer tribe. I beg Lord Lu to save me. Zhou Bai shouted anxiously from afar. Just as Zhou Bai's words fell, one of the people chasing after him suddenly slashed out a sword at Zhou Bai. Seeing that the sword light was about to hit Zhou Bai's back, Lu Yiping condensed his soul force, causing the space around him to tremble. The sword light dissipated. Zhou Bai fled to Lu Yiping's side. Lord Lu. Zhou Bai came to Lu Yiping's side, bowing respectfully and urgently, I beg Lord Lu to save me. At this time, 30 to 40 people rushed over and landed on the ground. The person who attacked earlier looked at Lu Yiping and said indifferent, my sword chi just now, was it you who dispersed it? Kid, I don't care who you are, but you'd better not interfere with the Rakshasa Dao sect's matters. The Rakshasa Dao sect was one of the top 10 human forces. However, the Rakshasa Dao sect was an evil cultivator, and their cultivation method was mainly evil. Lu Yiping smiled hearing this, what if I interfere? The other party laughed mischievously at Huang Xiaolong's words, and his eyes turned cold, interfere, die. After saying that, the long sword in his hand pierced towards Lu Yiping. Thousands of sword chi contained the supreme great Dao of swords. Although this person was not a Dao ancestor, like Zhou Bai, he was also a peak Saint King, and could break through to Dao ancestor at any time. But when the other party's attack reached Lu Yiping, the long sword in his hand suddenly shattered inch by inch, shattering into grains of sand. Then, his body also collapsed like scattered sand, turning into countless light particles, disappearing into the air. The people of the Rakshasa Dao sect were shocked. Is there anyone else who wants to make a move? Lu Yiping glanced at the people of the Rakshasa Dao sect. The people of the Rakshasa Dao sect retreated. Let's go. Another peak Saint King said to the people of the Rakshasa Dao sect as he retreated. Just as the people of the Rakshasa Dao sect were about to retreat, Lu Yiping said, wait. The people of the Rakshasa Dao sect stopped. Don't think about going back to move people. Lu Yiping's expression was calm, otherwise, I will step into your Rakshasa Dao sect's headquarters and flatten your Rakshasa Dao sect. Lu Yiping said calmly, but the experts of the Rakshasa Dao sect felt as if the surrounding space had completely frozen. The experts of the Rakshasa Dao sect did not say anything and left dejectedly. After the experts of the Rakshasa Dao sect left, Lu Yiping turned to ask Zhou Bai, are you alright? Zhou Bai was flattered and bowed, thank you, Lord Lu. Lu Yiping looked at the injuries on the other party's body. They were quite serious. A finger force flew out, and the Dao of life merged into Zhou Bai's body. Zhou Bai's injuries healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Find a place to drink? Lu Yiping said with a smile. Zhou Bai was stunned, then he was overjoyed and respectfully agreed. The two of them came to the square restaurant, chose a seat, and sat down. Then, they ordered wine and dishes. After drinking for a while, Zhou Bai asked carefully, Lord, did you come to the human race's holy city to do something? Lu Yiping nodded and said, Ah, Nuwa said that during the Desolate Era, the Hongmeng bead appeared in the Drunken Wind mountain range. I came to take a look and try my luck. Zhou Bai was stunned. He hesitated for a moment and said, Lord, a few days ago, the sect master of the Rakshasa Dao sect led a large number of experts into the Drunken Wind mountain range. They seem to be looking for something, but I don't know if they are looking for the Hongmeng bead. Oh. Lu Yiping's heart moved. A large number of Rakshasa Dao sect experts entered the Drunken Wind mountain range. Yes. Zhou Bai said. An hour later, Lu Yiping and Zhou Bai separated. They left the city and headed towards the Drunken Wind mountain range. Lu Yiping spread out his divine sense, but a mysterious force shrouded the Drunken Wind mountain range and blocked Lu Yiping's divine sense. It's just as Nuwa and Song Ling said. Lu Yiping thought. There are still a few chapters left. It's nearing the end, so I'm a little impatient. I'm writing as I wish these few days. If there's no new chapter before 8, there's no need to wait. Before coming here, Nuwa and Song Ling had told Lu Yiping that there was a mysterious force in the Drunken Wind mountain range. It was so powerful that even a peak Dao ancestor's strength would be suppressed by it. However, the strength of this mysterious force far exceeded Lu Yiping's expectations. Lu Yiping withdrew his divine sense and continued flying forward. The Drunken Wind mountain range was huge, and it was the largest mountain range in the Grand Mist world. The deeper Lu Yiping flew, the stronger the mysterious force's suppression became. In the end, the gravitational force increased, and even with Lu Yiping's strength, his flying speed was affected. However, the stronger the mysterious force was, the more certain Lu Yiping was that the Grand Mist bead was in the Drunken Wind mountain range. After all, only a Grand Mist artifact like the Grand Mist bead could have such a restrictive force. Even though Lu Yiping's speed was greatly reduced due to the mysterious force's suppression, half a day later, Lu Yiping arrived at the deepest part of the Drunken Wind mountain range. In the deepest part of the Drunken Wind mountain range, the flow of air had completely stopped. Even a Saint King realm expert wouldn't be able to move a single step here. This was because the gravitational force here had far surpassed a peak Saint King realm expert. Only those at the Dao ancestor realm could move about in this place. According to Lu Yiping's guess, the mysterious force in the Drunken Wind mountain range was related to the Grand Mist bead. As long as he could find the source of this mysterious force, he would be able to find the Grand Mist bead. However, even after he had walked around the deepest part of the Drunken Wind mountain range, he still couldn't find the source of this mysterious force. Lu Yiping was unwilling to give up, and he continued to search around. However, no matter how hard he searched, he still couldn't find the source of this mysterious force. After 3 rounds of searching, Lu Yiping stopped, and a frown appeared on his face as he scanned the deepest part of the Drunken Wind mountain range. The source of this mysterious force definitely came from the deepest part of the Drunken Wind mountain range, but why couldn't he find it? Lu Yiping looked at the sky. In the depths of the Drunken Wind mountain range, there was no sunlight at all. There was only darkness and silence. Unwilling to give up, Lu Yiping searched a 4th time, but he still found nothing. Lu Yiping stopped and came to the mountainside of a mountain. He summoned the Sun Fusang tree and sat cross-legged under it to drink. Under the illumination of the sun true fire of the Sun Fusang tree, the originally dark surrounding mountain peaks brightened up. However, due to the suppression of the mysterious power, the range of the Grand Sun primordial fire's illumination was also reduced by many times. Just as Lu Yiping was sitting cross-legged under the Sun Fusang tree, drinking wine, a group of experts was flying towards the deepest part of the Drunken Wind mountain range. This group of experts was the group of Rakshasa Dao sect experts that Zhou Bai had mentioned earlier. Sect Master, we've investigated for many years. That spatial entrance is in the deepest part of the Drunken Wind mountain range. Furthermore, it will appear every few days. The spatial entrance should appear in the next few days. A Rakshasa Dao sect's Dao ancestor said to the Rakshasa Dao sect's sect master, Chen Taoyu. Chen Taoyu nodded. After the Rakshasa Dao sect's investigation, this mysterious spatial entrance should be related to the legendary primordial bead. It was very likely that the primordial bead was in that space. As the Rakshasa Dao sect's group was flying forward, they suddenly saw a shocking golden sun light in the darkness ahead. They couldn't help but be stunned. There's someone? A Rakshasa Dao sex expert was surprised. Could it be that the other party is also here for the primordial bead? Generally, those who entered the deepest part of the Drunken Wind mountain range were mostly here for the primordial bead. Chen Taoyu was puzzled and said, "Let's go and take a look." Thus, under Chen Taoyu's lead, the Rakshasa Dao sex group flew towards Lu Yiping's location. Not long after, Chen Taoyu's group saw the Sun Fusang tree from afar. One of the 10 great innate spiritual roots, the Sun Fusang tree? The Rakshasa Dao sex group recognized the Sun Fusang tree at a glance. Immediately, the group's eyes burned with desire. Even Chen Taoyu couldn't help but stare at the Sun Fusang tree. Each of the 10 great innate spiritual roots was a priceless treasure that was difficult to find in the world. After retracting his gaze from the Sun Fusang tree, Chen Taoyu's gaze fell on the blue-robed young man who was sitting cross-legged under the tree and drinking leisurely. Chen Taoyu's eyes were filled with bewilderment. After hesitating for a moment, he and the Rakshasa Dao sex group continued to fly towards Lu Yiping. Arriving in front of the Sun Fusang tree, Chen Taoyu's group bathed in the light of the sun's true fire and felt warm all over. "Which sect are you from, fellow Daoist?" Chen Taoyu cupped his fists and said to Lu Yiping with a smile, "I'm Chen Taoyu from the Rakshasa Dao sect." Lu Yiping glanced at the other party and said, "You're the Rakshasa Dao sect master, Chen Taoyu?" Chen Taoyu smiled and said, "That's right. I heard from Zhou Bai that your Rakshasa Dao sect has been secretly helping the sorcerer ancestor with a lot of dirty things." Lu Yiping suddenly spoke. Chen Taoyu was stunned and his eyes turned cold. "Zhou Bai?" Then, he chuckled and said, "It seems like that drunkard has told you a lot of things." Suddenly, he waved his hand and countless black shadows flew out, shooting towards Lu Yiping. However, when these black shadows reached Lu Yiping, they were all frozen in midair by an invisible force. These black shadows were actually tiny black venomous insects. Black thread dragon maggots. Lu Yiping looked at the several hundred tiny black poisonous insects and said indifferently. Black thread dragon maggots were a kind of poison that split the sky. They were extremely rare and had disappeared since the creation of the sky. They were extremely poisonous and even a Dao ancestor would find it difficult to expel the poison from their bodies. Chen Taoyu saw that his black thread dragon maggots were frozen in midair and his face turned solemn. He was about to speak when the black thread dragon maggots caught fire and were burned to ashes in the blink of an eye. Lu Yiping pulled Chen Taoyu in front of him. Chen Taoyu, who had the strength of 1.8 billion Dao ancestor, was completely powerless in front of Lu Yiping. The Rakshasa Dao sect's nearly 100 Dao ancestors were shocked to see this. Chen Taoyu was even more horrified. He looked at Lu Yiping and thought of a person, his voice trembling, "You are Lord Lu Yiping?" Lu Yiping, the Rakshasa Dao sect's Dao ancestors' faces changed greatly. "That's right, I am Lu Yiping," Lu Yiping said. He was too lazy to talk nonsense and directly punched out. This punch was Lu Yiping's casual punch. Bang! With a loud explosion, Chen Taoyu was blasted away by Lu Yiping's punch, turning into a rain of blood. After his Dao ancestor strength broke through to 1.9 billion Dao ancestor strength, Lu Yiping's combat strength had far surpassed the sorcerer ancestor and Nuwa. Even Chen Taoyu's Dao physique couldn't withstand Lu Yiping's punch. However, even if Lu Yiping's Dao ancestor strength had broken through 1.9 billion Dao ancestor strength and could shatter Chen Taoyu's Dao physique, he couldn't kill Chen Taoyu. The rain of blood slowly condensed. Lu Yiping took the rain of blood in front of him, sealed it, and threw it into the Dao tree creation space. He then looked at the Rakshasa Dao sect's people. When the other members of the Rakshasa Dao sect saw Lu Yiping looking over, they retreated in fear. Some were so scared that their legs went soft, and some knelt down. However, no one dared to escape. "You came to the Drunken Wind mountain range to find the primordial bead?" Lu Yiping looked at the 100 or so Dao ancestors of the Rakshasa Dao sect and asked. One of them hurriedly said, "Yes, Lord Lu, and we found that there is a spatial entrance in the deepest part of the Drunken Wind mountain range. It will appear every few years. This spatial entrance should be related to the primordial bead." Lu Yiping's heart skipped a beat. "You mean, the primordial bead should be in that space?" Yes, we speculate that the primordial bead is in that different space." The Dao ancestors of the Rakshasa Dao sect nodded in panic. This spatial entrance will appear in the next few days. A Rakshasa Tao sect expert said, however, it will only exist for a short period of time. If we don't enter within this period of time, this spatial entrance will disappear and only appear again after many years. Liu Yiping flicked his finger, and nearly 100 rays of light flew out and entered the bodies of the Rakshasa Tao ancestors. These Rakshasa Tao ancestors felt that there was a heaven-splitting restriction in their bodies, and their expressions changed. You don't have to be afraid. Liu Yiping said, bring me to the primordial bead, and the restriction in your bodies will disappear. The Rakshasa Tao ancestors acknowledged respectfully. Thus, the Rakshasa Tao ancestors brought Liu Yiping to the place where the spatial entrance would appear and began to wait. Just as Liu Yiping and the Rakshasa Tao ancestors were waiting for the spatial entrance to appear with Liu Yiping, the news of the Rakshasa Tao ancestors entering the Drunken Wind Mountain range attracted the attention of Ancestor Sorcerer. Oh, you're saying that the Rakshasa Tao sect entered the Drunken Wind Mountain range in large numbers because they received news of the primordial bead? Ancestor Sorcerer asked Wu Xian. Wu Xian nodded. According to the spies we planted in the Rakshasa Tao sect, the Rakshasa Tao sect has been searching for the whereabouts of the primordial bead in the depths of the Drunken Wind Mountain range. Therefore, I speculate that the Rakshasa Tao sect has entered the Drunken Wind Mountain range in large numbers should have already found the whereabouts of the primordial bead. Father, there's no time to lose. Let's enter the Drunken Wind Mountain range now. Wu Badian laughed, if the Rakshasa Tao sect really knows where the primordial pearl is, we have to find it before they do. With the primordial bead, Father will definitely be able to break through to heaven opening. The sorcerer ancestor stood up abruptly. He glanced at all the Tao ancestors in the hall and said, gather all the Tao ancestors. We will set off immediately and enter the Drunken Wind Mountain range. No one is allowed to breathe a word about the primordial bead. Otherwise, you'll be locked up in the execution prison for eternity. A moment later, the sorcerer ancestor led tens of thousands of Tao ancestors of the sorcerer clan into the sky and rushed towards the Drunken Wind Mountain range. Since all the Tao ancestors of the sorcerer tribe had moved out, the commotion was too great. Therefore, it quickly attracted the attention of Goddess Baiwa, Song Ling, and the Gautama Buddha. Oh, the sorcerer ancestor is leading all the Tao ancestors of the sorcerer clan? Niwa asked Lu Quan, do you know the purpose of the sorcerer clan? Lu Quan shook his head, I couldn't find anything. Then he added, but, looking at their direction, they should be entering the Drunken Wind Mountain range. Drunken Wind Mountain range. Goddess Baiwa and Song Ling exclaimed in unison. I remember that Brother Lu left the holy city to go to the Drunken Wind Mountain range. Song Ling pondered, could it be related to the primordial bead? Goddess Baiwa stood up abruptly and said to Lu Quan, gather all the Tao ancestors and enter the Drunken Wind Mountain range. A moment later, Goddess Baiwa led all the Tao ancestors of the sorcerer tribe and rushed towards the Drunken Wind Mountain range at full speed. Song Ling and a group of Tao ancestors under Song Ling accompanied them. Not long after Goddess Baiwa, Song Ling, and the others set off, rays of golden Buddha light also rushed towards the Drunken Wind Mountain range from the western boundary of the primordial world. One day later. Outside the Drunken Wind Mountain range, rays of light surged as a group of figures arrived. They were the sorcerer tribe's experts rushing over. The sorcerer ancestor looked at the Drunken Wind Mountain range and waved his hand, follow me into the Drunken Wind Mountain range. Conceal your aura and don't attract the Rakshasa Tao sect's attention. The sorcerer tribe's experts acknowledged. Thus, under the sorcerer ancestor's lead, tens of thousands of Tao ancestors of the sorcerer tribe rushed into the Drunken Wind Mountain range. Not long after the sorcerer ancestor led tens of thousands of Tao ancestors of the sorcerer tribe into the Drunken Wind Mountain range, Goddess Baiwa and Song Ling led the Tao ancestors of the sorcerer tribe and the human tribe into the Drunken Wind Mountain range. After Goddess Baiwa and Song Ling entered the Drunken Wind Mountain range, the Buddhist sect's Tathagata Buddha also led the Buddhist sect's Buddhas and rushed into the Drunken Wind Mountain range. Another half a day passed. On one of the mountain peaks in the deepest part of the Drunken Wind Mountain range, Liu Yiping, who was waiting, suddenly saw the sky above the mountain peak ripple violently. Then, a spatial entrance appeared at the center of the ripple. When the spatial entrance appeared, Liu Yiping immediately sensed that the source of the mysterious energy in the Drunken Wind Mountain range was inside the spatial entrance, Previously, Lu Yiping was unable to find the source of the mysterious energy, but now, he was certain that the source was inside this spatial entrance. Lu Yiping was even more certain that the primordial bead was inside. When the Rakshasa Dao sect's ancestors saw the spatial entrance appear, their anxious hearts finally settled down. They touched their foreheads, which were covered in sweat. They were really afraid that the spatial entrance would not appear. Enter. Lu Yiping got up, broke through the air, and took the lead to enter the spatial entrance. The Rakshasa Dao sect's ancestors hurriedly followed behind Lu Yiping into the spatial entrance. After entering the spatial entrance, Lu Yiping realized that this spatial entrance was different from what he had imagined. This spatial entrance was different from any other spatial entrance he had seen in the past. Here, mountain peaks rose and fell, rivers meandered, birds chirped, flowers bloomed, and trees were lush. Moreover, the quality of the world's spiritual energy was extremely high. It was simply another primordial bead world. Lu Yiping could not help but think of the primordial bead's internal space that gave birth to its own world. Could this spatial entrance be the world inside the primordial bead? Lu Yiping found it difficult to calm down. However, the Rakshasa Dao sect's ancestors did not know the exact location of the primordial bead. Therefore, Lu Yiping still had to find the exact location of the primordial bead. 19 people in a team split up and inquire about the primordial bead. Lu Yiping said to the Rakshasa Dao sect's ancestors, "Once there's news, report to me. If any team can find out about the primordial bead, each person will be rewarded with 1 million strands of primordial bead." 19 people in a team, there were exactly 5 teams. When the Rakshasa Dao sect's ancestors heard Lu Yiping's reward, they were all shocked. In their excitement, they respectfully responded and then split into 5 teams and flew away. After everyone left, Lu Yiping also stepped into the air and spread out his divine soul to cover the surrounding space. After a while, Lu Yiping saw a large city in front of him. Lu Yiping flew towards the city. The city was very bustling. Under the coverage of Lu Yiping's divine soul, Lu Yiping quickly understood the general situation in the city. In the city, there were several saint kings and many saints, but there were no Dao ancestors. Lu Yiping entered the city and went to the largest chamber of commerce in the city to inquire about the primordial bead. After a while, Lu Yiping left the city and went to the next city to continue to inquire. Since the primordial bead was very likely to be in this world, then, there must be some clues. As long as he continued to inquire, he would eventually find something. The next chapter is the finale, updated before 8 p.m. tomorrow. Just as Lu Yiping was inquiring about the Hongmeng bead, Ancestor of Sorcerer led a group of experts into the space. After Ancestor of Sorcerer, Nuwa, Song Ling, Buddha Ancestor of Buddhism, and others also entered this space one after another. Not long after they entered the space, the entrance of the space closed as if it had never appeared. Lu Yiping inquired along the way. A few days later, he came to a city called Lian City. Lian City was one of the largest cities in this world. Its prosperity was not inferior to the demon clan's holy city. Moreover, there were 2 peak Tao ancestors in Lian City. After inquiring for a few days, Lu Yiping learned that there were more peak Tao ancestors in this world than in the Hongmeng world. In the Hongmeng world, there were only 3 peak Tao ancestors, himself, Nuwa, an ancestor of Sorcerer. However, in this world, there were 7 peak Tao ancestors. Lu Yiping entered Lian City and then went to the most central area of Lian City. After a while, Lu Yiping stood in front of a huge mansion. Hong Mansion. This was the main mansion of the Hong family, the number 1 family in this world. Although there were 7 peak Tao ancestors in this world, their battle strength was different. There were strong and weak ones. Hong Yi, the ancestor of the Hong family, was the number 1 in this world. Lu Yiping inquired that Hong Yi had seen the Hongmeng bead before and was the only person in this world who had seen it. When Lu Yiping arrived, the gate of Hong Mansion was crowded and bustling. The Hong family was the number 1 family in this world. Many experts came to visit them every day. The gate of Hong Mansion was heavily guarded. An endless stream of experts came to pay a visit to the Hong clan, respectfully handing over their visiting cards. Of course, after handing over their visiting cards, they couldn't enter the Hong clan residence immediately. Instead, they had to wait for the Hong clan's elders to review and approve before they could enter the Hong clan residence and receive an audience with the Hong clan elders. Ji Feng, master of the Ji family from the Five Elements continent, can enter the mansion. A guard of the Hong family shouted to the waiting crowd. An elegant middle-aged man walked out of the waiting crowd with a face full of ecstasy. There were at least a few thousand experts that came to visit the Hong clan every day. If there weren't 10,000, yet only a mere 10 people were received every day. So, being able to receive an audience was a supreme honor. The Ji clan's patriarch, Ji Feng, was ecstatic as he followed the Hong clan's guards into the Hong residence. Everyone else looked envious. Lu Yiping strode forward, arriving at the entrance of the Hong residence. "Where's your invitation card?" A Hong residence guard stopped Lu Yiping and asked. "I don't have an invitation." Lu Yiping said, "I want to see your progenitor Xianxia." His voice wasn't loud, but everyone heard him clearly. The Hong residence's guards were stunned. The various experts who had come to visit also looked at Lu Yiping in astonishment. The guard who stopped Lu Yiping looked at Lu Yiping from head to toe and sneered, "What did you just say? No invitation? You want to see our ancestor?" The Hong clan's progenitor, Hong Yi, had been in seclusion for many years, trying to break through to the heaven-opening realm. Even if the other 6 peak Dao ancestors came, they might not be able to see him. Now, this blue-robed young man came out of nowhere and said he wanted to see their progenitor? Lu Yiping glanced at the guard, his expression calm. "Go in and tell your patriarch that I want to see your progenitor Xianxia. Tell him to come out and see me, I don't want to fight." The several hundred guards in front of the Hong residence heard this and gathered around. The various experts who had come to visit started discussing. "Which family is this young man from? He actually came to the Hong clan's headquarters to look for trouble. Is he tired of living? Since he dares to come to the Hong clan's headquarters to look for trouble, he shouldn't be weak, right? So what if he's not weak? Even if he's a peak Dao ancestor looking for trouble, he'll still die. The ice demon is still being suppressed in the endless flame prison." The ice demon was an extremely powerful demon in this world, a peak Dao ancestor of 1.8 billion, half a step away from breaking through to 1.9 billion. He had challenged the Hong clan's progenitor Hong Yi and was suppressed in the endless flame prison, being burned by billions of divine flames day and night for several 100 million years. "How dare you come to our Hong clan to make trouble, you're courting death." After a guard of the Hong clan surrounded Lu Yiping, he immediately attacked without saying a word, slapping his palm toward Lu Yiping. However, before his palm hit Lu Yiping, he was sent flying by a ray of light. The guard of the Hong clan crashed into the wall of the Hong residence. There was a loud bang. A human-shaped pit was blasted out of the wall of the Hong residence, and a large part of the wall collapsed. Not only were the guards of the Hong clan stunned, but the various experts who had come to visit were also stunned. "Attack!" The captain of the Hong clan guards shouted sternly. Immediately, several hundred guards of the Hong clan broke through the air, waving the long swords in their hands at the same time, displaying the Hong clan's strongest sword principle. Tens of thousands of sword rays slashed toward Lu Yiping. Lu Yiping stood there without making a move. The light around his body fluctuated, and suddenly, the tens of thousands of sword rays disappeared, and the hundreds of guards of the Hong clan were sent flying at the same time, smashing into the wall of the Hong residence. The rumbling sounds continued, and the walls of the Hong residence were smashed down one after another. The various experts were stunned. Who dares to be presumptuous in the Hong residence? In the Hong residence, a loud shout sounded, and then, a sword light soared into the sky, slashing toward Lu Yiping. "It's Lord Jianwui!" someone exclaimed. Jianwui was one of the strongest generals under Hong Yi. He was a top-level Dao ancestor with the power of 1.7 billion Dao ancestor. The sword light arrived in front of Lu Yiping in an instant, so fast that no one could react. The sword light crossed the river of time, surpassing all the light in the world, as if it came from the other end of time. It was a sword of destruction, a sword of death, and its power was terrifying. Seeing that the sword light was about to chop down, Lu Yiping only blew a breath forward. It was like blowing away a little bit of dust on a table, and that terrifying sword light collapsed and dispersed. What? The various experts were stunned. The millions of experts of the Hong clan and the Hong residents were equally shocked. A figure broke through the air, and in the blink of an eye, he came in front of Lu Yiping. The person did not have a sword, but he gave off the feeling that he was the incarnation of the world's trillions of divine swords. It was Jianwui. Then, in the Hong residence, figures soared into the sky and landed in front of Lu Yiping. They were all Dao ancestor experts of the Hong clan who were in charge of the Hong clan's headquarters. The number of Dao ancestor experts who came out kept increasing, and finally reached more than 70,000 people. This was the power of the Hong clan. The various experts who came to visit the Hong clan were shocked when they saw more than 70,000 Dao ancestor experts coming out. After more than 70,000 Dao ancestors of the Hong clan came out, they did not hide their auras. The auras of more than 70,000 Dao ancestors were released and gathered together. It was earth-shattering, and the sky changed color. Lu Yiping's expression was normal. The Hong clan's patriarch, Hong Fei, looked at Lu Yiping and said coldly, "Your strength is indeed very strong. However, if you want to cause trouble in my Hong clan's main estate, then you're blind. If you admit your mistake now, apologize, and leave, I can still let you go." Everyone's eyes fell on Lu Yiping. Lu Yiping injured a disciple of the Hong clan in the Hong clan's headquarters. Hong Fei, the head of the Hong clan, did not immediately kill him. Instead, he only asked Lu Yiping to apologize and let him go. This was a special case. Lu Yiping looked at him and said, "Ask Hong Yi to come out and see me." Hong Fei's face darkened when he heard this. He did not talk nonsense and shouted, "Do it." When more than 70,000 Dao ancestors of the Hong clan heard this, they attacked at the same time, including Jianwui. More than 70,000 Dao ancestors attacked at the same time. How vast, how spectacular, and how shocking it was. The various experts who came to visit were shocked and flew back in horror. The power of more than 70,000 Dao ancestors rushed toward Lu Yiping. Before the power arrived, the ground around Lu Yiping was lifted and turned into fine powder. Countless sand and dust flew. Billions of rays of light burst out, illuminating the cities and continents. At this moment, the experts in Lian City and the surrounding cities all looked up in horror. At this moment, the continent where Lian City was located and the surrounding continents all looked in the direction of Lian City in horror. "It's from Lian City." All the Dao ancestors of the Hong clan attacked. Who provoked all the Dao ancestors of the Hong clan to attack? Is Lord Di Kuei going to attack the Hong clan? Di Kuei was the second strongest expert in this world. His strength was only below Hong Yi, and he did not have a good relationship with Hong Yi. All the experts guessed in shock. The battle in Lian City also attracted the attention of ancestor sorcerer, Niwa, Song Ling, Buddha, and others. "Let's go and take a look," Ancestor Sorcerer said, and led tens of thousands of Dao ancestors of the Sorcerer clan to Lian City. Niwa, Song Ling, Buddha, and others also did the same. Lu Yiping snorted coldly when he saw more than 70,000 Dao ancestors of Hong Mansion attacking him. He stamped his foot on the ground, and the entire continent shook. The earth seemed to have been pierced by Lu Yiping's stomp. Lu Yiping punched out. When Lu Yiping punched out, everyone had an illusion that Lu Yiping's punch had completely surpassed all the power in the world. All the power in the world seemed so small and fragile in front of Lu Yiping's punch. The power of more than 70,000 Dao ancestors of the Hong clan illuminated the cities and continents. How bright it was. However, compared with Lu Yiping's punch, it seemed dim and dark. It was like fireflies and the moon, stars and the sun. The power of more than 70,000 Dao ancestors of the Hong clan was like fireflies and stars. Lu Yiping's punch was like the moon and the sun. Boom, a loud noise shook the sky. It was as if the sky had exploded. The sky was trembling. The ground was collapsing. Everything around him was turning into fine powder. At this moment, in the continent where Lian City was located, there was only this loud noise in the minds of hundreds of millions of experts. There was no other sound in the world. Hong Fei, the head of the Hong clan, was blown away. Jianwui was blown away. All the other Dao ancestors of the Hong clan were blown away. Even though the Hong clan's main residence had a grand array restriction set up by Hong Yi, it was still lifted and turned into light particles. Blood rose in the air. It was the blood of more than 70,000 Dao ancestors of the Hong clan. Hong Fei and the others smashed through the palaces of the Hong clan. Finally, they smashed into the deepest space of the Hong clan and landed in front of the palace where Hong Yi was cultivating in seclusion. Dong, the grand array of Hong Ye's palace shone brightly. Hong Fei and the others smashed into the grand array light, shaking the palace's grand array light. Everyone gasped when they saw the scene. They were so shocked that they were speechless. The combined attack of more than 70,000 Dao ancestors was blocked by the blue-robed young man. And it was more than 70,000 Dao ancestors of the Hong clan who were blown away. Among the 70,000 Dao ancestors of the Hong clan, there were also experts like Jian Wui who had a cultivation of 1.7 billion or 1.8 billion Dao. Hong Fei and the others who were blown away fell to the ground. They were in disbelief and looked at Lu Yiping in horror. Even Di Kuei could not block the combined attack of more than 70,000 Dao ancestors of the Hong clan, let alone Ice Demon who was at the peak of 1.8 billion Dao. Could it be that this young man's strength was not weaker than their ancestor, Hong Yi? At this moment, light surged from the depths of the Hong clan's main residence. A figure slowly walked out. Lord Hong Yi. Jian Wui and the others were surprised. The person who came out was Hong Yi, who was in seclusion trying to break through to the heaven-opening realm. He was the number one person in this world. Hong Yi glanced at the seriously injured Hong Fei and Jian Wui. He frowned and looked at Lu Yiping with a serious expression. He took a step and came to Lu Yiping. Who are you? Hong Yi looked at Lu Yiping and asked in a deep voice, what business do you have with me? I heard that you have seen the primordial pearl. Lu Yiping went straight to the point. I want to know where you have seen it. Hong Yi, Hong Fei, and Jian Wui were stunned. Hong Yi had seen the primordial pearl and many people knew about it. It was not a secret, but no one had ever dared to come over and ask about it. Hong Yi narrowed his eyes. Light surged around him and his aura surged. Everyone on the continent felt their breathing tighten and they felt like they were being strangled. You want to know the whereabouts of the primordial pearl? Hong Yi was expressionless. Sure. If you can defeat me, I will tell you where it is. Hong Ye's aura continued to rise. Ancestor Sorcerer, who had rushed over, felt Hong Ye's aura and was shocked. Although he was the number one expert in the primordial world, he was still much weaker than Hong Yi. A long spear suddenly appeared in Hong Ye's hand. The long spear pierced towards Lu Yiping's forehead and arrived in front of his forehead in an instant. Ancestor Sorcerer's expression changed. Even he had never seen such a fast spear move. Even though he was far away, he was still able to sense the extremely terrifying energy contained within the long spear. If this spear were to be pierced by it, even a body as strong as his shaman ancestor's body would be pierced by it. Moreover, he could see that the long spear was not an ordinary treasure. Its power was stronger than his ancestor Sorcerer City, Nuwa, Song Ling, and the others had also rushed over from the horizon and saw this scene. Nuwa, Song Ling, and the others felt their hearts in their mouths when they saw the long spear was about to pierce through Lu Yiping's forehead. Just as the long spear was about to pierce through Lu Yiping's forehead, Lu Yiping raised his hand and blocked the long spear. Zheng, the long spear pierced through Lu Yiping's palm. Light burst out. This light was so blinding that it hurt everyone's eyes. Lu Yiping's palm was entwined with Dao runes that resembled the creation tree. Blood dripped from Lu Yiping's palm. The long spear pierced through the skin of Lu Yiping's palm. Even Lu Yiping's creation Dao body and immortal skyward art were pierced through. However, it was only the skin that was pierced. Hong Yi was stunned and looked at Lu Yiping's palm in disbelief. He was full of confidence in his attack, but it only pierced the skin of his opponent's palm. At this time, Lu Yiping punched out. The speed of his punch was twice as fast as Hong Ye's long spear. Dong, Lu Yiping's punch landed on Hong Ye's chest. Hong Ye's armor was blasted away. Lu Yiping's punch penetrated his back and sent him flying. He crashed into the deepest space of Hong residence and landed beside Hong Fei, Jian Wui, and the others. Ancestor! My lord! Hong Fei, Jian Wui, and the other experts exclaimed. Hong Yi did not respond and spat out blood. In the distance, Ancestor Sorcerer's expression changed drastically. Hong Ye's strength was not weaker than his combined strength of Ancestor Sorcerer City and the tens of thousands of Dao ancestors of the Sorcerer tribe. However, he was still sent flying by Lu Yiping's punch. Didn't that mean that even if he combined Ancestor Sorcerer City and the tens of thousands of Dao ancestors of the Sorcerer tribe, he would not be able to withstand Lu Yiping's punch? Lu Yiping's strength was much stronger than when he fought with him back then. Nuwa, Song Ling, and Gautama Buddha were also shocked. Lu Yiping took a step forward and arrived in front of Hong Yi, Hong Fei, Jian Wui, and the others. Hong Yi struggled to stand up. He healed his injuries, took out a message talisman, and threw it to Lu Yiping. The whereabouts of the Hongming bead is in the message talisman. Lu Yiping opened the message talisman and left. Hong Yi, who was struggling to stand up, almost fell again when he saw Lu Yiping leave. "Sir, what should we do?" A Dao ancestor of the Sorcerer tribe said to Ancestor Sorcerer, "We must not let Lu Yiping find the Hongming bead. If he obtains it and breaks through to the heaven-opening realm, it will be the end of our Sorcerer tribe." "That's right. We must not let Lu Yiping get the Hongming bead." Another Dao ancestor of the Sorcerer tribe echoed. Ancestor Sorcerer looked in the direction Lu Yiping left. His expression changed, but in the end, he shook his head. "Forget it. Let's leave it to fate." "Sir," Wu Xian said anxiously. "We can join forces with the Hong family." Ancestor Sorcerer shook his head. "With Lu Yiping's current combat strength, even if we join forces with the Hong family, we are no match for Lu Yiping. We can't stop Lu Yiping at all." Then he added, "Moreover, the Hongming bead is definitely not easy to obtain. Otherwise, the Hong family would have obtained it long ago. Therefore, even if Lu Yiping knows where the Hongming bead is, he might not be able to obtain it." A demon race general said to Nuwa, "Empress, should we follow him and take a look?" He meant to follow Lu Yiping and see if there was any hope of obtaining the Hongming bead. Nuwa glanced at the demon race general. This glance made the general's heart skip a beat, and he lowered his head in shock. In the end, Lu Yiping disappeared from everyone's sight. After leaving the Hong family, Lu Yiping headed north. The further he went, the more desolate it became. Finally, he arrived at a lightning plain. In front of him, the sky was filled with divine lightning. The divine lightning was like air, filling the plain. According to Hong Yi, after passing through this lightning plain, one would reach a lightning sea. In the past, he had found the Hongming bead in the lightning sea. The Hongming bead had flown into the depths of the lightning sea. The depths of the lightning sea were filled with grand mist divine lightning. Even someone as strong as Hong Yi couldn't get close. Lu Yiping broke through the divine lightning and entered the lightning plain. He traveled through the lightning plain and finally arrived at the lightning sea that Hong Yi had mentioned. The sea of lightning was multicolored. It was actually formed by the condensation of various types of chaos divine lightning into lightning water. Lu Yiping summoned the tree of creation and opened up its defenses. At the same time, he summoned the Bell of Chaos and the Xianhuang Pagoda. He opened up the defenses of the Bell of Chaos and the Xianhuang Pagoda. Then, he broke through the lightning chi of the Sea of Lightning and entered it. Lu Yiping spread out his divine sense, paying attention to every corner of the lightning sea as he flew deeper into the lightning sea. As Lu Yiping flew deeper into the lightning sea, the divine lightning's power grew stronger. Annihilation lightning. Red heart lightning. Purple eye lightning fire. These divine lightning were extremely rare. It was rare to see one in the outside world, but here, they were everywhere. In the end, it was all primordial divine lightning. The primordial divine lightning rolled, bombarding the defensive boundaries of Jian Shu, Chaos Bell, and Mysterious Yellow Pagoda. Even an ordinary peak Dao ancestor would find it difficult to move an inch here. Lu Yiping continued to fly to the deepest part of the lightning sea. In the end, even the defensive boundaries of the Chaos Bell and Mysterious Yellow Pagoda were constantly bombarded by the primordial divine lightning. Even the Jian Shu's branches swayed and its leaves fell. Lu Yiping operated the immortal Skywood art and longevity secret art at the same time and continued to fly deeper. In the lightning sea, the Dao ancestor's power was greatly consumed. Fortunately, Lu Yiping had the creation tree. The creation tree's roots were rooted in the depths of the void and could continuously devour the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, and then continuously replenish the Dao ancestor's power that Lu Yiping consumed. A few days later, Lu Yiping finally arrived at the deepest part of the lightning sea. However, Lu Yiping frowned because he did not find any trace of the primordial bead. Could it be that the information Hong Yi gave him was false? In fact, the primordial bead was not here. Hong Yi just wanted to use the lightning sea to injure him. Lu Yiping searched the deepest part of the lightning sea again, but still found nothing. Just as Lu Yiping stopped, he suddenly sensed a faint energy fluctuation coming from the bottom of the lightning sea. Lu Yiping's heart stirred. When his soul tried to penetrate the lightning sea, he found that it was bounced back by a force. Lu Yiping tried several times, but it was still the same. When Lu Yiping wanted to break through the surface of the sea and enter the seabed, the same thing happened. He was repelled back by the force. Lu Yiping tried all kinds of methods, but it was still the same. His divine soul couldn't penetrate the sea of lightning, and he couldn't enter the seabed. Half a day later, Lu Yiping had to stop. After half a day of searching, Lu Yiping guessed that the primordial bead was most likely at the bottom of the lightning sea. However, he could not see the situation at the bottom of the lightning sea, so this was only his guess. Lu Yiping stood in the air above the lightning sea with his eyes closed, carefully sensing the changes in his surroundings. Lu Yiping didn't know how much time had passed, but all of a sudden, he saw specks of light coming from the grand mist divine lightning. Moreover, these specks of light were rising from the bottom of the lightning sea. These specks of light flowed very slowly, completely merging with the grand mist lightning sea. If Lu Yiping did not pay close attention, he would not have been able to sense these specks of light. Lu Yiping opened his eyes, and the specks of light that he had sensed earlier disappeared. He closed his eyes again, carefully sensing the changes in the space around him. Those specks of light appeared once again. After doing this several times, Lu Yiping sat cross-legged in midair above the lightning sea, and then began to comprehend the power contained within these specks of light. Lu Yiping could sense that each speck of light contained a special kind of power. Time flowed by. Lu Yiping sat cross-legged in midair above the lightning sea for an unknown amount of time. These specks of light contained a special kind of power that was very difficult to comprehend. Just comprehending one speck of light took Lu Yiping 3 years. Year after year. Lu Yiping sat cross-legged without moving. Every time he comprehended a speck of light, the speck of light would gather around him. As Lu Yiping comprehended more and more specks of light gathered around him. In the end, there were tens of thousands of specks of light gathered around him. Lu Yiping was completely enveloped by these specks of light. While Lu Yiping was comprehending these specks of light, outside the lightning sea, figures flickered, and a huge city broke through the sky. It was the sorcerer ancestor city. At this time it had been 100,000 years since Lu Yiping entered the lightning sea. Seeing that Lu Yiping had not appeared for 100,000 years, the sorcerer ancestor could not help but drive the sorcerer ancestor city to lead the powerhouses of the sorcerer tribe to take a look. Sorcerer ancestor, it has been 100,000 years, and Lu Yiping still has not come out. Could he have died in there? Wu Xian looked at the lightning sea in front of him and felt his scalp go numb. The sorcerer ancestor stared at the lightning sea and did not speak. Wu Badian sneered, "The thunder sea is extremely terrifying. I heard from the Hong family that even a Tao ancestor at the peak of the Tao ancestor realm might die in there. It's not strange that Lu Yiping died in there. And no one can stay in there for more than a few years. Now, Lu Yiping has not come out for 100,000 years." At this time, another group of people broke through the sky. They were powerhouses of the demon clan and the human clan. The leaders were Nuwa and Song Ling. Others might not be able to stay in there for more than a few years, but Brother Lu has the foundation. It won't be difficult for him to stay in there for 100,000 years. Song Ling said. The sorcerer ancestor glanced at Nuwa and Song Ling and suddenly laughed. That may not be the case. This lightning sea should be the manifestation of the Grand Mist Bead's most fundamental energy. Even Lu Yiping can't withstand the Grand Mist Bead's most fundamental energy. Then, he chuckled, there is a good saying, a man's heart is insatiable. If his appetite is too big, he will be stuffed to death. Nuwa's face darkened, but she did not say anything. Another 100,000 years passed. Seeing this, the sorcerer ancestor led the rest of the sorcerer tribe away. Nuwa, Song Ling, and the rest were still waiting outside. But after 1,000,000 years, Nuwa shook her head and left with Song Ling and the rest of the demon clan and human clan experts. In Nuwa and Song Ling's eyes, 1,000,000 years had passed. If Lu Yiping had found the Grand Mist Bead, he would have come out long ago. If he couldn't find the grand mist bead, there could only be one result. Not long after Nuwa, Song Ling, and the rest left, light particles surged around Liu Yiping's body. After 1,000,000 years, he finally comprehended all the light particles that rose from the bottom of the lightning sea. By the time Liu Yiping finished comprehending all the light particles, light flickered from the deepest part of the lightning sea. A fist-sized bead broke through the surface of the lightning sea, slowly rising to the surface. The light particles surrounding this bead were exactly the same as the ones Liu Yiping had comprehended. After the bead flew out, it circled around Liu Yiping like the other light particles. In the end, it stopped in front of Liu Yiping's forehead and entered through Liu Yiping's forehead. Those specks of light also entered Liu Yiping's glabella. When the bead entered Liu Yiping's body shook violently. Bright light burst out from his body, overshadowing all the divine lightning in the lightning sea. If Nuwa, Song Ling, and the rest had not left, they would have seen the light in the depths of the lightning sea. Unfortunately, Nuwa, Song Ling, and the rest had already left. Thus, no one noticed the anomaly in the lightning sea. Light spewed out from Liu Yiping's body, and the light around Liu Yiping grew increasingly intense. These light rays came from a power that surpassed the heavenly Tao, from another layer of the universe. These light rays grew in number, floating around Liu Yiping like the sea. In the end, they condensed into strands of laws. These strands of laws surpassed the heavenly Tao, they were the universe's laws. Liu Yiping sat there cross-legged, and a terrifying aura that surpassed the peak Tao ancestor realm spread out from his body. While Liu Yiping merged with the grand mist bead, comprehended the universe's laws, and was about to break through to the heaven-splitting realm, Nuwa, Song Ling, and the rest who had left the lightning sea heard the shocking news of the heaven-splitting divine axe's appearance. The heaven-splitting divine axe has appeared. Song Ling was shocked. In the past few years, not only had the sorcerer ancestor been inquiring about the heaven-splitting divine axe, but she and Nuwa had also been inquiring about it. Now, the heaven-splitting divine axe had actually appeared in this world. The heaven-splitting divine axe was actually here, just like the grand mist bead. Quick, let's hurry over. We can't let the sorcerer ancestor and the others obtain the heaven-splitting divine axe. Nuwa urged anxiously. Thus, Nuwa and Song Ling led the monster race and human race experts in the direction of the heaven-splitting divine axe's appearance. The grand mist bead's lightning sea was in the northernmost part of this world, while the heaven-splitting divine axe's appearance was in the southernmost part. One was in the north, one was in the south. When Nuwa and Song Ling arrived at the location of the heaven-splitting divine axe's appearance, they saw that there was already a sea of people in front of them. Not only had the sorcerer ancestor arrived long ago, but even Xianxia and the other 6 peak Tao ancestors of this world had arrived long ago. However, the sorcerer ancestor, Xianxia, and the others didn't dare to come within 100,000 kilometers of the heaven-splitting divine axe. Within 100,000 kilometers of the heaven-splitting divine axe light soared into the heavens. Every corner of the space was filled with terrifying axe energy. These axe energies were extremely fierce, and anyone who approached them would be attacked by these axe energies. Already, quite a few peak Tao ancestors had been killed by these axe energies. Seeing the mountain range dyed red in front of them, Nuwa and Song Ling couldn't help but feel apprehensive. Nuwa looked over and saw that in the center of the axe light, there was a giant axe suspended in midair. The giant axe was extremely dazzling, and its blade flickered with a heart-palpitating cold light. Nuwa had never seen such cold light before. Just that cold light alone was enough to make one's heart tremble. It was as though wherever the axe passed, everything would be killed. However, what truly attracted Nuwa's attention was the white-robed young man seated cross-legged below the heaven-splitting divine axe. The white-robed young man was at the peak of the Tao ancestor realm. His robe was whiter than snow, and he was exceptionally handsome, like the clear moon in the sky. Who is that young man? Song Ling was shocked. He's refining the heaven-splitting divine axe. Nuwa stared at the white-robed young man. He is indeed refining the heaven-splitting divine axe. And he's about to succeed. About to succeed, what did this mean? It meant that once the white-robed young man succeeded, he could break through to the heaven-splitting realm with the help of Pangu's heaven-splitting will in the heaven-splitting divine axe. That was why the sorcerer ancestor and the others were so anxious. However, no matter who came within 100,000 kilometers of the heaven-splitting divine axe, they would be attacked by the axe energy of the heaven-splitting divine axe. The Dao ancestors of the sorcerer clan who rushed over were all killed on the spot. Nearly half of the sorcerer clan's nearly 50,000 Dao ancestors had been killed. However, seeing that the white-robed young man was about to succeed, the sorcerer ancestor became anxious and angry. He said to Xianxia and the other 6 Dao ancestors, "Everyone, let's join forces and break through the axe energy of the heaven-splitting divine axe. What do you think? Only by killing that young man can we have a chance to seize the heaven-splitting divine axe. One more day, once that young man succeeds in refining the heaven-splitting divine axe, we'll have no hope." Xianxia listened to the sorcerer ancestor and his eyes flickered. He gritted his teeth and said, "Okay. The 7 of us will attack together." After that, he shouted in a deep voice. A long spear appeared in his hand, and he suddenly thrust it out. The sorcerer ancestor merged with the sorcerer ancestor and the remaining Dao ancestors of the sorcerer clan. The other 6 peak Dao ancestors also attacked at the same time. Boom, the 8 peak Dao ancestors all performed their strongest attacks. The 8 people's power gathered together, and suddenly, they blasted away the axe energy of the heaven-splitting divine axe and blasted toward the white-robed young man. The 8 people's power blasted away the axe energy and was about to hit the white-robed young man. Suddenly, the white-robed young man's body trembled, and layers of bounded domain appeared, blocking the 8 people's power. The 8 people's power blasted on the bounded domain in front of the white-robed young man. The bounded domain shook, but it was not broken. Xianxia, the sorcerer ancestor, and the other 8 people's faces changed. "Attack again!" The sorcerer ancestor roared. This time, he even used his strength to watch. The 7 people attacked at the same time again. However, just like before, when they reached the white-robed young man, they were blocked by the latter's bounded domain. The sorcerer ancestor was furious, and the 8 people attacked again. However, they could not break the young man's bounded domain. The sorcerer ancestor turned around and shouted at Nuwa, "Fellow Daoist Nuwa, why are you still not attacking? If he refines the heaven-splitting divine axe, you will have no hope of seizing it." Nuwa heard this, and her face was calm. The heaven-splitting divine axe belongs to the possessor. After that, not only did she not attack, but she also led the demon clan people to retreat far away. Song Ling also led the human clan people to retreat. The sorcerer ancestor's face turned pale. Then, the sorcerer ancestor, Xianxia, and the others attacked wildly, but they could not break the young man's bounded domain. Half a day later, when the sorcerer ancestor and the others continued to attack, the heaven-splitting divine axe suddenly shone brightly and fell toward the white-robed young man. Finally, it turned into a stream of light and disappeared into the white-robed young man's body. The white-robed young man's axe energy burst out, and the attacks of the 8 people were instantly shattered. Seeing the heaven-splitting divine axe enter the white-robed young man's body, the 8 people's faces tightened. "How can he be so fast?" the sorcerer ancestor exclaimed, his voice trembling. Initially, he estimated that the white-robed young man would need at least a day to refine the heaven-splitting divine axe, but now, the white-robed young man had refined it in half a day. Keeping the heaven-splitting divine axe in his body meant that he had successfully refined it. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to keep the heaven-splitting divine axe. Xianxia and the others were also shocked. At this time, the white-robed young man who had merged with the heaven-splitting divine axe suddenly erupted with an aura that surpassed the peak Dao ancestor realm. This aura swept across heaven and earth. Before this aura, even people as strong as the sorcerer ancestor and Xianxia felt their hearts palpitating. The white-robed young man suddenly opened his eyes. "Retreat!" The sorcerer ancestor and Xianxia shouted at the same time and retreated hastily. But they were still a step too late. The heaven-splitting divine axe appeared in the white-robed young man's hand, and he swung the axe. Axe light flew out at an earth-shattering speed, and the speed was so fast that the sorcerer ancestor and Xianxia were unable to dodge it. The sorcerer ancestor and Xianxia froze in place. Everyone looked over and saw a shocking bloody wound appear from the sorcerer ancestor and Xianxia's forehead all the way down. Then, the bloody wound split open, and the two were split into 2 halves. As the 2 halves were split into 2 halves, the 2 halves of their bodies turned into specks of light, and began to drift into the sky, and finally disappeared. Even their divine souls turned into nothingness. Everyone present was shocked. The sorcerer ancestor and Xianxia were both peak Dao ancestors, and not ordinary peak Dao ancestors, but they were killed with a single swing of the axe. Nuwa looked at the white-robed young man and said in shock, the heaven-splitting stage. Only someone at the heaven-opening realm could kill 2 peak Dao ancestors so easily. Run! The other 6 peak Dao ancestors cried out in alarm and fled madly, but it was useless. As soon as they fled, the white-robed young man swung the axe. Wherever the axe light passed, the 6 peak Dao ancestors were smashed to the ground, and when they landed, they turned into nothingness just like the sorcerer ancestor and Xianxia. The Hong family's patriarch Hong Fei and the others saw this and did not dare to run anymore. They all prostrated themselves on the ground in fear. The white-robed young man walked towards Hong Fei and the others. At this moment, a vast aura suddenly swept out from the north. The aura was so strong that it was not weaker than the aura of the white-robed young man when he broke through to the heaven-splitting stage. Everyone in this world also sensed this powerful aura that was above the peak of the Tao ancestor level. Nuwa and Song Ling were shocked and looked towards the south. The heaven-splitting stage? Another heaven-splitting stage expert. Could it be? The white-robed young man also looked towards the south, somewhat surprised. Interesting, there is actually someone like me who broke through to the heaven-splitting stage. The white-robed young man muttered to himself. At the same time, his eyes flashed with excitement, and the heaven-splitting divine axe in his hand buzzed incessantly. In everyone's anticipation, a streak of light broke through the sky from the deepest part of the lightning sea, and then flew towards them at an unparalleled speed. In just a dozen breaths, the light arrived in front of Nuwa, Song Ling, and the others. When the light disappeared, a figure appeared. Nuwa and Song Ling saw the person clearly and were stunned. Brother Lu. The person who came was Lu Yiping, who had merged with the Grand Mist Bead and broken through to the heaven-splitting stage. Lu Yiping arrived at the scene, and his gaze fell on the white-robed young man. He was stunned for a moment, then smiled happily. Uncle Yi. Yu Wuchen looked at Lu Yiping and also smiled. Little Lu, so it's you. He looked up and down at Lu Yiping. Good kid, you actually also broke through to the heaven-splitting stage. When the time comes, let's exchange some pointers. Lu Yiping grinned. Sure, I hope Uncle Yi can give me some pointers. The two looked at each other and smiled. At this time, Nuwa and Song Ling walked over. Congratulations to Lord Lu for breaking through to the heaven-splitting stage. Both of them smiled. Lu Yiping smiled and said, let me introduce you, this is my Uncle Yi. He then introduced Yi Wuchen to the two girls. Several days later. Outside this world, in the primordial chaos space-time, destructive power constantly swept out. 2 figures, one blue and one white, were constantly fighting. Lu Yiping held the earth-splitting chisel, and Yi Wuchen held the heaven-splitting divine axe. The two of them exchanged blows, and axe chi filled the sky. After a boom, the two of them stopped. Awesome. Yi Wuchen laughed. Again. The two of them fought again. Thus, the two of them were tired of fighting, and they drank in the primordial chaos space-time. Sometimes they drank Lu Yiping's all-ages wine, and sometimes they drank Yi Wuchen's all-dragons wine. Several years later, the two of them retreated from the primordial chaos space-time, and then left this world with Nuwa, Song Ling, and the others, returning to the primordial chaos world. After returning to the primordial chaos world, Lu Yiping met his parents, and then returned to the primordial chaos world with them. Back in the primordial chaos world, Yi Wuchen could not help but sigh. All these years, he had been searching for the heaven-splitting divine axe. It was like an extremely long dream. Little Lu, what are your plans in the future? Yi Wuchen asked Lu Yiping. Lu Yiping thought for a moment and said, in a few days, I want to go to the immortal world to take a look. More than 1,000,000 years had passed. He did not know how Xiao Jin and the others were doing. Now, he had comprehended the laws of the universe and broken through to the heaven-splitting realm. He could travel to any place in the universe. After reaching the lower realm, he could still look for Luo Shui. After so many years, he still could not forget Luo Shui. Uncle Yi, what about you? Lu Yiping asked Yi Wuchen. Yi Wuchen pondered and said, I want to go deeper into the universe and find the secrets of the universe that Lord Pangu explored back then. A moment later, the two of them left. I wrote until 1:30 at night and finally finished. Thank you brothers for your companionship and support. Jianghu is a long road. See you in the next book. The new book will be announced on the 12th of this month. Please pay attention. Thank you again. Description: Zhou Qing transmigrated to the immortal martial world and obtained a cultivation system. From now on, he can automatically cultivate all the martial arts he cultivates. Congratulations host, your indestructible Vajra divine art has broken through to the second stage after a day of hard work. Your windward willow steps comprehended the profound meaning of the wind amidst the raging winds, broke through to the minor completion stage. Your demon vanquishing blade technique, because you didn't kill any demons, your progress was slow. Your solitary 9 swords, after sparring with an opponent, comprehended the first variation of the fundamental formula. Your dark north divine art, after devouring an opponent's internal energy for a year, helped you open your first meridian and broke through to the first layer of qi refining. In other people's eyes, Zhou Qing has nothing to do all day, but what they don't know is that his martial arts can automatically cultivate. Even when he's sleeping or strolling around, his strength is constantly increasing. Chapter 1, System Activated, Martial Arts Automatically Cultivate. Zhou Qing stared blankly at the unfamiliar courtyard in front of him. It was noon, the sun was scorching, causing his skin to ache. He actually transmigrated? Arrived at the immortal martial world. His current identity is the second son of the Great Feng Dynasty's great general. The son of the Great Feng Dynasty's great general? This identity is not bad. The Great Feng Dynasty is one of the more powerful dynasties in the immortal martial world. As the son of the great general, his identity can be considered illustrious. However, Zhou Qing raised his hand, looking at his pale and thin arm, he frowned. Although he is the son of the Great Feng Dynasty's great general, but this body's cultivation talent is average, his bone structure is average, his perception is average, and he's already 13 years old, but he's only at the third layer of body refinement. In the immortal martial world, the cultivation realms of cultivators were ranked from the lowest to the highest, the body refinement realm, the qi refinement realm. Above the qi refinement realm was the Xiantian realm, and above that was the Qing realm. 13 years old and only at the third layer of body refinement, this cultivation speed is really average. One must know that disciples with better cultivation talent can break through to the 7th layer of body refinement at 14 years old. Just as Zhou Qing was worrying about this body's cultivation talent, a cold voice sounded in his mind. Ding! Congratulations host, the cultivation system is being activated. System? Zhou Qing was stunned. A moment later. The cultivation system has been successfully activated. After the cultivation system has been successfully activated, the host will be able to automatically cultivate any cultivation method or martial skill. Zhou Qing swallowed. Automatically cultivate any cultivation method or martial arts? Didn't that mean that he didn't need to cultivate at all in the future? He could plant flowers and drink wine every day, and even when he was sleeping and eating, his strength would continue to increase, due to the activation of the cultivation system. The host's black tortoise body tempering technique has begun to automatically cultivate. Black tortoise body tempering art is slowly improving. The system's voice made it hard for Zhou Qing to suppress his excitement. A person's energy was limited. No matter how diligent a martial artist was, it was impossible to cultivate for 24 hours without sleep or rest. However, his martial arts could automatically cultivate for 24 hours without interruption. As the saying goes, diligence makes up for stupidity. No matter how ordinary his talent was, he could quickly catch up to those genius disciples, and even surpass them. Just as Zhou Qing was feeling excited, the system's voice rang out again. The system has detected that the black tortoise body tempering technique's grade is too low. Beginning to upgrade the black tortoise body tempering technique. The grade of the black tortoise body tempering art is constantly evolving. Zhou Qing was pleasantly surprised. After a while, the black tortoise body tempering arts grade has been successfully upgraded to divine rank, transforming into the black tortoise divine art. In the immortal martial world, cultivation methods were divided into strong and weak ranks, from weak to strong, yellow rank, black rank, human rank, earth rank, heaven rank, saint rank, and divine rank. The black tortoise body tempering art he cultivated before was a mid-grade earth rank cultivation method that his father, Zhou Wei, spent a great deal of effort to obtain for him. But now, the system had evolved it into a divine rank cultivation method. The higher the cultivation method's grade, the more powerful it is. When he cultivated the black tortoise body tempering art before, when he broke through to the Qi refinement realm, there was a possibility that his physical body could evolve into the black tortoise divine body. Although the black tortoise divine art is a top-grade divine rank cultivation method, it still has its flaws. Now, the system has activated another indestructible Vajra divine art for the host. Does the host wish to cultivate the indestructible Vajra divine art? Note, the indestructible Vajra divine art is the world's #1 body tempering divine art. When cultivated to the peak, the host will have the indestructible Vajra divine body, and the body will be immortal and indestructible. New book, welcome to read, collect, recommend, thank you. End of chapter 497. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share the video to support the channel.